Our story starts with a man who has died countless times, reliving his failures over and over, and here we see a glimpse of one such tragic memory. Yu Jitae stands before a glowing rift, looking down at a weeping blue-haired figure clutched by a green-haired woman, who screams in utter grief, while he coldly explains why he's being so harsh. The green-haired woman, Bomb, looks up at him and claims someone took their own life, but Jitae just grabs her chin, and she screams, swearing they didn't do anything. He just turns his back, declaring that everything's over, before falling backward into a star-filled void to regress once again. See, Jitae has lived through the apocalypse over 1,000 times, fighting dragons in a fire-ravaged city, yet he was never able to stop the end, always left wondering what could possibly change after so many failures. After watching dragons roar and breathe fire at him through countless explosions, he realizes the answer. His failures and the experience that came with them are everything. He finds himself in battle stances facing streaking projectiles and bolts crashing down around him, amidst blinding flashes of light and exploding sparks. He descends into the fiery chaos, colliding with monstrous dragons, until he's swinging his glowing blade through the air, slicing up red, green, and yellow gold dragons. But even as he stands on the ruins of a burning city, he knows there's no end to them. The golden clock of his power tells him Earth has reached apocalypse status, and as the glowing gears turn rapidly, he decides that maybe it wasn't completely meaningless. As he closes his eyes with a new resolve, the time of the world will begin again, and a crowd of people looks up in shock, thinking the swirling purple rift opening in the sky is just something out of a movie. They discuss calling the police and try not to freak out, but as terrifying creatures emerge from the glowing portal, people fall in panic, realizing this isn't the 21st century they knew. Yet, humanity fights back with armored soldiers and new heroes, and Jitae observes that it seemed like the flame of humanity would die out then and there, until someone like this woman summoning blue flames shows that humanity opened a new era called the New Genesis. Soon, young people with outstanding potential are gathered in an artificial land known as Hatchling, leading to the founding of World Academy City Lair. From there, we jump straight to a tense situation where a man named Joe Hoshik holds a woman hostage, with officers surrounding him, demanding he surrender. This bastard, cornered and thinking he's screwed, just yells that he'd rather die with his hostage than listen to those pigs. But then Yu Jitae appears behind him, calm as ever, reminding him he was told to surrender. Hoshik is terrified, wondering how this guy got behind him without him sensing a thing, so he just curses and lunges at Jitae, calling him a pig cop. Our boy just looks down, unimpressed, casually correcting him. He's not a pig cop, he's a police officer. Then he smashes Hoshik into the ground so hard he creates a crater. Hoshik, lying bruised and defeated, just barely manages to tell him to watch his strength, and Jitae apologizes, claiming he forgot for a second. Turns out Joe Hoshik is a human trafficker who took a civilian hostage, and now lies unconscious with blue magical energy crackling on his back. Jitae looks down at him, wondering why he's here, but simply states, "The way." A female colleague congratulates him on his work, but she stares at him, feeling like he's changed and looks more handsome, while Jitae just looks on with a completely emotionless gaze. Other colleagues ask if he bulked up, but he tells them to go do their own work, opting to handle things himself. Problem is, the apocalypse is caused by the death of baby dragons, which enrages the adult dragons, causing them to attack humanity. Our regressor repeated his life over and over, becoming incredibly strong, but it still wasn't enough to protect the entire world all on his own. Our story continues as Yu Jitae stands in a park, confronting Bomb, the green-haired dragon, who's surprised to find her mind automatically translating his words, thanks to her collapsed babble ability. She hesitantly greets him, then asks why he came looking for her, and he simply states he has business with her. She asks who he is, and he confirms, so she calls him by his full name, Yu Jitae. She smiles cheerfully, asking if she's right, which makes Jitae look at her with an intense, suspicious gaze, asking if she heard his name somewhere. She playfully points out it's written on his uniform, then laughs, admitting she was just kidding. Bong continues to tell him that she knows he's extremely strong, so she asks him flat out if he came to kill her, and Jitae gives a firm no. She then innocently asks if she's being kidnapped, which makes Jitae accuse her of having desires toward dragons. He cuts her off, warning her to stop fooling around and stating his intention to protect her in this dangerous world. Apparently, the Green Dragon clan's eyes can see providence, which means they're more perceptive and quicker at grasping situations, so Jitae hopes she makes a wise decision. Bomb smiles slyly, asking if she'll be treated kindly if she behaves and listens, and Jitae, with a sigh of resignation, agrees. She winks, insisting he treat her like a guest, and the two make a pinky promise. Later, Bomb peeks from behind a door, seeing Yu Jitae sitting on a couch, with a dark shadow figure nearby, who bows and puges to him. As Jitae walks down the hallway, Bomb asks if he slept well, telling him not to mind the shadowy figure because that's the one who goes to work in her place. She questions if he really does his work personally, and he clarifies that the clone is one of his abilities, so it's still him working, and he needs to stay by her side. Bomb giggles, accepting the explanation, and asks if they should have breakfast, reminding him that he even skipped dinner the night before. He insists he's fine, but she feels it's weird to eat while the homeowner doesn't, and points out that even though dragons don't need to eat for survival, eating something tasty makes you happy and more energized. She insists this won't do and drags him out grocery shopping with her, smiling confidently that she'll show him the power of breakfast. At the S-Mart, shoppers gossip about the beautiful woman and her companion, comparing them to dried squids, but Bomb just happily walks through the store with Jitae following behind. As Bomb skips ahead in the street, Jitae swears they need to stop by somewhere else. She looks confused, but then we see a creepy man with a cybernetic eye leering, thinking she looks truly beautiful. Jitae warns him that if he doesn't want to lose his remaining eye, he should just shut up and make it, which means they're there for Bomb's new identity. After interacting with a holographic display, Bomb marvels at her new recitation card, admitting she's never had an ID, bank account, or hologram watch before. Jitae silently wonders how she's even lived on Earth all this time, and she smiles, announcing her new surname is Yu, just like his, and she likes it. Yu Bomb, from the Four Seasons. As they walk in the park, Bomb admits he's still a little scary, and her green dragon eyes are warning her he's dangerous, but she smiles, reassuring him she doesn't think he's a bad person. Jitae questions if she can really be so sure after just one day, but she confidently states her intuition is better than anyone's because she's from the Green Clan. She asks if she can watch him a little longer, then happily walks ahead, inviting him to dinner and promising to cook. Jitae looks up at the sky, thinking that the start of his new mission isn't bad. Meanwhile, somewhere on the African continent, we see Yu Yoram, the red-haired dragon, standing over a fallen opponent, taunting him that he acted so tough but that's all he's got. The defeated enemy curses her, but she just kicks him in the head, laughing confidently. She sarcastically asks if he's not dead, claiming he was so ugly she stepped a bit too hard, and poses, celebrating her 200th win out of 200 fights. Our story continues with Yu Jitae looking at an article about Yu Yoram, the masked red dragon, noting that she's definitely made a move. He agrees to come right there when someone tells him dinner is ready, but then he sees the bizarre glowing purple-colored rice with 2 fish, and just stares blankly in shock and disbelief. Yubom smiles cheerfully, asking what he thinks of her cooking, explaining her inspiration that Koreans love rice, while the poor fish on his spoon silently begs for death. Jitae looks down with a tired, expressionless gaze and tells Bomb he's going to get the red dragon tomorrow. Bomb looks concerned, asking about bringing her back, and they discuss the difficulty of bringing in a red dragon. Bomb explains that while she's about taking her time and building things, the red dragons are different. They love war and violence and tend to flaunt their strength. Jitae, troubled, counters that it will be dangerous if they don't bring the red dragon in soon. The problem is, someone is after our red dragon, so he tries to convince Bomb that if she goes with him, they can settle this peacefully. Bomb finds it interesting, seeing him ask for something like this. Since she thought he was someone who always tried to do everything by himself, she agrees to help, noting it's not every day he asks for it, but then reveals her condition. He has to finish what she made for him. Jitae looks deeply troubled and hesitant, but he eventually gives in, realizing she got him. Meanwhile, in a rocky, devastated wasteland, Yu Yoram stands among many defeated tactical operatives, mocking a struggling soldier about how weak they all are. She claims she didn't want her 200th victory to be like this and wonders where she could go next, since there's no match left for her in Africa. The soldiers express despair, realizing she's a battle-crazed monster, not just a girl, and they're not enough to stop her. Yoram crouches menacingly, sensing their whispers, and the terrified soldiers look around, realizing she's behind them. She swings her weapon with a wide grin, taunting them with a too late, but then she's struck by a powerful explosive force, crying out in pain. She struggles, cursing the intense mana attack, then swings her large sword with incredible force, slashing away the mana Estir, watches Herder's battlefield identified as Night Hunter, and orders his men to fall back. Yoram confronts Javier, taunting him that she heard he was a girl, and asking if he fell for her even with the mask on. Javier, having felt the difference in their power, asks why she still won't surrender, but Yoram just smirks, declaring she wouldn't be herself if she retreated after her weapon broke, and gets into a fighting stance. Ready to fight, she leaps into action, striking his shield, and as she gets closer, she spots an opening and goes for a dick punch, but her punch connects with his armor, and he shows no reaction. Javier states he won't play along with her games, claiming her fights have been too easy until now, and it's a shame about her wasted talent. He swings his sword, unleashing a powerful attack, the Sword of Ra. Yoram can't avoid it. An energy beam fires, slamming her hard into a wall. Javier notes she ran away, but then Yu-Bomb appears, surprising Yoram. Bomb scolds her, healing her wounds and stating she was told Yoram would die if she kept fighting like this. Yoram, angry and defiant, asks what she means by saving her, insisting she'll fight till the end, and that Bomb should mind her own business. Bomb smiles, asking, "Me, Red, your own," leaving Yoram speechless. Yoram admits Javier is incredibly strong and will catch them in no time, but Bomb confidently says her guy will take care of that. As if on cue, Yu Jitae walks into the ruined city, confirming he didn't come alone. What this guy doesn't know is that arguing with Yu Jitae is a terrible idea, because our boy just unleashes a powerful golden attack of jurisdiction, activating his power with radiating energy and swinging his blade with immense force. Golden energy erupts across the battlefield, leaving Javier, the hooded warrior, standing alone in a desolate landscape. But this idiot just calls Jitae a monster for being with the girl monster, and assumes nothing will hurt him. Naturally, Jitae just floats there with dark energy swirling around him, frustrated by the guy's arrogance, thinking Javier, the so-called 8th rank superhuman, is way too uptight for his title. Then Javier reacts in alarm, looking behind him, because a gleaming enchanted Sword of Ra appears, surrounded by golden flames. He recoils in terror, screaming out. The Sword of Ra appears, surrounded by golden flames. He recoils in terror, screaming out. The sword's dam, and the powerful blade strikes downwards with intense energy. Javier is struck so hard his helmet cracks from the blow, and Jitae's foot steps onto the ground, crackling with dark energy, as our boy stands over the downed warrior, wielding a dark blade of pure energy. With a cold, emotionless gaze, Jitae tells him to listen quietly as he explains that Javier lost both his arms and his eyes trying to fight, and lost track of both his targets. Javier screams to wait, but Jitae just swings a glowing blue blade, leaving the warrior screaming in agony amidst blood and shadow. A bloody, severed hand lies on the ground, and Jitae stands calmly as shadowy manifestations loom around him, a chilling display of his effective power. Watching the whole thing, Yoram looks at Bomb, utterly shocked, asking what in the world that monster is, because if that's a human, she's nothing but a lizard herself. Jitae then turns to them, offering the red dragon a place to live within his house, and under his protection, promising enough freedoms and support for anything she wants, but he stares intently, giving a dark warning with the word protection, while while Bomb just hugs a flustered Yaoram, who immediately asks what Bomb is doing to her. Bomb only teases her about growing since last time, making Yaoram angrily say she's not in the mood to mess around. After that, Jitae touches his ear, reporting the situation has been handled, and says he'll finish up his work here. Bomb tells him she'll get going now, but then Yukado Dragon appears, asking Jitae who he was just talking to. Cao Teal teases him about talking to himself, finding it weird since his smartwatch is still right there, before excitedly showing him a super cool glowing blue digital projection interface, which she says is the love of many, but comes with its downsides. She projects screens while standing in a flower-filled forest, saying she's never seen anything like it, but Jitae just sits on a log, telling her she should be among humans for entertainment, since there's nothing but beasts and bugs out here. He then mentions the gold dragon, and Gyeoul, twiddling her fingers, explains her past, saying some people keep following her and looking at her weirdly. Ominous shadow creatures loom around her in a terrifying way, and she admits it was all a little scary. Then, out of nowhere, she asks if he likes bread. Jitae, confused, says he's a dragon and doesn't need to eat, just as a giant looming shadow entity hangs above the forest. Gyeoul reacts in shock as Jitae pulls out a bag of bread. It's really bread, and a whole bag filled with baked goods like donuts and pastries. Jitae hands the bag to an excited Gyeoul, who immediately asks why he has so much, screaming with delight at the sight of donuts and blueberry eggs. Jitae looks at her with a serious expression, telling her not to stay there, because their friends will be there, and she'll be safe. Gyeoul hesitates while chewing, mentioning her mom's advice, but Jitae just looks away, offering macarons as a bribe. At their new city apartment, Yoram leans against the balcony railing, still the rebellious red dragon, and our girl is even smoking a cigarette. Yubom looks out the window, spotting Yoram on the balcony, and is surprised to hear someone speak. Jitae walks in with Yukol, who's holding a paper bag and cheerfully announces that she's not there for more bread. Even if the sausage roll was really good, Kale enjoys a macaron so much she imagines flying macaron creatures in the sky, convinced this is a taste of heaven. Bomei gulbins Jitae back home, and Gyeoul reacts excitedly at the sight of Green, screaming her name. Bom happily greets Gold, saying it's been a while, and the two dragons embrace warmly, Gyeoul exclaiming how much she's missed Bom. While they chat in the hallway, Bom mentions Red is there too, and asks if Gyeoul wants to say hello, but then Jitae receives a dark magical message reporting his lord has returned and done well. Meanwhile, Yoram opens her door and scoffs, annoyed by the new visitor, but Gyeoul Bijita excitedly calls out to Red. She enthusiastically asks how Yoram has been, and Yoram immediately yells at her to stop talking before I rip your beak out. Later, the four dragons sit in the living room, and Jitae asks about their ages, with Gyeoul explaining that dragons grow faster than humans and that Yoram is 16. She then asks if Urium is a fake name for the red dragon, to which Urium just responds evasively with, who knows? Bom introduces herself, explaining that Jitae gave her the name, Bom. Gyeoul is surprised, noting they haven't even had their coming-of-age ceremonies, and their names are supposed to be special, not something so simple. Jitae then informs Gyeoul that her name will be Yu Jitae from now on, leaving her utterly surprised. When he mentions a glowing blue egg pendant is a polymorph, the craziest part is that Jitae dismisses their inquiry about how he knows so much, telling them there's no need for them to know. He sits attentively, reminding them of one crucial rule, they just need to follow it. He explains that they can enjoy their entertainment here, but they must not leave the fence, because their entertainment will be under his control and supervision. Kale looks confused, asking what he means, while Yoram leans on the table, annoyed, scoffing and calling him a kami. Bom then stands up, asking if there's a good shopping district nearby, smiling warmly at the idea. Jitae turns to her, telling her to spend as much as she wants, and soon Bom is pushing Kale in a shopping cart while Yoram walks behind, clearly on a spending spree. Honestly, our boy Jitae looks utterly confused as Cal and Yoram unpack an insane amount of clothes, and his credit card transactions flash on screen, culminating in a CR edit limit reach. Bom innocently explains she wanted to buy him clothes too, but couldn't because of the limit. Cal, meanwhile, is wearing new clothes, asking Jitae if she looks pretty, and announces she bought a lot because they were so beautiful. Yoram, with a serious expression, admits the clothes look good on Kale, but then she holds her sword and mentions it was destroyed in the fight. Jitae responds that she bought a pretty decent one, and Yoram agrees she didn't buy garbage. Bom then asks Jitae if there's anything else he wants, and presents a small potted plant on the table. Jitae is surprised, asking if it's a potted plant on the table. Jitae is surprised, asking if it's a potted plant. He asks what she means by giving it to him, and Bom, smiling, says it will be memorable. She looks dreamily at him, whispering, forever, then asks if there's a way to get the full experience while under his supervision. Back home after their interviews, Yaram stretches while Bom walks into the apartment, but Gyeoul is in full panic mode, crying and shaking about potentially being the only one not going to Lair Academy. Jitae stands over a stressed-out Gyeoul, telling her she won't fail, and carries her out of the room, comforting her. Gyeoul happily sniffs a shopping bag Jitae holds, asking what it is, and Jitae just offers her something she likes even more. On TV, a host introduces a famous guest, who turns out to be Gyeoul herself, a world-famous pop star by the name of Baby Yellow. Waving at her adoring audience, the host interviews her, and Gyeoul, of course, says she loves the show because she can talk while eating tasty food. The host jokes about her only surviving on morning dew, but Gyeoul laughs it off, denying the rumor and reminding everyone she's still human. Suddenly, delicious crispy fried chicken and soda appear, and Yarum, Gyeoul, and Bom all look eagerly at it, Gyeoul exclaiming how insane it smells. smells and how tasty it will be. Jitae enters the room as the girls gather to eat, calmly stating it's just fried chicken. No biggie, though it does smell good. Bomb invites him to eat with them, but Jai declines, saying they can dig in. Later, Jitae stands on the balcony, answering a call from Lair's admissions office. The admissions officer mentions a slight issue during today's interview, and Jitae asks what they mean by that, because apparently Yu-Bomb achieved a perfect score in her interview. The admissions officers couldn't praise her enough, even offering her the chance to lead the entrance ceremony, while Bomb and Keld are inside eating chicken, with Bomb gently telling Keld to slow down. The problem is, Bomb declined the offer, and the admissions officer asks Jitae to convince her otherwise. Our boy Jitae immediately refuses, saying if that's what she wants, that's what he wants, and ends the call. What this admissions officer doesn't know is that Jitae is not here to control them. Yehoram, who heard the call, asks if it was about Green. She challenges him about playing house at his age, asking who he is, Blackbeard, but Jitae just says he's trying to give them what they want and what she wants is a good fight. He acknowledges there are strong people at Lair, but warns they're all kids. Yoram grips the metal railing tightly, metal pieces flying off, clearly not satisfied with his answer. She confronts Jitae, demanding he fight her properly. She knows he's super strong and wants to know just how strong, saying if he's going to keep her under him, he needs to show what he's truly capable of. But Jitae just looks down with a bored, exhausted expression, telling her no and to head inside and eat. Yoram angrily flicks in the bird, screaming that it beats her. Gyeoul then innocently offers her a chicken leg, and Yoram takes an aggressive bite out of it, still furious. The next day, a beautiful, vibrant blue starry night sky appears, amazing everyone. Then a glowing dragon head logo appears as the Lair Academy is introduced as an educational institution on the Island of Abundance. It's a school that trains superhumans with various blessings and abilities, unlike any other in the world. The cadets are children of CEOs, royal houses, and servants. Yu Jitae, now in a school uniform, walks through the campus with Bomb, exclaiming how amazing Lair really is. Jitae stands behind them, apologizing for hiding it all this time. Heel jumps for joy in her uniform and then asks Bomb about the chaperone. Bomb explains that adult supervisors accompany students into Lair so that immature superhumans don't go out of line, implying Yoram would be a menace without supervision. She then wonders why Yoram is going through another test. Heel is shocked and disappointed, asking why, because apparently what Yakum applied for requires cadets to duel each other and they can't join. Other students gossip about how pretty Kale and Bomb are as they arrive at the school stadium, the Blue Dragon School Canteen Pavilion. Inside, two students fight with wooden swords, with one clearly dominating the other. Jitae sits among other anxious chaperones, who are freaking out about their kids getting hit. A mysterious character, the head professor Wei Yuan of the Blue Dragon School, smiles, asking them to calm down. The chaperones are impressed, saying he looks dignified, polite, skilled, rich, and is even a war hero. Jitae stares blankly as a voice announces entry numbers 120 wa and 7 to enter. A hand grips the handle of a wooden sword tightly. Yoram stands in a caged arena, facing her opponent, muttering that, "This better be interesting." As a blonde opponent with cold blue eyes stares forward, Yoram smiles mischievously, resting her wooden sword on her shoulder, warning that if it's not interesting, she's going to run away. A red-haired dragon Yoram is about to face off against Sofia Vorkova, a blonde-haired powerhouse who declares if this isn't fun, she's going to run away from home, a sentiment Yoram immediately echoes with her own threat to peace out. Apparently both fighters are pretty to look at, but some are definitely more into the redhead. Though one guy has to clarify that he's asking about who will win, not who they'd want to date. See, Sofia already had a reputation before coming to the academy, having been part of RIL, which are Russia's hunter special task forces that played a huge role in the Great War, and they're infamous for their brutal training methods that are basically torture. The problem is, as Sofia glares with all the intensity of a seasoned warrior, her father, a burly commander, is right there cheering her on, loudly reminding her that the higher-ups have high expectations, making Sofia wish the ground would swallow her whole. Naturally, Yehoram, never one to miss a chance for chaos, immediately jumps on it, pointing out how anxious Sofia's daddy seems and suggesting she just surrender and go back to her papa's arms, calling her a papa's boy. Yehoram quickly corrects herself, realizing Sofia would be a papa's girl, but warns her to shut her mouth, or she might really die. The scary redhead and the girl from RIL definitely get the crowd talking, as even the spectators admit both are terrifying. As a stern man in a black suit watches intently, Sofia takes her combat stance, and Yehoram smirks, clearly ready to throw down, right before a large red button is pressed, starting the duel. Sofia wastes no time, throwing a fist at Yehoram, who barely dodges the initial attack, but as she moves, a side blow from Sofia catches her, tearing her clothes. That infuriates Yehoram, who lets out a scream of pure rage, sweeping Sofia to the ground, because she just got these clothes. Sofia tries to slide away, complaining about her own outfit in response, but Yehoram pivots and closes in again, forcing the two fighters into a rapid exchange of blows, clashing repeatedly as Yehoram uses the arena walls to her advantage, kicking off them like a spring, and leaping towards Sofia from above. A red dragon descends from the air, swinging her wooden baton downward with all her might, and Sofia just barely manages to block the attack with her arms, groaning in pain as the impact lands. Yehoram smirks, clearly enjoying the fight now, as the two face off again. Yehoram charges, landing a punch to Sofia's face, and taunting her for playing along. With glowing red eyes, she brings her baton down on Sofia's head, then slams her against the cage, making Sofia cough up blood and cry out in pain as the fight ends. Yehoram stands victoriously over a defeated and bloodied Sofia, mocking her with a cheerful smile and saying that was so easy. Sofia stares up in shock and utter humiliation as her father rushes to her side, but Yoram is quick to dismiss him as just some loser. Other students gossip, agreeing that Sophia got absolutely trashed, and pointing out that the redhead isn't even hurt anywhere. The murmuring crowd decides Sophia is just weak as hell. Later, a nurse treats Sophia's injuries, talking about how she doesn't have the skills, so her face is all she's got, and Sophia just listens with her head bowed, clearly devastated. The nurse then reports that both of Sophia's arms are fractured. Sophia clenches her fist, barely containing her frustration, and eventually snaps, "Fine," at the commander. Her father, with a faint smile, kneels before his defeated daughter, telling her she did her best. He continues to try and comfort her, but the nurse tries to correct him, saying, "Your daughter," which makes him turn with a questioning, "Huh?" That's when Sophia, with a menacing knife in her hand, claims she never surrendered and was just pushed back a bit, her hand glowing with energy as she insists she's fine. Problem is, as Yoram turns around in the arena, a sudden flash of light indicates another impact is about to happen. Remember how Yoram just absolutely clobbered Sophia in the last chapter? Well, the chaos isn't over yet, because the entire academy is now watching in stunned horror as Yoram unleashes pure pandemonium in the arena, while our boy Yu Jitae sits cool as a cucumber, giving absolutely nothing away. Turns out, Sophia's not giving up, and she's back for round 2 with a blonde-haired assistant, but Yoram is going all out, trading brutal blows with the new opponent, sending both of them flying. Sadly, Sophia seems to have forgotten this is a duel, not a back alley brawl, because her blonde friend pulls out a knife, only to have Yoram snatch it right out of her hand, her eyes burning with pure unadulterated fury. The blonde girl charges with electric blue energy, but the Yoram is just done with these idiots. As she tries to dodge around Yoram, our hot-headed dragon grabs her by the hair, making the poor girl scream in pain. Yoram just towers over her, red energy radiating, and lands a punch that could probably put a hole in solid concrete. Of course, the other spectators are freaking out, wondering if someone shouldn't step in already, but Yoram, still full of red-hot rage, crashes into the crowd, sending everyone scattering. The blonde girl is left a bloody, beaten mess on the ground, as Yoram clutches the stolen knife, still looking for trouble. With glowing red eyes and dangerous energy swirling around her, she clearly hasn't calmed down a single bit. Suddenly, a muscular man, Mikhailov, Sophia's father, holds a knife to a woman's throat, but it's not working because that woman is Yoram, yelling at him to let her go. Luckily, an official steps in, pausing the interview to deal with this utter mess. Researchers in white coats rush in, manifesting magical energy, their hands outstretched to cast a powerful spell. They activate a massive magic circle, creating an overlap space to contain the chaos. Inside, Yoram's bloody knife deflects or contain the chaos. Inside, Yoram's bloody knife deflects off the newly formed barrier. Mikhailov points a furious finger at Yoram, shouting that she was the one who stabbed him first, and asking if that's why she tried to kill Sophia. Yoram snaps back, asking what he expects her to do. Just sit there and let Sophia kill her. The silver-haired official just smiles, as Mikhailov keeps yelling that Yoram could have easily just knocked Sophia out and demands to know why Yu Jitae hasn't raised his daughter better. The official then tries to talk some sense into Yoram, but she just reacts with confusion, unsure what to make of the situation. He grimly states that he can't help them anymore with how things are escalating. He then turns the screws, asking Yoram if she really thinks she's the only one in the family. Meanwhile, two schoolgirls compare Yoram's angry face to someone else, noticing their expressions are exactly the same. Yoram looks genuinely worried, a rare sight for a fiery dragon. Then, a character looks on with a confident smile, clearly enjoying the drama, as the official mentions a guardian, and our boy Yu Jitae appears in the distance. Yoram looks back, her eyes wide, probably relieved he's finally here to clean up her mess. Yu Jitae steps forward, his expression as serious as ever. Yoram and the other official watch him under the glowing magic circle, the tension palpable, as Yoram silently stares forward, probably bracing for whatever lecture is coming. Later, in a much calmer setting, a character serves tea, hoping the famous oolong tea from Taiwan will soothe everyone's nerves. The official, now holding a tea tray, formally introduces Yu Jitae from House Yu, remarking that people say tea calms the mind. Mikhailov, the official, and Yu Jitae sit at a table, with Mikhailov chuckling nervously, admitting he doesn't know where to begin and promising to look into things. He then adds that he's sorry this had to happen. Yu Jitae, ever stoic in his suit, just listens intently. We then see Sophia in a hospital bed, badly hurt with a neck brace, Mikhailov cursing that it's a relief neither of them died. The silver-haired man sips his tea, stating they'll keep seeing each other at the Blue Dragon School, referring to Yu Jitae as a cadet. Mikhailov explains that Sophia is still young and immature, then apologizes first since his daughter started this whole mess, introducing himself as Sophia's guardian. But then, he abruptly stands, saying he doesn't think he can accept things, his anger flaring again. He then turns on Yu Jitae, asking if this is how people from where he's from act, and if he even knows who Mikhailov is. Mikhailov shouts angrily, his face contorted. Yu Jitae, in classic Jitae fashion, just speaks coldly. The silver-haired official tries to calm things down, exclaiming in exasperation. Mikhailov stands over Yu Jitae, demanding to know why he didn't stop Yoram when he saw her running rampant. Yu Jitae just coldly retorts that it was a lack of skills and happened out of the blue, calling it a foolish excuse. Suddenly, Mikhailov grabs Yu Jitae by the collar. Furious, energy crackles around them both as the tension boils over. Mikhailov even pulls out a knife, shouting something about not even hearing him out, but his eye widens in shock, because Yu Jitae has somehow, impossibly, stolen the knife right out of his hand, leaving Mikhailov sputtering. When did you? Mikhailov stares at his empty sheath, utterly flabbergasted. Yu Jitae just speaks calmly. holding the stolen blade. He then holds the knife over a completely shocked Mikhailov, asserting his dominance without a word. Mikhailov's face is slick with sweat, his confidence completely shattered. Yu Jitae coolly states that he's leaving if they're done here, his hand reaching out for something. Mikhailov just stares at the silver-haired official, clearly at a loss. Yu Jitae simply lets out a small dismissive ha. Later, we find Yehoram looking down, probably still reeling from the day's events. Yu Jitae asks if she's feeling alright, dismissing her injuries as just a scratch. Yehoram looks at him, her face etched with a rare vulnerability, and asks if he thinks she's in the wrong too. She tries to explain that she just acted in the moment, but then surprisingly admits that maybe she should have been the bigger person. Yu Jitae just walks away, leaving her with a chilling piece of advice. Next time, kill her in a place where there are no witnesses. And oddly enough, Yehoram just smiles. As they walk away together, she reminds him that he was the one who told her to do it, to which Yu Jitae calmly replies, okay. Yu Jitae has some cold hard news for our fiery red dragon, telling her to pack her things the moment she gets home, because she's moving into the lair dormitory. Suddenly, a silver-haired professor, who we'll call Weehyun, pops up all smiles and clasped hands, quickly approaching Jitae and Yehoram to propose a deal. Yehoram, ever the rebel, immediately dismisses the whole thing, saying she'd rather not hear more nagging, but Weehyun just barrels ahead, offering her scholarship as a freshman representative. He even mentions Vice Principal Ma Nam-jun, which makes Jitae's face visibly tighten. Honestly, that name alone is enough to get our regressor's full attention, giving him a tense expression as he listens. Weehyun then casually explains that both Yu Jitae and our red dragon are demonic humans, who, unlike regular superhumans taking on blessings, instead take on a mysterious void that mainly creates blind rage and killing intent toward humans. What this guy doesn't realize is our Jitae already knows all about void and its dangers, and Weehyun's refined demeanor can't hide his underlying intentions. Jitae, with a grim expression, asserts that the most important factor is what Yehoram herself thinks, as he's only her guardian and the final decision ultimately depends on her. So Weehyun makes a direct appeal, asking our fiery red dragon if she'll help him draw the future together. But Yehoram, unimpressed by the grand talk, bluntly tells him she doesn't wanna, saying they should just go home since Jitae told her to pack anyway. Weehyun, genuinely shocked, asks if he heard that wrong, before a sinister smirk creeps onto his face, admitting he just got bored and wanted fights. From there, our regressor points out the horde of reporters swarming below, telling Yehoram to take a look down there, which makes her immediately ask who those people are. Apparently, they're all eager to hear opinions on today's incident. Weehyun watches the pair, laughing softly as Jitae and Yehoram depart. The silver-haired professor's stare lingers with a threatening look, leaving no doubt he's not done with them. Suddenly, the reporters rush forward, cameras flashing, pushing microphones into our girl's face, demanding to know about the knife fight incident and if she holds ill feelings towards Sofia Vorkova. They even accuse her of going rampant to gain attention for her family's revival, as her interview scene is already going viral, leaving poor Yehoram completely overwhelmed and panicking under the barrage of questions. But our red dragon doesn't stay panicked for long, quickly shifting gears as she decides, nah, if they want it, then I'll give it to them. She smirks as she activates a recording device, and then, in a truly iconic move, tosses it high into the blue sky, leaving the shocked reporter to wonder what the hell just happened. From there, we jump straight to the lair dormitory, a luxurious cherry blossom decorated building where our innocent gold dragon, Gyeoul, is absolutely blown away by the opulence. She rushes in, claiming the best room, even shouting dibs on it with childish glee. Cal marvels at how good the room is, her eyes sparkling with delight, as she jumps and bounces around the new space, deciding this isn't a bad room at all and that she'll be using it well. But sadly for our sweet Gyeoul, Yehoram, with a smirk and a smoke, appears right behind her, taking the room for herself. Naturally, this leads to a furious protest from Gyeoul, who insists she called it first, but to no avail, leaving her tearful and defeated. Meanwhile, Yubom, our eldest green dragon, is in a sunlit room, tenderly caring for a blue, spotted dragon egg, gently spraying it with water and cooing. Hello, my baby. She explains to Jitae that it's like prenatal education, as blue dragons love water and cooing. Hello, my baby. Apparently, when the time for hatching gets near, the dragon egg's polymorph is automatically removed. Problem is, the drama isn't over yet, as Jitae sees Yehoram's controversial interview from a few days ago has become a huge issue, especially her sharp rebuke regarding the personal rights for lair pupils. Our fiery red dragon, reclined on the sofa as if nothing happened, just dismisses it all, asking a nervous Gyeoul if she didn't hear how everyone came for making a commotion, and declaring that it's time for our something or other, with a menacing tone. Gyeoul's nervousness only grows, as Yehoram licks her lips with an intimidating smirk, telling poor Gyeoul that she doesn't have the right to refuse whatever she's about to say, even as Gyeoul begs her to wait and cries out to Mr. Jitae for help, but ultimately giving in. Honestly, nothing says peaceful like birds chirping among cherry blossoms, especially when you get to wake up in a luxurious lair dorm. But our fiery red dragon Yehoram is just sleeping through it all, completely undisturbed by the morning sun. That peace gets absolutely shattered though, when Gyeoul bursts into her room, yelling there's a problem, and a groggy Yehoram curses her out for waking her up after an all-nighter. Then she casually admits she was up all night watching porn, leaving a visibly horrified Gyeoul completely speechless. Yehoram drags a still reluctant Gyeoul down the stairs, warning her she's dead if this isn't serious, but as they reach the bottom she pauses, confused, wondering why everyone's gathered so early. Bomb looks up at her with big, worried eyes and explains Gyeoul is about to hatch. Sure enough, the spotted blue egg in the nest is wobbling, and a small crack starts to spiderweb across its surface. The whole family watches with bated breath, excited to meet their newest member, all gathered around the nest with anticipation. And even Yehoram gasps as the egg continues to crack. A tiny blue scaly limb pushes through the shell, followed by a small wing unfurling into the light. Finally, the newborn blue baby dragon sits amongst the broken shells, looking absolutely adorable. Bomb and Gyeoul cheer excitedly, welcoming little Gyeoul to the world. And Gyeoul, still a bit sleepy, rubs her eye. A human hand gently cleans the baby dragon, helping her get ready to meet her new family. Bomb holds the tiny dragon, talking about their mother, and offers to let Gyeoul hold her, which she eagerly accepts. Bomb gently hands the fragile baby dragon to Gyeoul, reminding her to be careful, and Gyeoul happily snuggles her, absolutely smitten. Her eyes sparkle, practically turning into gold, as she excitedly coos at Yoram about Gyeoul. Gyeoul, determined to spread the baby dragon love, forces Gyeoul into Yoram's arms, while Bomb tries to gently caution her to be more careful. Little Gyeoul just yawns, completely unaware of the chaos she's causing, and Yoram, surprisingly, looks down at the sleeping baby dragon with a soft expression. Gyeoul, seeing this rare soft side, asks if she finally gets it. Yu Jitae looks on as Gyeoul explains that Gyeoul would be sad otherwise. But when Jakob touches Jitae, she smirks, calling him out for trying to act nonchalant about the cute baby. She holds Gyeoul playfully, clearly planning something mischievous, and her expression turns downright wicked. In a sudden move, Yoram lunges at Yu Jitae, throwing Gyeoul at him, making Gyeoul scream in terror. But our stoic protagonist catches Gyeoul with ease, earning a nice catch from Gyeoul, while Yoram looks disappointed, saying it's no fun. And Gyeoul calls her abnormal. Bohm suggests Jitae pet the dragon, since he's already holding her, and Jitae, always serious, looks at the tiny creature. His hand reaches out, a stark contrast to the small dragon. He gently pets Gyeoul, asking if this is like this. But as he's petting the dragon, he looks up, asking his sisters what they're doing, only to see Bohm smiling sweetly. Holding a red rose, she winks playfully, bringing the rose to her face. Yoram and Gyeoul look completely baffled. Then they reveal the rose is now tucked behind Yu Jitae's ear, and on the other side, a blue flower hair accessory. Our stone-faced hero is now holding a baby dragon, with a rose and a flower adorning his head. His sisters, of course, are all taking pictures with their phones, and he just sighs, urging them to hurry up. Yoram, looking slightly mortified, asks if she really has to do this too, admitting it's kind of cringy. But Gyeoul is beaming, having the time of her life snapping photos. They even managed to get a rare group photo of Jitae, Yoram, Gyeoul, and Balm smiling together. Rare group photo of Jitae. Soon after, little Gyeoul is seen holding a baby bottle, looking adorable, and Balm explains to Yu Jitae that she plans to teach Gyeoul to polymorph before the semester starts using magic transfer. She clarifies this is how they teach a spell, by flowing mana directly into another person, and usually the person being taught pays no price for it. Balm continues to hold Gyeoul, explaining her plan. She flashes back to where she, Yoram, and Gyeoul learned to polymorph where they lived, and since Gyeoul hasn't learned anything yet, Balm wants her to experience all kinds of fun things before she gets bigger. Balm just wants the little one to have a good time. Yu Jitae, sitting on the sofa, agrees, telling her to let him know if she needs help. Balm looks surprised, teasing him about not knowing anything about magic, but Jitae, looking confused, adds that he does have a favor to ask. Then Balm asks him to stay by her side during the process. Few days later, back at the modern mansion, Balm collapses onto the couch, completely exhausted, saying it's finally over. Yu Jitae stands over her, congratulating her on a good job, which she returns weakly. She slowly walks away, saying she'll rest in her room for a bit, and adds that if something happens, he should just wake her up. But just as she's about to leave, she stumbles, and Yu Jitae catches her in his arms. Meanwhile, at the Lair District Police Station, Yu Jitae walks with his colleagues, who were amazed that he caught all the criminals the entire superhuman investigation team had been chasing for months, all by himself in just a few days. Their team leader proudly offers to pay for a celebratory meal with the corporate card, delighted by how happy the chief was. His colleagues immediately tease him about always using the corporate card, and the team leader reacts loudly, clearly annoyed by their banter. But as they walk, his colleagues question why Jitae is leaving so early again, noting he did this last time too. Yu Jitae looks away and denies their suggestions that he doesn't like them. He simply states he's taking his leave. His colleagues continue to shout after him, joking that it must be a girlfriend and telling him to just say it if he doesn't like them. Elsewhere, a woman is seen talking to a hologram, explaining she told him to stop calling her. She then meets Yu Jitae near a tree, telling him what the guy said next. As she walks past the tree, she continues her story, asking if he knows what he said. She's actually Yu Jitae's clone, explaining that in the past, her ability was used by the Grand Duke of the Demon World to exert influence over distant dukedoms, but after Jitae killed the Grand Duke and became the new master, she became his clone. Now, she approaches him, her heels clicking, a serious woman with long dark hair, and finds him sitting on a park bench. She addresses him, her heels clicking, a serious woman with long dark hair, and finds him sitting on a park bench, but she looks concerned, repeating my lord as he doesn't answer. Yu Jitae is holding a blue-haired child, which is Gyeoul, now polymorphed into her human form. The clone is surprised that Gyeoul has polymorphed into her human form. The clone comments that the couple, Jitae and Gyeoul, looks perfect for each other. She offers to hold Gyeoul for him, still calling him my lord, but the child, Gyeoul, glares sharply at her. She offers to hold Gyeoul for him, still calling him my lord, but the child, Gyeoul. Yu Jitae calmly states that it's okay. Gyeoul can walk on her own even if he doesn't hold her. Gyeoul, sitting among flowers, questions why Jitae brought her out here when Balm, Yoram, and Gyeoul are at home. Apparently, Balm is still resting in bed after the strenuous magic transfer, and Yoram flat out refused to help, telling Jitae not to even think about leaving that brat with her. The clone looks down, asking what Jitae means by all this, and not to play dumb, as all her emotions are relayed to him. She explains that those who have owned her before never wanted an everyday life like this, and she's struggling to understand, as they all wanted to use her on more meaningful missions. For example, she says, killing someone who needs to die, and a flashback shows Yu Jitae standing over a fallen, defeated man in a dark environment, or sending her to a position where his influence must be demonstrated. She looks down with a cold, serious expression, saying it's difficult to understand why he's trying to find an everyday life for someone as inadequate as her. She apologizes if her words discomforted him as they walk outdoors. Yu Jitae, sitting on a park bench, tells her there's something she must do in the near future, and until then, she should just keep going going to work. He adds that her teammates want to grab a drink, so she should join them. The clone looks down thoughtfully, taking in his words. He explains that soon enough, she won't be able to see them anymore. Yu Jitae watches as the woman walks away into the distance, then stares ahead with a calm, resolute look. He looks down, a contemplative expression on his face. Nearby, a mother presents a panda plush to her daughter, who joyfully exclaims her love for her mom. A close-up of the hands holding the adorable panda plush. Yu Jitae and Gyeoul observe the heartwarming scene. Gyeoul looks up at Jitae with an eager, shiny-eyed expression, clearly wanting one too. Our protagonist reaches into the void and pulls out a blue bear toy. Yu Jitae presents the blue bear to Gyeoul, noting it looks a bit different from the other one. Gyeoul blushes with excitement, absolutely delighted with her new toy. Yu Jitae watches her, asking if she likes it. He observes Gyeoul as she plays happily with the teddy bear on the ground, but then Gyeoul walks toward Yu Jitae looking confused, and he holds her, telling her he doesn't have any more right now. A close-up of Gyeoul's wide blue eyes. She looks at him. She then touches Yu Jitae's face with her small hand, pulling his face closer to hers as leaves fall around them. Yu Jitae looks concerned, wondering why she's doing this all of a sudden, and if it could be, a green-haired woman holding a small dragon, surrounded by green magical energy, flashes in his mind. His eyes reflect a sudden realization, connecting Gyeoul's actions to Bomb. Yu Jitae is seen walking through a park, holding Gyeoul's hand, the two of them enjoying a peaceful stroll. Gyeoul carries her new blue teddy bear, looking content. Jitae, however, looks upwards with a tired, expressionless face, as if carrying the weight of the world. He bends down, looking concerned, to address someone. Gyeoul looks up at him, questioning him, with an innocent, huh? Suddenly, Kale happily waves at them, calling out to Mr. K. She then rushes over and hugs Oh warmly, asking how she been. Gyeoul, clearly happy, returns the affectionate embrace. Kale smiles brightly, saying Gyeoul must be happy, and explains that dragons can relay their feelings and thoughts to each other. A flashback shows Gyeoul and Yu Jitae touching foreheads, sharing a connection, and Jitae looks surprised, touching his forehead, admitting he didn't know that. Kale, still holding Gyeoul, teases Jitae, saying she never thought there'd be anything he didn't know. Jitae looks at her with a knowing expression, then questions her about a large object behind her. Kale smiles, excitedly revealing a large guitar case. A close-up of the neck of a guitar, and a hand on acoustic guitar strings. Kale excitedly shows off her new guitar, saying she bought it to express her soul without having to touch skin to skin, and asks if she looks like a musician. She practices playing as Yu Jitae and Gyeoul watch, declaring she's going to try her best. Jitae watches with his usual calm, stoic expression. Suddenly a disturbing image flashes in Jitae's mind, an old guitar and syringes abandoned on the ground, and him looking down at a bloody scene with a woman on the floor. His expression is grim, watching the horrifying memory. The image of a blonde woman in shadows glaring upwards, further unsettling him. Back in the present, Gyeoul complains about her fingers hurting from playing the guitar. She cries, "Ouch, my fingers." Gyeoul looks surprised, then questions why she shouldn't play it. Jitae walks with Gyeoul, leading Gyeoul to follow behind him. Yu Jitae, with a sudden urgency, asks if Bomb is awake. Gyeoul says Bomb is too. Jitae then starts to explain about Yoram. Gyeoul comments that she's never seen Yoram so into something other than fighting. While Yoram looks bored, a cigarette in her mouth, Bomb, walking with Gyeoul, reminds her to wash her hands, and thinks to herself that at least Yoram's current obsession is better than causing trouble outside. Wondering if she's awake yet, Jitae looks annoyed and serious, having sensed something. He wonders if Bomb would be awake by now, then places a hand firmly on Kale's shoulder. Yu Jitae, with a stern expression, commands Kale to take Gyeoul to her room right now, and to stay there until he says otherwise. He urges her to hurry, cutting off her question about why so suddenly. Yu Jitae watches as Kale reluctantly leaves with Gyeoul, trying to entice her with a book. He looks thoughtfully toward a closed door, his gaze intense. Jitae stands in the hallway with a stern, focused expression. His hand reaches out, grasping a metallic door handle. He leans forward, peering cautiously through the slightly open doorway. His expression turns grim and intense at what he sees. Several fallen, armored entities lie on the floor of a dark room. An armored figure stands over the scene, speaking the single word, dragon. A close-up of the mysterious armored figure, with a glowing blue light, questions, "Was it you?" The Guardian explains that dragons use magic of subjugation to put a leash on useful monsters and humans. An army of armored knights is shown, controlled by glowing blue magical chains. They also served as bodyguards for hatchlings who went out for amusement. The Guardian is referring to Yu Bomb, who is sleeping peacefully tucked into her bed. Yu Jitae looks on with a grim expression, realizing the situation. The armored figure then strikes the floor with a heavy boot, creating a shockwave. The heavily armored figure confronts Yu Jitae, demanding, "Answer me. Are you responsible for making green like this?" Jitae calmly retorts that if you're in someone else's house, you should introduce yourselves first. The armored figure fires back that the right to ask questions belongs to the strong, meaning only they are allowed to question a lowly human like him. Jitae looks upward, observing the magical energy, noting it's a pretty high-level protection barrier magic. The armored figure stands before Jitae, giving him one last chance. They hold out a hand glowing with dark energy, again demanding to know what he's done to green. Yu Jitae calmly states that the blue dragon has. The armored figure looks at Bomb resting, and Jitae explains that the blue dragon has. The armored figure looks at Bomb resting, and Jitae explains that in wanting to teach her how to polymorph, green, Bomb, overworked herself, and ended up on bed rest. A close-up of the armored figure's face shows confusion, as they then ask who Jitae is. Jitae replies that he is their guardian, which the figure dismisses as a ridiculous self-introduction. Jitae, looking serious, questions if they have any clue who he is claiming to protect, because he does. He then asks how they got here so fast, as he knows they must have scattered in a distant dimension. An armored hand draws a weapon, emitting dark energy, asking how Jitae knows that, and saying he knows too much for a human. The armored guardians stand together, preparing to attack, declaring declaring themselves the guardians of the children and the keepers of the history of causality. One of those armored guardian idiots tries to swing a massive energy weapon at Jitae, who just casually blocks it like it's nothing, stopping the attack cold. The knight is obviously stunned, unable to believe Jitae blocked their sword of stallion so easily. But before he can even recover, Jitae's own weapon flashes, and he hits him with an upward slash that takes him out in one strike. The other knights, naturally, mock their fallen comrade for getting knocked out so fast, confidently announcing they'll finish this human and make him watch. The problem is they quickly realize Jitae is much stronger than they expected, staring in disbelief as he effortlessly takes down another, shattering their confidence. But here's the catch. The battle isn't truly over, as a mysterious force drags Jitae into a fractured dimensional space. After he regains his footing, our boy Jitae coldly asks the remaining armored knight if this entire world is under their rule, demanding an immediate answer about the sudden dimensional shift. The knight's glowing eyes shift, and they try to explain. Apparently a powerful green dragon they served was lost, and for some unknown reason, their dimension became twisted, flinging them out of its boundary. Jitae presses for more details on this twist of dimension, and the knight drops a bombshell, saying their lord once mentioned something called the Horizon of Providence. This strange power, from what they've heard, causes dimensions to twist. Jitae finds this all super suspicious, noting how strange it is that other dimensions are twisting around this Horizon of Providence. He wonders why guardians of a green dragon are finding him now, and what exactly this horizon has to do with them managing to get here. The knight suggests that the Horizon of Providence might have actually helped them. A strange emblem flashes in Jitae's eye as he considers the explanation, finally acknowledging that the knight is speaking the truth. He's meticulously dealt with everything that could pose a threat to the dragon's safety, so he can't understand why something unknown is appearing again, cursing like a will beyond the horizon itself. This horizon, it feels like a curse, all because this knight carries a core created with the green dragon's power. Jitae listens with a serious expression, his hand flexing under the stress. He makes a sudden move, his hand clawing into the wall. The knight lets out a pained grunt as its core glows faintly as Jitae hurls a piece of debris across the room in frustration. He stares, realizing something. A bright, magical light pulses from a hole in the armored figure's chest, and Jitae's authority begins to interfere, identifying the twisted flow of time. Golden magic chains bind a sphere of pure energy, swirling around him in a protective cage. These glowing chains form a dense cage around the energy sphere. An eruption of energy sphere, an eruption of energy sphere, an eruption of energy sphere. A magical hourglass appears, suspended in the swirling golden chains. Jitae realizes his authority, which has always remained still except for when he regressed, has begun to actively interfere, but he knows there's nothing he can do about it right now. He holds the glowing hourglass in his palm, deep in thought. Anyway, Jitae murmurs to himself, surrounded by the three kneeling armored guards, thinking it's probably dispelled due to the dimensional twist. One of them cautiously asks if there's any reason for them to still be here. Jitae looks at them with a cold, uncaring expression, saying if they won't make any trouble, he doesn't care. The three armored guards quickly raise their hands in a nervous departure gesture, ready to leave. Another timidly agrees, and Jitae nonchalantly accepts their departure. But then, one knight flatly declares, I cannot leave. Jitae stares, silently intense. The stubborn armored guardian faces off against Jitae, repeating that he's not leaving. Jitae strikes him down with a casual blow, as the guardian admits he is the guardian of history and causality. Our boy steps forward, ready to demand answers, his foot pressing firmly on the ground. He looms over the fallen foe, asking again if he's really not leaving. Jitae places his foot on the guardian's chest, a piece of damaged armor lying motionless nearby, emanating silent power. With a stern, impatient expression, Jitae asks for the last time, will he not leave? The defeated knight struggles, gasping for breath, insisting he truly can't leave. The other armored guards mutter that no matter how many times Jitae asks, this one won't listen. Calling him a dull one by nature, Jitae listens with a stoic, detached look, thinking this foolish one cannot seize freedom even when it's offered. Fine, Jitae decides. Now this one is fit to be a guardian, he declares, his spectral weapon glowing. Much to the other guards' confusion, a piece of shattered armor lies discarded. The defeated knight, now understanding, asks why Jitae killed everyone except him, wondering if he was testing them. Not really, Jitae responds with indifference. He just figured this one was unusual. The knight, still loyal, asks why Jitae wants to protect the green dragon so much. He admits he hasn't lost his loyalty to the green dragons yet. Jitae acknowledges his loyalty, but asserts that right now, the green dragon is under his protection. He coolly asks what a weaker guardian like this knight can possibly do. The knight looks up, speechless, remaining utterly silent. Well, there is one role he can take right now, Jitae thinks, as Gyeoul holds Joko, Odiu, and Yoram stands beside them, ready to say hello to their new unwilling guardian. Fresh off his defeat, our new janitor, a guardian from Escalifa, finds himself scrubbing dishes, which, honestly, is quite a step down from fighting literal dragons, leaving him with nothing but a tired sigh. Apparently, the title of janitor isn't sitting well with him, as he demands to know what Yu Jitae is saying. Our stoic regressors just casually throws out the title, making our brave janitor look incredibly stressed, as if he's not sure how he ended up in his pink-gloved predicament, while Jitae himself seems completely unfazed. Regardless, it seems his new job requires immediate action, as he's back at the sink still contemplating his fate. Luckily, the ever-calm Lady Bon glides into the kitchen, asking if he's a guardian from Escalifa, which immediately makes the armored figure flustered, as he then declares he's merely here to work as a janitor. He even dons a pink apron and gets a blush on his helmet when Yu Bomb, with her usual grace, tells him she looks forward to working with him, causing him to grip his dish towel like his life depends on it. When Yu Bomb, with her usual grace, tells him she looks forward to working with him, him. Our devoted janitor, now completely smitten, declares he will ensure not a single droplet of water lands on her hands, only to immediately smash a dish, realizing it was an expensive one, which is just classic for him. Meanwhile, away from the kitchen chaos, the other dragons are having a mini fashion show, with our shy Gyeoul modeling adorable overalls and dresses, while Gyeoul, delighted by the cuteness, snaps away with her camera. Gyeoul, blushing with her teddy bear, obviously loves all the attention. When Gyeoul asks the janitor for his opinion, he smoothly replies that all the clothes suit her perfectly, prompting Gyeoul to playfully point out his way with words and laugh. The thing is, Jitae, observing the scene, casually mentions Gyeoul is still playing guitar, which she quickly tries to play off as just a free-time hobby. Our regressors looks on with a neutral, slightly awkward expression. Jitae then asks where Yoram is, and the janitor sheepishly admits she rejected his cleaning attempt, claiming she was watching dramas in her room. Yoram tells the janitor to get lost, completely ignoring his concern about her complexion. Lady Bomb, ever the observer, explains that Yoram's bad complexion is probably because she hasn't slept at all. Our stoic Jitae takes in the news with a serious expression, heading straight for Yoram's room to check on her, his own eyes showing a hint of fatigue. Inside, it's a total disaster zone, with empty alcohol cans, an overflowing ashtray, and Yoram herself, sitting amidst the mess, holding another can snacking. She dismissively says Jitae only came by to check if she was alive, meeting his serious, flat gaze. Jitae asks if she's been watching this terrible fantasy battle drama with a trash story and no historical accuracy, which she agrees is pretty awful. He then tells her to come out because he has something important to tell everyone. Our regressors, carrying Gyeoul, gathers the other dragons and the janitor, announcing they're about to have a deep clean, much to Gyeoul's obvious surprise. Yoram in a panic asks how Jitae even entered her room, but he calmly instructs them to clean their own rooms, leaving the living room and kitchen to the janitor. Naturally, the dragons react with complaints, with Gyeoul screaming about hating dirty stuff when touched, feeling this is incredibly harsh. Then, that lazy idiot Yoram tells the janitor to clean her room while she goes to the gym, expecting him to inspect it later. And he, of course, agrees. Gyeoul thinks this whole situation is incredibly harsh, which, honestly, it is. Jitae just holds Gyeoul, letting the chaos unfold around him. Luckily, Lady Bomb is offering to cook a specific dish, as metallic boot steps sound off, signaling someone's departure. Now the poor janitor is truly facing his fate in Yaoam's incredibly messy room, where he sorts through trash and, even without a nose, feels the stench, realizing one can emit demon world energy. Jitae looks down at him, explaining that trash needs to be sorted separately, while the janitor, sensing the energy, wonders if he's actually found a clone's discarded item. Our regressor looks slightly annoyed by the whole ordeal, clearly not used to this kind of domestic chaos. Then, Jitae walks in on the janitor giving advice to Yoram about cleaning, telling her to clean the room alone, while she just works out with weights, ignoring him entirely. See, while Bomb is grocery shopping and Gyeoul is busy opening a large appliance, our Jitae is actually helping the janitor clean, as the sun sets over the city. After all that, Jitae shows a tracking map on his laptop, which reveals grotesque biological specimens in containment tubes within a dark laboratory, hinting at the serious, stoic mission and shadowed demonic figures that loom behind his current family life, and his typically emotionless expression is now flat and serious. Luckily, the mood shifts as Lady Bomb arrives home smiling warmly and is greeted enthusiastically by Gyeoul and the janitor, who marvel at her haul of groceries. Separately, a man in a suit is stopped by another individual who sternly demands something from him, pausing his departure for an unknown reason. Back home, dinner is served and it's some suspiciously glowing purple food, which, for Gyeoul, reminds her of a dish she once had in Ascalifa. With everyone gathered, Gyeoul cheerfully wishes their janitor could eat with them, only for Yoram to loudly and rudely point out that he doesn't even have a mouth, which, to be fair, is an inconvenient truth. But then, our emotionless Jedi looks completely shocked as a purple energy starts to emanate from him, leaving us wondering what the hell is going on now. Kick off this chapter with a chaotic scene of death and destruction, where a bloody monster snarls in pain as Yu Jitae pins a raging villain against a cracked wall, demanding answers about his affiliations, while the idiot shouts threats, convinced his backers will save him. Of course, our boy Jitae knows exactly who he's talking about, and delivers a brutal strike, then grabs the villain by the hair, forcing him to look Jitae in the eye, asking him flat out if he's affiliated with the demonic human organization called Invisibility, leaving the captive stunned and unable to respond. Jitae's eye glows with a magical scale symbol, warning him that lies won't work, and the terrified captive starts spilling secrets about a plan in 3 months where success means someone gets chosen for the powerful seats within the organization, which the narrator fills in are the 4 most powerful demonic humans, basically super demons, and they can command legions and obtain power on par with natural disasters. Honestly, this means they're the highest rank among all demonic humans. Problem is, Jitae immediately realizes that Y1, one of the targets from his past, shouldn't have the strength to plot anything of this scale right now, so he uses his powers to peer through the timelines with a golden hourglass, looking for interference, and finds a mysterious glowing silhouette, realizing a being from outside this world's timeline, unhappy with Jitae's regressions, has interfered. The worst part is that Wan now exists as a culmination of the finest elements from all Jitae's past runs, essentially an optimized version of himself. First the Guardians, and now Wan, which means things are definitely spiraling out of control. To help Wan rise to such a high rank, this plot has to be massive, and Jitae suspects it might even be connected to the massive dungeon lair he's tracking. From there we jump to Jitae walking through a park where a school official tries to recruit him for an end-of-year event, but our boy is more interested in what he sees around him, and he melts a little, completely taken by a cute kid with a hat, watching her play with Bomb and the others. He quickly realizes it's Gyeoul, the youngest dragon, and she's surrounded by adults fawning over her. One of the women asks Gyeoul her age, which immediately makes Jitae step in, demanding to know what business Gyeoul, her age, which immediately makes Jitae step in, demanding to know what business have with her. Naturally, the nervous women deny everything and back off quickly. After that, Bomb joins Jitae on a bench, wondering where he's been all day, and he asks her why she's with Gyeoul, as Gyeoul looks sad, thinking Jitae won't have time to spend with her in the future. Bomb just smiles gently, while Jitae looks thoughtful. Jitae refuses to let his guard down. He remains deeply suspicious of Bomb, wondering if this unexpected kindness is a sincere gesture or a clever deception, and Gyeoul looks up with wide blue eyes as Jitae declares that he and Bomb must be something. Our stoic Jitae ponders this profound statement. Bomb, however, can't hold back a playful snort of laughter, poking his shoulder and telling him not to look so serious when he says strange things. Later, Bomb watches him carry Gao away, asking if he had fun. Her smile signals a peaceful acceptance, confirming she is finally comfortable enough to let her guard down around him. Then we fast forward to the academy, with students walking through cherry blossom-filled paths as the dragons get ready for class, heading towards the imposing school tower and making their way along the paved path, through the entrance, and past the decorative fountain. Gyeoul is running late again. She treats the school gates like a finish line, desperate to make it to class before the morning bell rings, laughing happily, and asks Bomb what classes they have, hoping they're together. Bomb, ever the pragmatic one, asks why Gyeoul is still eating toast, especially after already having breakfast. Gyeoul, with a sly smile, tells her that she clearly doesn't understand. It's all part of the anime trope where you bump into someone and that person is your fated partner. She then gushes about how cool that would be, completely starstruck, and clasps her hands together in a state of pure naive bliss. The thing is, as she's dreaming, Yoram comes crashing into her trome. Yoram, true to form, is also eating toast and dismisses Cal's outrage, asking why it matters if they're both girls, while Cal screams, distraught that her toast has fallen. Yoram just smirks with a knowing look. Bomb looks confused and asks Yoram if she's sick, while Cal's eyes widen in confusion. Suddenly, reporters swarm the school entrance, clearly not students looking to pick out noteworthy freshmen, and Yoram quickly tries to make a break for class as students whisper anxiously. The public exposure leaves Yoram feeling completely exposed. She recognizes that her quiet life is over, and the chaos of fame is finally catching up to her. The reporters immediately swarm her and Gyeoul, asking for interviews, and Yoram's face twists into a snarl as she yells at the crowd to shut up. The reporters, stunned, agree to her terms. Yoram then smiles menacingly, inviting them to approach, clearly planning to take them all on. So while the other dragons are causing chaos at school, our boy Jitae has to leave Gyeoul at home, and for some reason, the person assigned to watch her is an armored guard who naturally is completely clueless about kids. He stands there sweating and awkward, while Jitae gives him the simple instruction to just take good care of the child. In the guard's head, this is much harder than cleaning, because he's never taken care of a child before, and little Gyeoul just sits there patiently, clutching her stuffed bear child. In the guard's head, this is much harder than cleaning. After that, the guard tries his best to make Gyeoul comfortable, but she just keeps waiting silently, turning away even when he suggests she rest somewhere cozy. It's honestly pretty awkward, so he busies himself by cleaning the house, which he finds is already spotless. With no other options, the armored guard decides to read Gyeoul a picture book, hoping to spark some interest in the silent child. He kneels down next to her, and Gyeoul's light up, making him relieved that she's finally showing him engagement. The thing is, his version of a children's story is a little, historically accurate, starting with a cottage deep in an ancient forest. In his head, that means the primordial forest before the Demon Age, where a girl named Dolsun lived with her father. He continues, describing Dolsun as lucky because her father always told her stories of old times before she fell asleep. Apparently, those stories were about the Great War. Gyeoul just looks at him with a question mark over her head, as he explains that one morning, Dolsun woke up and her father wasn't home. Naturally, the guard interprets this as her father going to find a new mother, because in that era, it was common to take female war captives as concubines. The guard himself seems a bit confused by his own storytelling, but Gyeoul is absolutely mortified, pointing at the floor as if to say, absolutely not. She then aggressively tosses her stuffed bear, clearly done with his grim historical accuracy. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Bomb is deep in thought, and in the city, a car pulls up to the school and a student steps out. Surprisingly, she's Gong Joo-hee, a super pretty student who draws everyone's attention. She's already complaining about getting sweaty when she notices a crowd of reporters and, in her head, she's convinced they must be waiting for her. Her secretary has to break the news that, sadly, the reporters aren't there for her, leaving Joo-hee completely bewildered about who else they could possibly be here for. The problem is, our fiery red dragon, Ram, has already caused a scene, sitting on a boy who's apparently volunteered to be her human chair, which Gyeoul questions, while Ram just shrugs, saying he wanted to. The boy, sweating profusely, happily confirms he's okay with being her seat. And of course, the reporters are swarming, asking ridiculous questions, as one particularly large reporter steps forward. Ram just looks bored, interrupting him mid-sentence, holding the microphone herself. The reporter claims it's for her fans, but he's sweating unnervingly as he speaks, making our red dragon visibly disgusted. She mutters about his sweat, but the reporter presses on, saying if she has a different intention, and provocatively asks if she wants to do that with him. Ram stares intensely, asking if he thinks it's a joke, while the reporter tries to justify his behavior by claiming that's just what reporters do. That's the last straw for Ram, who grabs him aggressively, while Gyeoul nervously tries to tell her to just ignore him and go inside. What this idiot doesn't know is that he's poking a literal dragon, and he even thinks her aggression will boost views. He grins, thinking he might need to provoke her more, and goes so far as to threaten to write an article claiming she demanded relations from him. That's when Ram completely snaps, declaring she'll kill him before he publishes anything, and punches him square in the face. Just as the chaos truly erupts, our naive gold dragon Gyeoul is incredibly relieved because our boy Jitae arrives looking incredibly serious and and asking if Yoram caused trouble again. Yoram immediately defends herself, blaming the pig bastard reporter. Without a word, Jitae simply scoops her over his shoulder, carrying her away. Yoram hits his back, still fuming, and Jitae warns her not to publish any articles about this incident before he uses some kind of powerful blue aura, which kicks up a dust cloud. The man she just punched panics, seeing something strange happen with his hand, and Yoram looks on with wide-eyed surprise, wondering what the hell just happened. Jitae then warns Cal not to be late for school, leaving Gongjui and her secretary to discuss what they just witnessed. The worst part is, another observer makes a crude remark about Cal's chest size, while Gongjui watches, clearly annoyed, as a photographer pushes past her. Class is officially back in session at the World Union Academy, and Professor Kai, a genuinely friendly guy, kicks things off with a big smile, practice sword in hand. But for our hot-headed dragon Yu Yoram, a lecture on the history of swordsmanship is about as exciting as watching paint dry, and she's already muttering for him to just get to the fighting already. Our boy Jitae, sitting beside her, probably expected Yoram to be halfway out the door by now, given her usual disregard for boring stuff, and yet, here she is. Honestly, this whole school thing seems to be slowly killing her. Yoram makes a pained face as she leans into Jitae's space, who quickly pushes her back, telling her not to lean on him, which just makes her playfully ask if he's embarrassed. He of course gives no reply, leaving her to pout with puffed out cheeks. She then declares that studying is boring, a fact that Jitae for once actually agrees with. See, Yu Yoram didn't sign up for this family roleplay stuff in school. She expected her days to be brimming with dopamine-filled moments. What she really means is fighting, killing, and getting drunk on victory, not boring junk like lectures. Naturally, Professor Kai notices our little firecracker's restlessness, and with a mischievous glint in his eye, he assigns her a classic detention, stay after class with her chaperone. So after class, our two dragons are stuck polishing practice swords, with Yoram gritting her teeth and whining about the injustice of it all. She'd rather take a beating than do this, even suggesting they just call the family cleaning guy to do it since he likes cleaning. Problem is, someone has to watch Gyeoul, and as a blue dragon, she's about as useless for this kind of work as a decorative vase. Curious, Yafim asks Jai about his own study habits and he admits he never had time for it, which makes her laugh, thinking he was a screw-up too, until he reveals he was in the middle of a war, too busy just trying to survive. Given his intense past, Yafim wonders how he can keep moving forward, especially if he gets too strong and loses the thrill of it all. Jitae, in his usual stoic way, simply states that life continues and he can't give up, which, honestly, sounds like something a dramatic teenager would write in their diary, a thought Yoram immediately points out. Later, back at their place, Yoram is stuck with the stoic armored guard, trying to solve a puzzle cube, turning the sides to match colors, which, unsurprisingly, does not go well. She struggles with it, then in a fit of frustration, hurls the cube at the poor guard, calling him a useless bastard for his general existence. She throws herself on the floor, bored and pouting, while Yu Bomb and Yu Gyeoul innocently play with building blocks nearby. Bomb makes the mistake of calling her by her name, making Yoram glare and warn her against it. Tension fills the air, but Yoram quickly calms down and decides to share Jitae's life continues philosophy, which leaves both Bomb and Gyeoul looking at her with wide eyes. She leans in to explain further. Yoram says Jitae believes life continues, and he can't give up, and both Bomb and Gyeoul immediately recognize it as something Jitae would say. She then reveals the kicker. Jitae, unlike other humans, doesn't feel enjoyment, pointing out how Yu Gyeoul looks like she's about to die of happiness just eating tasty food, or how Yu Gyeoul is perfectly happy just playing with her ragged teddy bear. But Bomb, ever the thoughtful one, suggests maybe Jitae does have something he likes, making her ponder it. She thinks about Jitae. Yoram questions Bomb if she really believes that, but Bomb's eyes light up as she remembers one specific thing about their emotionless guardian. She then reveals that Jitae has some surprisingly cute reactions, which seems to make her smile slyly. She thinks of Jitae, who is looking pensive, and then Yu Bomb, still smiling slyly, drops the bombshell. He has some unexpected cute reactions. Yu Yoram, shocked by this revelation, immediately starts tickling Yu Bomb for more information, as Yu Cal excitedly runs down the stairs, looking eager for breakfast, but she then freezes, shocked by the sight of Yoram pinning down a blushing Bomb, who is desperately begging Yoram to stop. Gyeoul stares wide-eyed at the scene, covering her blushing face with her hands, wondering what the hell is going on. Meanwhile, Jitae is in his room adjusting his shirt, briefly revealing his muscular abs, when Yu Bomb peeks through his open door, calling his name. She looks in shyly, as Jitae calmly buttons his white shirt. Blushing furiously, she apologizes for not knocking, but she's really there to ask him to accompany her today. Her face still red as she smiles shyly. Fresh off the chaotic tickle fight, Yu Bomb immediately asks Yu Jitae to accompany her today, which surprises our boy Jitae, wondering why the sudden request when he's always had to stay to keep an eye on the other two dragons, as if she doesn't know what they're up to. Seriously, Yu Yoram is gleefully punching some poor guy in a brawl, while Yu Gyeoul is being easily tempted by a shadowy figure offering fried chicken. Yu Jitae just sighs, knowing he's got his hands full, but Yu Bomb, ever the mischievous one, bluntly declares she's asking him out on a date, making Gyeoul gasp in shock. Though Yoram quickly interjects, insisting Bomb only means as a chaperone. Gyeoul contemplates this, clearly still bewildered by the idea. Honestly, Jitae tries to correct them, but Bomb is already too far gone with her plan. Gyeoul meanwhile just smiles happily, already forgetting the whole thing. It seems Bomb set up a whole scenario about a woman surrounded by men, making Yu Jitae wonder if he's supposed to be one of the 97 abandoned men from her strange fantasy. Then, she accuses him of not paying attention even though she's the one who kidnapped him first. Elsewhere, Yu Yam is giving Jitae the evil eye, clearly thinking he's being too mean to poor Bomb. Jitae just listens, probably trying to figure out if any of this is real. Yu Bomb just went playfully, already planning her next move. From there, we jump straight to the World Union Academy, where a huge auditorium auditorium is packed with students. Naturally, everyone is whispering about Yu, wondering if she's the famous Yu Yerim's older sister. Words going around that she got a perfect score on something, which only fuels the gossip. Of course, some students are being rude, even calling the Yu family name tacky. The instructor, completely oblivious to the drama, happily demonstrates a dance pose. The students groan, embarrassed about having to do dance practice. But the instructor isn't having it. He explains that when they become superhumans representing their families, they'll attend formal events, and being clueless and awkward then will be even more embarrassing than dancing now. The teacher tells everyone to pair up in twos, and students politely greet each other, finding partners. A shy boy even works up the courage to ask a girl to dance with him. But then the confusion starts, as everyone wonders who's left. The problem is Yu is still standing alone. Students whisper that she gives off a strange vibe that makes her hard to approach, and poor Yu, feeling unpopular, laments her lack of a partner to the instructor. She even tries to ask the professor to be her partner, claiming he's pretty enough. But then, Yu Jitae appears, wearing his ID badges or chaperone, making her wonder if she can partner with him. Lights up instantly, running off enthusiastically towards him. Lights up, instantly lit towards him. Yu Jitae watches her, looking completely surprised by her sudden burst of energy. She turns around, reaching out to him, practically dragging him into the lesson. Jitae hesitates, admitting he can't dance, which is an excuse is not accepting. She immediately starts complaining, asking if he's really going to leave her all by her lonely self. The instructor continues guiding the other students, telling them to slowly take their partner's hand and step. Yu Jitae and Yu stand face, creating an undeniably tense moment. Yu looks up, flustered and surprised by the closeness. In his head, Jitae is probably running diagnostics as his hand trembles slightly. Yu playfully teases him, asking if he's embarrassed to touch her, but Jitae quickly denies it, so she takes matters into her own hands, firmly grabbing his, and reassuring him not to worry. She explains that simply touching hands doesn't instantly connect their emotions, which is a surprisingly deep thought from our playful dragon. Yu then gives him a mischievous smile, silently warning him not to slack off. She steps her feet close to his, ready to begin the dance. And just like that, Jitae and are dancing in a waltz position. Yu looks up at him, enjoying the moment as they sway to the music. Honestly, the whole scene looks pretty romantic with the floral decor and their waltz posture. But then leans close to Jitae, ruining the mood by teasing him about his incredibly sweaty hands. A close-up of their clasped, perspiring hands confirms her observation. She continues her relentless teasing, asking if he's that nervous, claiming he's sweating in other places too. Instead of answering, Yu Jitae suddenly starts unbuttoning his shirt. He reveals his muscular chest, which immediately sends Yu into an intense blush, proving she's just as flustered as he is. Then, someone stumbles, causing an awkward movement that breaks their intimate moment. This leads to Yu Jitae and Yu being in a very intimate close contact embrace. Yu Jitae looks nervous and wide-eyed, completely caught out in Barat. Yu for her part looks up with a flustered and blushing expression. They share a deep connection in that moment, making us all wonder if the date is going better than Jitae expected. Later outside, the sun is shining brightly on a building. Yu contentedly sips a drink with a straw, clearly feeling refreshed after the dance. She suggests Yu Jitae should go to a hospital, probably because he was sweating so much. Jitae is puzzled by her suggestion, especially when Yu suddenly gets a nosebleed, but she quickly dismisses it, reminding him that dragons don't need hospitals. Anyway, she compliments him, admitting he dances better than she expected. Our boy Jitae looks serious and pensive, asking if she learned how to dance somewhere before. His eyes narrow suspiciously, knowing there's more to it. See, we get a flashback to Yu Jitae training to fight with a girl, both holding hands as she teaches him. She smiles at him, telling him he's not as bad as she thought he'd be. He stands outside on a green lawn, reflecting on his unusual dance lessons. Back in the present, Yu looks thoughtful, holding her drink. She holds a mysterious pill over her glass, preparing to drop it in. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a ruined dark corridor with an alarm light blinking red. A panicked woman runs through a bloody hallway, past fallen bodies. She curses repeatedly, looking behind her with a face contorted in fear. She desperately presses a button on a control panel, realizing they can't stop whatever monster is here. The woman sprints towards an opening door, planning to escape and contact headquarters. But then, a man in a dark coat looms behind her, asking why she's in such a hurry. The panicked elven woman looks at the man, utterly startled, and asks him what he wants. Our boy Jitae is in a clothing store, taking a call that sounds surprisingly formal, but as he mentally processes the information, we're instantly pulled into a horrifying memory of a demonic human that can bind countless minds into one, swarming through a burning world, and the problem is, the longer it survives, the worse it gets. Luckily, Jitae has seen this kind of thing before and ended it, and now he's using his Grand Clock authority to scan for something familiar, suspecting that this new change in identity is just another act of malice, which means nothing has truly changed for him. Honestly, before Jitae can fully process the grim reality of his mission, he's abruptly pulled back to Earth by Bong calling him over, demanding he hurry into her dressing room, clearly having no idea he just sworn to kill anything that disrupts his daily life. Our guy looks completely blindsided when she steps out in a bikini and cover-up, asking his opinion. She giggles about it being almost summer, happily admitting she thought it would be nice to buy one, and then, the absolute chaos demon invites him to look closer. Bomb is momentarily surprised by his reaction, but quickly recovers, muttering about adults, as if Jitae's the weird one here. As they walk through the bright mall later, she can't resist teasing him again, asking if he actually wanted to look closer. But Jitae, ever the stoic, just tells her to stop fooling around and go home. Honestly, the poor guy looks like like he just survived a war. Apparently, it's not long before Gyeoul's favorite ragged teddy bear comes up, and Jitae asks about presents for the other dragons. Yoram already has something in mind she saw in a movie, so Bond decides she'll handle Gyeoul and Yoram's gifts, leaving our clueless hero to pick for Gyeoul. Naturally, a nearby toy store clerk immediately spots Jitae, and after a quick assessment, she realizes he's a grown man, not with a woman, and completely clueless about baby toys, which makes him the perfect target to fleece. She even has a little target predator moment, like she's a predator and Jitae's her prey. The clerk immediately pounces, asking how old the child is, and gushing when Jitae says 4, even though he barely gets out that it's not his daughter. She doesn't miss a beat, and Jitae looks completely bewildered as she brings out a pink toy stethoscope, pressing it against his chest, and spinning a sales pitch about bonding with the child through play, which honestly sounds like a nightmare for Jitae. As he contemplates the ridiculous medical toys, she hits him with a classic upsell, insisting that if he buys the doctor play set, all the others are 10% off. She's practically rubbing her hands together in glee, knowing she's got a big sale, and Jitae, ever the pushover in these situations, walks away with an absurdly large stack of boxes, convinced it's all necessary for the baby's emotional development. Then, at the checkout, he pulls out his card. Our boy Yu Jitae presents a high-end black card, looking as stoic as ever, and the clerk is clearly intimidated by his wealth. But then, Bomb's hand suddenly grabs Jitae's arm, asking what exactly he's trying to buy, leaving the clerk utterly baffled about their relationship. Bomb, playfully clinging to Jitae, asks him flat out what they agreed to buy for Gyeoul, then gives a sly smile as she realizes the clerk thinks she's a younger sister. The clerk tries to defend her sales tactics, saying the playsets might be unfamiliar at first, but Bomb calmly cuts her off, confirming that Gyeoul doesn't like them at all. Instead, she pulls out a cute teddy bear with a blue ribbon, explaining it's similar to Gyeoul's original doll so it won't confuse her, and then asks for a discount. Honestly, that clerk had no idea what she was up against. Back home, all the dragons are absolutely thrilled with their new gifts, with Gyeoul hugging her new teddy bear in pure delight. Gyeoul is ecstatic about getting a wallet she wanted, showering Bomb and Jitae with love, but then Yoram opens her gift and pulls out a whip and handcuffs with a sinister grin, declaring them adult toys. Naturally, she immediately lunges at Gyeoul, asking her monkey to come here so she can try something, and poor Gyeoul looks absolutely terrified, knowing exactly what kind of play is coming. To top it all off, Bomb and Gyeoul have a gift for Jitae too, which turns out to be a sharp blue tie, with Bomb promising to buy him a whole suit when she makes her own money. When Jitae, ever the oblivious one, asks what else she bought, she just gives him a sly look and says she'll show him later, leaving us to wonder about that black lingerie set. A few weeks later, we find Jitae adjusting his new tie. As an armored knight enters the room, Jitae has called to watch over Gyeoul while he's gone. He confirms he's going far, and reveals that Yairam, currently passed out on the floor, will be coming with him. Apparently it's time for the anti-demonic human battle simulation, a grueling 2-night, 3-day survival combat between pupils inside a virtual dungeon, and these kids are hyped, but also terrified. Yu Jitae is already on site, headset in place, watching the nervous recruits, while Yoram is just crouched nearby, totally unimpressed, noting how these newborns are shaking in their boots. The thing is, she only cares if there's someone actually worth fighting, flashing that sly, aggressive look of hers. Isaki Sojiro and Kim Ji-in, trying to be polite, offer Yoram a spot on their team, only for our fiery red dragon to snap, "Yet lost, losers." Honestly, they probably should have expected it, but after a quick, awkward introduction, they just bow and back away. But then Yu Jitae appears behind Yoram, pointing out that if she doesn't like them, she should just find her own team, which of course, she finds to be a massive pain in the ass. Problem is, while they're still arguing, some bully named Johnny grabs Hisaki Sojiro, punches him, and warns him he'll kill him if he keeps loitering in his way. Then this idiot turns his attention to Kim Ji-in, grabbing her by the hair and demanding she say something, even as she protests to not touch her. But before Johnny can do more, Yoram steps forward, asking him flat out what's an orphan, which completely throws him off, making him realize he's face to face with the craziest lunatic of the Blue Dragon School, Yu Yor herself. What this idiot doesn't know is that even the elders warned him to be careful with her, but instead, he mocks her for not knowing what an orphan is, explaining it's a pupil without a chaperone, as if that's a weakness for our red dragon, and Yoram just holds her head in annoyance, clearly unimpressed. Johnny, apparently thinking he can get close to her for his own benefit, desperately tries to convince Yoram to join his team, much to his teammates' utter shock. In his head, he can handle her personality, seeing her as someone with similar tendencies, but he's about to learn just how wrong he is. Before he can finish his thought, our red dragon winds up and punches Johnny brutally in the face, leaving him clutching his now bandaged nose in pain and confusion. Wondering if she wants to die, Yanja stares him down, asking if they're friends, which only enrages Johnny, making him swear he'll get her back for this. But before any more chaos can erupt, Yu Jitae, looking perfectly composed, appears before a magical portal to announce the rules of engagement. Apparently, it's a 2-night, 3-day battle and teams of 3 within a virtual dungeon called Ant Nest, and with a quick, good luck, they're off. Inside the dark ant nest, Yoram is already itching for a fight, saying it's not bad for a virtual dungeon, and she just wants to beat the hell out of everything. Gyeoul, ever the strategist, suggests they need a plan before charging in, though Yoram's plan is simply for Gyeoul to follow behind and cover her. Gyeoul, trying her best to mediate, urges them to calm down, reminding them this is a team battle, not solo play. Suddenly, Yu Jitae appears on their screen, asking if they have a target number, which absolutely shocks Yoram and Gyeoul. But Jitae, with a cold expression, and just asks if they want to get behind, which only makes Yoram scoff at target numbers, claiming they should just kill everyone in sight. Meanwhile, Johnny is still nursing his bruised nose, complaining that it stings, while his teammates remind him they told him not to mess with our red dragon. Honestly, he claims he just wanted to be on good terms, but now he's fuming, swearing that if he meets Yoram here, he'll tear her apart. What this idiot doesn't know is that Yatram is already there, crouched and ready, suddenly lunging with her glowing sword and slashing him across the chest, dropping his HP to a brutal 17. Johnny's stunned teammates cry out, preparing for battle, but Yatram just kneels, coldly correcting them that this isn't a battle, they're misunderstanding something completely. After ambushing Johnny's crew, Yaharm wastes no time diving into the anti-demonic human battle simulation, slashing her way through a cavern, while an opponent tries to snipe her with a powerful energy beam, but she just closes the distance, and takes him out with a single, brutal slash. A red dragon just looks hungry for more, and the next opponent, a big guy with an even bigger sword, charges her, unleashing a massive energy shockwave with his strike. While in his head, he can't believe she's not even trying to dodge, so he smugly shouts that he has the higher ground, and a heavier weapon, convinced there's no way he can lose this one, but Yoram blocks the massive downward strike with her sword effortlessly, leaving him absolutely stunned. Yoram just gives him an aggressive smile, and a moment later, she sighs, completely unbothered, announcing that this wasn't even a warm-up, when a teammate suddenly yells that there's one more enemy incoming. Yoram spins around, spotting the last guy scrambling away on the ground, who is already bloody and injured, but still manages a maniacal smile as he begs for mercy. Naturally, Yoram answers him with a powerful punch to the face, leaving her other teammate in disbelief at how messed up this is. The remaining teammates are impressed, admitting she really beat everyone up on her own, and Yu Bomb, watching from afar, marvels at Yoram's strength, but admits she's more impressed by her chaperone. As Yu Jitae kneels to examine the terrain, noting that it's nearly impossible to catch up to another team this fast, especially with mana detection restricted in this simulation, meaning the timing of Yoram's ambush was absolutely perfect, and their operator must be a first-tier professional with precise tracking skills. As Team 37 respawns 3 hours later in a different location, defeated, one of the injured students clutches his face, while Yu Jitae maintains his stoic look, as his teammates yell out in surprise, because Team 50 has already shot up to 6th place in the rankings. Apparently, not many teams have even gotten into battle yet since the simulation just started, and as a teammate excitedly rushes over to Yoram, praising her again, she just grabs his face, demanding to know why he's so happy when he did nothing but watch from the back. She reminds them that the two of them are sharpshooters, and asks if their weapons are just for decoration, telling them she's not satisfied with just 6th place. She yells at them to get it together, and her exhausted teammates can only mutter, okay, while Yoram grabs another one, telling him to dress properly like an adult. Yu Jitae simply watches the chaos with an unreadable expression. See, he's actually thinking about his youngest dragon, Gyeoul, as he holds a picture of her playing with plush toys. See, he's actually thinking about his youngest dragon, Gyeoul, as he holds a picture of her playing with plush toys. Meanwhile, at the mock dungeon control room, staff members are monitoring all the screens of the simulation area as Professor Kwon Gitae complains about how lazy he is. He asks his assistant who's in first place, and they discuss that Team 1 is composed of second-year elites, while he wonders who's even in Team 50. Kwon Gitae looks surprised as the assistant pulls up Yoram's profile, noting her position as a guard, and him teammates, Hishare and him Jian, are both sharpshooters. Kwon Gitae then tells his assistant to take a look at another screen, where he looks genuinely impressed. The assistant, who used to be an operator himself in the Alliance, can see their insane route, and Kwon Gitae muses about how the troublemaker of the Blue Dragon School, Yu Yoram, is paired with Yu Bomb, praised as a genius of the ages by magic professors. He also notes that both of them are under Yu Jitae's care, and his assistant expresses concern about a sudden erasure of records, admitting something about the team's data is bothering him. As he realizes Team 1 is marking specific locations, Kwon Gitae leans in, suspecting they're signaling each other, and from the control room, they observe the trainees communicating, while Kwon Gitae explains the tactical rules for dungeon encounters. Back in the dungeon, Yoram punches the rocky ground in frustration, cursing, and yells at her teammates to confirm they've been gathering points without dying a single time, as one of them nervously points out that 2nd place is impressive, but Yoram just aggressively stomps on him, though she does look a little remorseful afterward. A tired female teammate complains that they're all exhausted, and warns Yoram that pushing themselves too hard now might actually make them lose points. Yoram stares her down and tells her she understands that they've improved a bit, but when the teammate nervously calls her name, Yoram grabs her collar, yelling at them for being losers, and asks why they're looked down upon, because it's not about being loners, it's about giving up as soon as they're a little tired, like pathetic excuses. She reminds them they promised on the first day not to drag her down, and she's clearly annoyed. The teammates shout in unison, pumping their fists to show their renewed camaraderie, as Yu Jitae watches from a distance, with Yoram standing beside him. He admits he thought it was strange, and asks if the other teams were really communicating with each other like this, through these strange carved symbols. A teammate recalls hearing about the seniors doing something similar, and suspects this is their doing. Yu Jitae and his team stand before a large mysterious marking carved into a cave wall. Yoram, looking annoyed, asks why they don't just tell the professors, saying it's not too late. Then she smiles slyly, and tells her teammate she has a much better idea, a way to completely screw them over. Inside a dark cave, Team 1, led by our stoic Yu Jitae, is comfortably in first place as the simulation ticks down, thinking they've got this in the bag. They even discuss Yu Yoram's Team 50, currently in 2nd, casually dismissing her skill, despite acknowledging she's a pretty strong first year, while also arguing that nobody could be as good as their own leader. Naturally, their leader is Yang Won-go from the renowned Sword Clan, and while he's totally confident, telling his team not to drop their guard, Yu Jitae has his own score to settle, declaring he'll prove he's better than some bastard named Yang Taiha. The problem is, while they're feeling all smug, a team member suddenly notices something's off. Right before strange dark dark roots burst from the walls, and the cave starts to collapse, leaving someone defeated on the ground, making the entire area begin to rumble as he looks on in horror, and the cave completely caves in, taking his unconscious teammates with it. Suddenly, enemies swarm them from all sides, leaving Team 1 completely disoriented and frustrated, wondering who the hell could have done this, when a heavy boot steps into view and a nervous teammate recognizes the new arrivals, as both Team 3 and Team 1 show up, asking their leader for instructions. The leader simply states their intention to kill them, even as his teammates nervously question if they should pretend to lose, knowing Professor Yu Jitae would immediately notice, and soon magic and firearms clash in the confined space as combatants engage in a fierce struggle. Meanwhile, another group watches the chaos unfold, utterly surprised their plan actually worked, and Yu Jitae, feeling used, is asked if he wants to use it against them, which makes him ask if he's merely an object, before he begrudgingly admits the plan isn't bad, wondering why Yaherm is even here behind her. A combat knight strikes the ground near a defeated opponent, who groans, he's so strong, which makes a shocked red-haired character ask, who are you? Right before Yaherm appears in a flash of red energy, landing gracefully with her sword and proudly proclaiming herself the real villain that appears amidst the chaos. With fallen fighters scattered across the cave floor, Yaherm observes with a sinister calm smile, while one man realizes it truly was her doing, as her teammates cheer her on from a ledge, promising to watch her back and making her smile even wider, right before her leader orders someone to attack despite Wei's panicked protests. The leader, with a menacing glare, silences Wei's complaints as the chubby teammate makes a face of annoyance, but then, determined, he crouches down, unleashing a massive shockwave that destroys the cave floor and leaving two characters staring in terror. The chubby man cracks his knuckles with a grin, sending two more characters screaming in panic, fleeing right past a tall man in a suit, but the chubby guy intercepts them behind the suited man, which makes Yaherm glance around the cave, making an O shape with her mouth and leaving her eye wide in disbelief. An intense sword strike clashes downwards as fighters trade fierce blows, with one declaring, "I'm the one you should be paying attention to," as sparks fly from their fast blade exchanges, but then Yaherm stops, acknowledging her opponent, and even admitting his impressive effort in ruining her plan, only to mock him instantly, calling him a retard and saying it wasn't even a real plan, before telling him he should be satisfied with second place, which makes the bruised opponent defiantly declare that first place still belongs to the Yang house. But with Yu Jitae's hand glowing with blue energy, Yaherm fires back, "Nope, you guys will be second," as Jitae himself, standing high on a rocky ledge, declares that peace is theirs. Our first years, Sojiro and Jian, are doing their best to escape a tunnel, but an aggressive upperclassman is hot on their heels, shouting for them to stop while he's still being nice, which, honestly, never bodes well. Jian tries to encourage a struggling Sojiro, reminding him that their pursuer is probably already low on stamina, but Sojiro is so panicked he can barely hear her, and Jian, seeing his wide-eyed terror, jokingly remarks that he's aged during the run. Sojiro, truly at his limit, tells Jian to leave him behind, but then, finding a burst of resolve, he decides he's not giving up, announcing he's leaving the future to her and Yaherm. He fires one last, desperate energy arrow, but to his horror, it completely misses, and he realizes all his arm strength is gone from messing with the markings on the walls earlier. Jijin looks on in concern. Asuro declares he won't run anymore, but his shot still lands far from its mark. The pursuer, Jian, and Sojiro all look down at the ground in confusion, before Sojiro, struggling to climb the wall, remembers his earlier sabotage. The pursuer, cursing him, violently strikes Sojiro down, and Jian, without hesitation, draws her handgun. The idiot grabs Jian by the face, choking her, and pins her down, thinking he has them beat. He smugly declares he saw them as losties, and mocks them for forgetting their place after making it to second. But Jian, with a terrifying blood-dripping smile, coolly asks if he thinks they're only interested in second place. The pursuer looks up in surprise as Jian activates her blessing, Eye of the Sniper, declaring they're only interested in first. Right before she fires her weapon plink, a beam of magical energy erupts and hits the ceiling, making the pursuer cry out, and he admits she scared the shit out of him. Still pinning her down, he mocks her for not being able to shoot properly, telling her to know her place, but Jian just smirks, knowing exactly what she's done. She calmly confirms that she shot properly, and naturally, rocks come crashing down, crushing the idiot as he cries out in pain. He looks on with wide, fearful eyes, realizing his fatal mistake. She meant to shoot above him. Jian sits over the defeated pursuer in the wreckage, exhausted and injured, having successfully taken down their opponent. Meanwhile, on another battlefield, a red-haired Mango abruptly wakes up, with Guardian standing over him, asking if he's finally up. Mango, getting up, confirms he must have passed out for a bit, and immediately asks Guardian what happened to their team. Guardian delivers the grim news that Wei is dead and Mango himself is fighting, which clearly shocks Mango. His eyes reflect disbelief before he approaches the slumped form of Yaherm. He expresses his disappointment, saying he was excited for this fight, but this is all she's got. Yaherm, mid-clash, fires back, shouting that he's from an inferior family, before slamming a red-gloved hand onto his head, forcing him down. She then brutally slams Mungo into the ground, declaring that he is the inferior one. Yaherm stands triumphantly over him with a mocking smirk, even pinning him with her foot, asking if he actually managed to stop her attack. Mungo's eyes glow blue with intense, strained anger, and he unleashes a blast of blue energy at Yaherm. Crying out, he crouches on the ground, gasping, thinking that his plan is finally coming together, his eyes glowing an intense purple. Yaherm, smirking wildly, continues to taunt him, saying he's been getting rolled like sushi this whole time, but then reacts in shock to a sudden power shift. Mungo leaps high into the air, preparing a sword technique, and lands firmly. The ground ground crackling with blue magical energy. He then adopts a stance as a draconic spectral energy manifests behind him, declaring his form Rising Dragon. Yoram is struck and overwhelmed by the powerful blue energy blast, and from afar, Sojiro stands in shock, wondering when Moingo learned the ultimate technique of the Yang House. Moingo stands calm and composed amidst the residual blue magic, while Yoram struggles against the blade-like winds, already taking damage. She just smiles with excitement despite being hurt, thinking it's fucking cool, and asking if this is the Yang House sword arts. Yoram's foot strikes with a powerful impact, leaving a crater in the cavern wall, but Monko jumps toward her, leaving a trail of blue energy as he strikes. He spins rapidly, creating a sphere of blue energy, gloating that she is nowhere near the Yang House, a renowned swordsman clan. Yoram clutches her sword, dodging his spinning attack in the narrow tunnel. Monko executes a swift, powerful sword flash, calling out Dragon Blade Flash, sending a massive wave of blue energy surging downward. He lands on a cliff edge, while Yoram is grounded by the massive energy strike. Moingo, exhausted, catches his breath, thinking he didn't expect to use his first Yang sword arts here, after years of secret training to be able to do this. In his head, it worked perfectly in a real situation, and now he can finally be acknowledged by the Yang House adults as better than Yang Taiha. Then, to his absolute horror, he looks down to see his sword, completely broken. Yoram attacks, her eyes glowing red with intense bloodlust, as she mocks him for going on and on about his damned renowned swordsman clan. She menacingly asks what a renowned swordsman clan is without their sword, concluding they're just dumbasses, right? Yoram relentlessly attacks Mungo in a flurry of red energy strikes, declaring her 999 form of Yu House sword arts, just fucking up a yabber. Mungo, defeated on the ground, cries out, realizing this isn't an actual sword skill. Yoram catches her breath, standing triumphantly over the fallen Mayumko. She sways, dizzy but proud, whispering first place, before laughing uncontrollably in pure celebration. Yu Jitae, our stoic protagonist, then calmly holds the unconscious Yoram in his arms, looking down at her with a cold expression as he asks how it feels to have won. Yoram, utterly exhausted but smiling widely, says she's so tired she needs healing from Yu Jitae. Yu Jitae tells her it's snowing outside, and she, ever practical, worries her wounds are going to hurt in the cold. Honestly, you know it's a weird day when pure white snow starts falling in the middle of spring on a sunny city street, but our sweet Yu Gyeoul knows exactly why, explaining it's all thanks to Yu Gyeoul, because they say when the Blue Dragon clan gets depressed, pure white snow falls around them. So, naturally Gyeoul, as the clan's guardian, instructs the janitor to melt Gyeoul's heart, who understands perfectly, but then wonders if they can actually pull it off looking like that, considering they're wearing a ridiculous frilly pink armor suit. Cal reassures them that these kinds of hits are exactly what's needed for the job, and with the plan in place they're ready to go cheer up Gyeoul, who's sitting alone in a large empty room, making little noises, holding a marker, looking terribly bored. That's when the janitor in their pink princess armor asks if Gyeoul would like to play princess with them, striking an enthusiastic pose, but Gyeoul just stares blankly. Luckily, Yu Bomb steps in asking what's wrong with Gyeoul, and the janitor explains they thought the costume would make her happy. Problem is, Bomb quickly tells the janitor they look scary and should wash up, but the janitor insists Kao said she'd like it, and of course, Gyeoul, who is conveniently nearby, immediately denies ever saying such a thing. So, with the plan completely derailed, the poor janitor is left showering in their armor. Meanwhile, Yu complains about the bizarre May snow, when Kyle runs up to greet her and Yu Jitae, asking if they went out to play, which, apparently, they did. Yu confirms they did, and even brought Kyle a special present, which turns out to be a snowball down her shirt. And then, with zero hesitation, Yurin casually admits she added dog poop to it. As the chaos unfolds, Yu Jitae calmly walks down the hall, acknowledging a thoughtful amidst Yu Jitae calmly walks down the hall, acknowledging a greeting, looking thoughtful amidst the yelling. It seems Joe, however, has already made a present for Jitae, and he gently takes her from Bomb, even cracking a rare smile. He then asks Bomb if she wants to go on a trip, which lights her up, and Jill happily leans against Jitae, beaming a bright smile. Suddenly, Jitae and Bomb look up in confusion, realizing the snow has mysteriously stopped. From there, we jump straight to an isolated beach in Russia, once a military facility during the Great War, but now a secret place where no one comes. Gyeoul is absolutely thrilled, exclaiming how pretty it is, and when Bomb asks how he found such a beautiful spot, Jitae reveals he stumbled upon it while clearing a dungeon a long time ago. Jitae then heads into the forest to set up the tent and prepare food, ignoring Bomb's question about why they drove instead of teleporting. He reminds Bomb she's the eldest and needs to keep an eye on Gyeoul, while Yoram just lounges on the car. Jitae gets to work, pitching tents, and effortlessly chopping wood with magic. He even forages for mushrooms in the forest, finding some particularly strange purple ones. After getting everything ready, he calls everyone to gather, and is instantly surprised when he sees Bomb. She's already back, eating a sandwich in her swimsuit, asking if he's done. Jitae immediately fixates on the swimsuit, while scolding her for eating the sandwich he just told her not to. But Bomb, being Bomb, teasingly asks if he actually wanted to see her in it all along. Yoram naturally gets a kick out of Jitae's discomfort, telling Bomb to put her clothes on quickly, and then, with a mischievous grin, asks Jitae if they finally look like women to him, or if he pitched something else besides a tent. Later, Yoram floats in the water as the others watch the sunset, and as night falls, they gather around the tent, looking a bit worried about whatever Jitae has cooked up. The problem is, Jitae has served the mysterious purple stew, making everyone wonder exactly what it is, and if it's actually poisonous. Gyeoul, recalling a traumatic Amazonian mushroom incident, instantly imagines choking and says she can't eat any more poisonous mushrooms. Yoram bluntly states that even the neighborhood dog wouldn't touch this, to which Jitae counters that she eats Bomb's food just fine. Yoram then fires back, asking if he's insulting her cooking, and demands cup noodles before she flips the table, only to be reminded that she already ate them all. However, in a shocking turn, Yo quietly takes a bite, making Gyeoul and Yoram stare in disbelief. Everyone immediately immediately panics, telling Gyeoul to spit it out while Jitae, looking concerned, mumbles that it's good for the body. But Gyeoul, with the simplest of words, declares it's delicious, leaving everyone speechless as she smiles happily, having finally spoken. Our sad little Gyeoul, who hasn't spoken a word in ages, takes a bite of Jitae's suspicious purple stew and declares it's absolutely delicious, finally smiling and happily eating more. The others stare in shock, especially Gyeoul, who instantly latches on, asking why Gyeoul chose now to talk after all this time, questioning if she just decided not to speak up until now. But of course Yaoram, ever the brat, smirks and says Yao probably saw how loud Gyeoul was and wisely decided not to become like her, which makes Jitae, cool as ever, pretend he's not talkative at all, asking Bomb if she knew Gyeoul could speak. Bomb, with her usual gentle smile, admits she heard Gyeoul talking to herself when Jitae wasn't home, but that she was waiting for Gyeoul purse words to be for him, not the others. Naturally, Gyeoul and Yaoram immediately start teasing Gyeoul, asking if she can cuss too, while Bomb tells them to not corrupt her. But for a split second, Itae's mind flashes to a much darker, colder past, where he's holding Gyeoul down with his boot on her face in some grim prison, warning her she can't ever leave, and asking her how many times he has to tell her until she gets it. He tells her she can't leave this place. Back in the present, he holds Gyeoul with a caring expression, telling her she can't leave in this life at least, and she smiles softly, understanding. After that surprisingly delicious meal, Gyeoul, now cheerful, thanks Jitae for the food, while Gyeoul and Yaoram complain there isn't anything else to eat. Yaoram, feeling extra lazy, assigns cleanup duties to Gyeoul and Gyeoul, declaring it's the young one's job. But here's the catch: as Bomb suggests they'll start smoking if they think it's unfair, Yaoram just smirks, and with a glowing magic circle, summons something with a single, mischievous word. To everyone's shock, a hand pulls a helmet from the circle, and Yaoram struggles to drag out the armored janitor, who immediately bursts into tears of joy, thinking Lady Yaoram was worried he'd be lonely at home. Naturally, Yaoram immediately orders the clueless janitor to clean the pot, and Bomb, ever the kind one, offers to help him, which almost makes the poor guy cry again. Gyeoul and Yaoram wonder why the janitor guy is here, asking Jitae if he's also here to clean, but Jitae just looks confused. Suddenly, he feels a presence nearby, and with a serious expression, he tells the girls to go inside the tent, as a silhouette of a large figure stands in the woods. Then, a man in hiking gear with a bright smile shouts a cheerful greeting, surprising Yaoram and Gyeoul, who call him Boomer. Jitae shakes the stranger's hand, who explains he's on a trip with his beautiful wife and precious son, and then Jitae, recognizing him, asks if he means the abadan mushrooms. The man, looking utterly surprised, explains that so few people come here he didn't expect anyone to eat them, and Jitae, with a slight apology, confirms his stew was made from those very abad mushrooms. Yaoram, ever suspicious, asks Jitae who the strong-looking man is, but Jitae, eyes wide with surprise, admits he doesn't know. The man's wife Hawan coughs, dismissing it as nothing, though a terrifying shadowy monster in the background suggests a deeper, unseen threat Jitae probably already knows about. Jitae remembers helping this man in the past, striking down a wooden monster with him, realizing the man's constant worry for his sickly pregnant wife meant the mushrooms were probably for her, not just for him. In that past, the man gave his wife a rare 1,000-year-old ginseng root, which he pulled from the void's shallowest depths, hoping it would help her. His child, prompted by his father, adorably says, "Thank you," to Jitae, who looks back thoughtfully at the grateful family. The traveler, a boisterous man, points towards a really nice rupture region up ahead, praising Jitae's strength and ignoring the girl's excitement for a nice view, as Jitae looks back with a cautious expression. Then menacing wooden branches suddenly wrap around the girls, sweeping them away, much to their delight and Kel's cry of amusement ride, while Yaoram curses about tentacles. The pregnant woman Hawan apologizes to Jitae, explaining her husband can still be quite the kid sometimes. What he doesn't know is that Jitae is about to deal with something far more serious. Under the sunset, Jitae and Bomb share a surprisingly affectionate embrace, with Bomb playfully touching his chest and teasing him, making Jitae look away with a bead of sweat, as she playfully tells him to move his hands. Suddenly, he hears a message about Prototype X, and before Bomb can even react, he walks into a glowing portal, leaving her confused and calling out after him. Bomb wonders where he could be going, but the janitor, unimpressed, casually assumes he's just going to the bathroom, maybe even for a number 2, joking around because he's done cleaning up. Jitae, suddenly appearing out of a portal in a futuristic city, assures a woman in a lab coat that it's just a quick visit, and he has to leave again soon, to which she replies he didn't have to come all this way if he was busy. She hands him a folder titled Project, which Jitae takes, looking intrigued. Meanwhile, back at the beach, the girls are discussing names, and someone finds it amusing that all their names, Bomb, Yaoram, Gyeoul, and Gyeoul, make up the entire 4 seasons. As a man excitedly points to the sky, Jitae rejoins the group, just as lightning strikes and a massive rupture opens up in the night sky, casting a cosmic glow over the dragons as Gyeoul floats in space, completely stunned. Gyeoul, thrilled by the spectacle, quickly snaps a pic. Amazing it is. Jitae, however, looks thoughtful into the distance, perhaps seeing more than just pretty lights in the cosmic sky. Suddenly, a holographic figure appears above Bomb, shocking everyone, as meteors begin to rain down from the ruptured sky. Gyeoul, held in Jitae's arms, watches the meteor shower with wide, sparkling eyes, calling it pretty, as everyone gathers to enjoy the beautiful night sky together. As the boisterous traveler in the hat shakes Jitae's hand and bids them goodbye, his wife Han, looking increasingly ill, coughs into her hand with blood visible, a grim warning Jitae can no longer ignore. Jitae decides it's time for them to get going too, but when he looks down, he sees a sad Gyeoul, prompting him to look contemplative. He reaches into the water, retrieves Gyeoul's water bottle, and promises her they'll come back next time, to which she softly replies, replies, okay, holding the bottle with both hands. With the girls arguing loudly in the background, Jitae and the dragons prepare to leave the beach and its strange encounters. The boisterous traveler, now somber, sits by a hospital bed, calling out to his wife Hawan, as a man with glasses, BM, greets him warmly, recognizing him from a long time ago. In the hospital, BM sips from a bottle, burping loudly, while the man in the hat, Haeon's husband, explains to a long-haired friend that his wife's mysterious illness flared up again after their recent camping trip, leaving doctors baffled and him wondering why they can't figure out what's wrong with her. BM is startled by the sound of a popping bottle, but the husband, distraught, crushes a white cloth in his hand, weeping openly that he just wants Haeon to be healthy. He remembers a happier time, holding his newborn baby, telling Haeon she did so great, with a playful smile, begging her to just come see him. BM hands him a small glowing golden sphere, telling him to try it on Haeon but not to expect much, and then says goodbye, asking him to tell Haeon he said hi when she's better. The husband, holding the glowing sphere, marvels at its value, before surprising BM by pulling out an old strange root vegetable he found a while ago, something even BMA, seasoned expert, has never seen before. Suddenly we cut to a stunning tropical island where a monkey chases a dizzy chick, as Gyeoul, wearing sunglasses, watches from a rock with a puzzled look. A handsome man waves from the water, inviting her to play, making her eyes go wide with shock, before she gleefully surfs on her teddy bear and jumps through the air. She is caught by the man who compliments her, calling her cool, the best. She eventually drifts off to sleep, murmuring that she's the cool and the best. She eventually drifts off to sleep, murmuring that she's the coolest, unaware of a dark figure looming ominously in the doorway. Alright, so this chapter opens with a massive 70-man raid unit, part of the global superhuman alliance, ready to dive into some glowing purple portals, and their target is nothing less than the S-rank dungeon, Ethea's Ocean's giant boss, the Kraken itself. Honestly, this raid has a super high threat level, so naturally it's only the top 5% of the entire alliance who have gathered, and these guys are basically a developed nation's entire military power, all brought together by one leader. The man who managed to pull this off is Shiraishi Ryunosuke, an executive of the Global Superhuman Alliance, ranked 93rd in the entire world. Problem is, our boy Yu Jitae needs to get into this raid, so he's here for a chat, casually mentioning that he lives nearby, which our ranked 93rd Divine Archer finds absolutely hilarious. Thinking this is all very amusing, with a sly grin, Shiraishi tells Yu Jitae that he finally made it to this meeting, but then this executive decides to show off a little, charging up some green magic in his hand and telling Yu Jitae that since he's never worked with them before, if he resists, they'll consider him an enemy of the alliance, and Shiraishi himself will kill him right away. He's even pointing that magical energy right at our boy's face, but Yu Jitae just looks on calmly, which only seems to piss off Shiraishi more, who then unleashes a powerful green energy blast. What this idiot doesn't know is that Yu Jitae isn't the type to be pushed around, and our boy retaliates with his own massive green energy beam, firing it straight back. The blast causes a huge explosion, trashing the office as furniture and files fly everywhere, and Yu Jitae stands calmly as the destruction happens around him. Shiraishi, still seated in his chair, maintains his magical energy, but he clearly wasn't expecting this much resistance, and he sighs in frustration, realizing this isn't going to be as easy as he thought. Yu Jitae, ever the calm one, looks focused and decides that ordinary attacks just won't do for this guy. Now Shiraishi, still stubbornly sitting there, says he didn't want to use this next move, and his hand glows with an even more intense green light as he unleashes a massive energy explosion right in his seat, spinning rapidly through the air within a vortex of energy. He fires a massive green energy blast with both hands, asking Yu Jitae not to dodge this one, and unleashing his signature move, the Judgment of the Heavenly Arrow, warning that he doesn't want to punch a hole all the way to the underground of this building. But Yu Jitae is still standing calmly, surrounded by the swirling green energy, and with sheer disbelief written all over Shiraishi's face, our boy catches the massive green energy blade with his bare hands, just like it was nothing. Shiraishi can only stammer in shock, wondering how Yu Jitae caught it so easily, before Yu Jitae slams him into the floor, creating a deep crater and leaving him groaning in pain. The dust settles within the impact-torn crater as a huge explosion occurs, and Shiraishi, now identified as the opponent, lunges toward Yu Jitae, desperately trying to calm himself down in the destroyed room, looking at a glowing, partially damaged emergency warp machine. He jumps and stomps the ground, unleashing a powerful shockwave, but Yu Jitae impales him from behind with his glowing sword, asking him chillingly if he has any more tricks. Now Shiraishi is tied up with straps, looking troubled and sweaty, as Yu Jitae sits in a chair, casually reading some paperwork, and concluding that if the Alliance knew about this person he's looking for, they wouldn't be missing. Shiraishi gulps, wondering why Yu Jitae is even trying to join the raid at all, while Yu Jitae asks if this is all the information there is, to which Shiraishi can only meekly reply, yes. Apparently, there's one person missing out of the 70-man unit, and Yu Jitae asks what happened. Shiraishi, still tied up, can only explain that these papers were sent by the Alliance, so there's no need to worry, but Yu Jitae clearly isn't convinced, telling him to quickly summon the standby operator to his office, with no questions asked. Then, Yu Jitae gets a startling message on his device, asking if he can talk, and he turns his back to take the call, wondering why they didn't just send over the memory of what happened with Prototype X. He asks if it's someone he knows, and the reply is a simple yes. Just then, a golden armored figure steps into the office, and Hasadbyul, the standby operator, is absolutely shocked by the mess, asking why the office is such a disaster, while Shiraishi, still tied up on the floor, tries to play it off by saying he just fell. Thing is, Shiraishi quickly reassures Hatsuryabal that the mess isn't important because Yu Jitae wants to see her, and our boy thinks to himself that it doesn't matter even if Prototype X is someone he knows, because that doesn't change the fact that he needs needs to kill them. Hatribal, wearing her golden armor, smiles gently and introduces herself to Yu Jitae, letting him know she's Hatribal, and he was looking for her. Honestly, the poor girl has no idea what she's walking into. Open on a brutal scene from Yu Jitae's past, way back in his second regression when he was 32, in a place called Severobikolsk, where life was clearly just about survival, as a group of men gather around a campfire. But even in that grim reality, there's a tender moment as a woman reaches out to gently touch Yu Jitae's shoulder, and then playfully pokes his cheek. Honestly, it's a rare glimpse of warmth from a past life, as she teases him for falling for it again. Then we jump back to the present, where our boy Yu Jitae is completely flustered, wondering what the hell is with Sepayol's outfit. See, she's decided to dress in a pure white vacation dress while they're on a grim expedition, and she can't help but laugh when she sees him blushing. Later that night, Sepayol invites him to a back hill because there's something she wants to show him. She playfully runs off, daring him to catch her if he wants to know. Meanwhile, some of the other members of the unit are gossiping, certain that Yu Jitae and Sepayol have been dating for a while now. Another soldier can't even fathom why someone like Sepayol joined their corps in the first place, even as Yu Jitae effortlessly scoops her up in his arms, leaving her surprised by his speed. One of the other men speculates that she must have fallen for their boss at first sight, but another, more thoughtful soldier, Hasegawa, corrects him, saying it's nothing like that, and then he shares Sepayol's tragic backstory. Apparently, she used to take care of kids at an orphanage until the war started and everything got destroyed. The worst part is that all the kids died, leaving Sepayol utterly heartbroken and crying tears of despair in the rain. It was right around then, at her absolute lowest, that Sepayol awakened her unique power. The men around the campfire are shocked, admitting they never would have guessed she had such a dark past, given how brightly she always smiles. Later that night, under a beautiful night sky, Sepayol excitedly waves Yu Jitae over to the hill. She's genuinely surprised he actually came, thinking he might have forgotten, and playfully scolds him for having no sense of romance, since there's both a pretty night sky and a pretty girl right there. Our boy gets flustered again, as Sepayol then gets serious, reminding him that her blessing is called the eye that detects danger. Yu Jitae instantly looks intense, wondering if there's danger nearby, which makes Sepayol yell in frustration, complaining that his seriousness disease is acting up again. She tells him to just close his eyes and listen, explaining that while her blessing does detect threats, once you get used to it, sometimes you can feel something else, something beyond danger, and in this case it feels like a pounding heart. As a meteor shower streaks across the sky, Yu Jitae looks up, visibly shocked. Suddenly, Sepayol dashes towards him, hugging him tight. She smiles, telling him to feel it for himself. It is a pounding heart. She smiles, telling him to feel it for himself. Yu Jitae's normally stoic face is shown in close-up, and he gently reaches out to touch her cheek, leading to a romantic kiss under the starry sky. They gaze at each other intimately, a rare moment of connection for Yu Jitae. But the moment is broken when she bluntly tells him that his lips are so chapped he needs to apply some lip balm. Suddenly, we're plunged into a dark, painful memory, with a voice asking if they should get married once the local battle ends. A severely injured woman with an eye patch stares blankly ahead, as a man lies pinned down begging for someone to stop. Yu Jitae, with the blood-stained sword, raises it high, ready to strike, and a silhouette shows him being forced to stab someone. The panel is slashed with red, indicating a brutal impact, and an unseen manipulator gloats over the beautiful sound of the tragedy. The craziest part is that it's Hasegawa, the same guy from the campfire, sinisterly manipulating glowing red strings, and enjoying the sight of someone killing the one they love with their own hands. A close-up reveals Hasegawa's glowing red eye and sneering expression, completely reveling in the chaos he's caused. He squats, controlling his magical red strings, a puppet master of despair, tightly binding someone's hands as he forces them to commit the unspeakable. Hasegawa walks away, telling the beaten protagonist to live on and remember this pain for a long, long time, as another panel shows a crucified figure, a clear warning about what happens when you oppose the demonic humans. Hasegawa just smiles menacingly amid the wreckage, clearly enjoying his victory. Yu Jitae looks down, a sharp blade near his face bloodied and eyes wide with shock and horror from the traumatic memory. A bloodied hand lies motionless on the ground near a fallen sword, a symbol of defeat. Then a metallic finger gently taps him on the nose, pulling him back to reality, as a female character looks worried, asking if he's okay. Other characters are giggling, while an older man reacts frantically at Yu Jitae, who still stares blankly, clearly shaken. They whisper warnings to each other about not getting on his bad side, wondering if he's someone important. Still, Yu Jitae is not okay. He summons a glowing magical hourglass, activating his grand clock authority, to read the malice sent from beyond the horizon of providence. His authority searches for a being who has deviated from the world's timeline. And suddenly, we see Hasepio crying out in grief and despair amidst widespread destruction, her eye glowing red with tears streaming down her face. She's then shown reborn as a demonic entity with red skin and claws, a horrifying sight. Back in the present, Yu Jitae holds the glowing hourglass artifact, his face serious and focused, his resolve hardening. He interrupts a casual conversation, asking about his wing guard position, and then declares he's moving with Sepayol, his grim determination clear. Last we left Yu Jitae, he had just made the heartbreaking discovery that the hot Sepayol he knows isn't real, but is actually an imposter whose real soul is tied up with Rakshata, the seventh monarch of the void. Now, as a new mission begins in the pouring rain, his fellow soldiers are already doubting him, but their captain quickly shuts them down, saying that while some might have their doubts, Jitae's orders are final. The captain tries to clarify something for the unit, but a curious female knight cuts him off, asking if Jitae is from the inspection team of the Alliance, a question Jitae pointedly ignores. Problem is, this knight, despite her brave exterior, is terrified of water. Apparently she's trying to hide her fear, but it's an open secret among the squad, and she ends up sprinting off to the toilet in a panic. The sight makes Jitae remember a past life, where Hatchlings used to tremble at the sight of blood, worried for his injuries even as he reassured her he was alright and wouldn't die. Back in the present, Yu Jitae activates his scales of balance eye, allowing him to see the truth. In his head, he knows that Hatchlings is pretending to be her real self, and that her true soul is bound to Rakshata, the seventh monarch of the void. The worst part is, the being outside the timeline who caused all this only wants his despair, hoping to break him by killing her again. Our boy won't let that happen. With a calm, analytical expression, he considers his next move, his eyes burning with cold determination. Suddenly, the stormy ocean churns as a giant purple tentacle emerges from the depths, terrifying the soldiers who realize a massive kraken has arrived. Its glowing red eyes pierce through the shadows, and a colossal tentacle looms over the rocky cliff, confirming its monstrous size. Meanwhile, a mysterious woman bound by glowing red strings sits on a floating red throne, a chilling vision that Yu Jitae must unravel. The kraken now towers over the defensive wall, its red eyes blazing as it fully emerges from the water. Fighters demand orders from their captain, while a man in a suit complains about drinks, channeling glowing green energy to prepare an attack. He shouts a command, and the soldiers charge, engaging the beast with glowing green magical attacks. One powerful blast strikes the sea monster's head, near the cliff. More fighters jump into the air with weapons drawn, yelling a battle cry, and a sword strikes down violently, creating a powerful shockwave. The monster roars as combat continues, with another warrior swinging their blade and creating a glowing energy arc, striking the massive beast. The monstrous eye opens in a glowing pink aura, screeching in pain from the hits. A hooded figure with a white mask looks on cautiously in the rain, observing the chaos. Multiple fighters and a knight in gold armor continue to attack the colossal tentacled monster, but one of its tentacles slams into the ground, causing debris and agony among the soldiers. Sorcerers step up, using golden chains and magic to try and restrain the monster, while support units channel blue energy to amplify their magic. Two shooters open fire with rifles, as the giant tentacled monster is finally bound by chains and operators coordinate, ordering everyone to hold on until they find its weakness. A bright magical impact occurs in the cavernous environment, but the glowing magical chains begin to crack under immense pressure. An elderly monk strains as he desperately holds the magical restraints, while a man in glasses urgently demands to know the creature's weakness. A dark-haired man realizes its core is the left eye and tells them to go for it. He confirms it was in pain when they hit that spot earlier, and the man in glasses points forward to target the monster's weak point. Suddenly, a panicked man shouts asking where Hatchlings is, and another man yells that she went to the toilet. Honestly, the timing could not be worse, and the panicked man screams in frustration. A man wipes sweat, confirming the plan to target the left eye. The team gathers as the captain tells them to hold on tight, declaring he's going to unleash a big one. A bright green energy blast erupts in the area as the protagonist channels green energy through his hands. He fires green magic at the monster, invoking the deer monster of the abyssal ocean, attacking with a glowing blade of green energy. A colossal green beam fires from the sky, striking a glowing circular spot on the monster, impacting the target with intense energy. A bloody slash effect covers the scene, and a massive shockwave ripples through the environment, causing soldiers to cry out. Two characters look on in shock and anxiety, wondering if he succeeded. The kraken monster's remains begin to fall into the sea, as a character leaps away from the falling debris. The man in the suit clutches his chest in pain, lamenting that wasn't his full strength, and complaining he wouldn't have been hurt if he hadn't injured his shoulder earlier. He realizes the kraken won't die just from that, and he needs to end it before it recovers. Just then, a warrior in golden armor appears on the cliff. Observing the scene, a close-up shows a gold-plated boot stepping onto the rock, ready for action. The armored warrior lunges from the sky at the man in the suit, eyes glowing red as they threaten, "Die, human." But a swordsman launches a swift counterstrike against the armored figure, creating a massive shockwave of energy that kicks up dust. The man in the suit looks on in pure shock, unable to process what just happened. Fragments of armor float underwater as he wonders if something just passed by him. Sadly, the armored warrior sinks into the water in pain, having been swiftly defeated. Our boy Yu Jitae is in a somber mood as he plunges into the dark waters, closing in on a sinister masked figure with glowing red eyes, whose armored legs drift eerily in the currents. He finds the fallen armored figure lying on the ground, and a rush of memories floods his mind. First, a flashback to two hands gently held together, then a couple kissing under a starry night sky, only for her voice to cut through it all with a sharp, "I hate you." The armored entity then embraces Jitae from behind, underwater, as she taunts him. "Yord Elipes warbrush, but sweet." Its robotic hands gripping his face tightly, and grabbing his throat to make it clear she wished she would have bitten your tonguri off back then. A powerful red explosion erupts underwater, and Jitae swings his massive sword, causing the armored entity to break apart and its form to shift. Jitae looks on, stoic, remembering that this entity once killed him, and now in its transformed state, the white-haired woman with blood running from her eye prepares to attack, menacingly asking, "Right?" She drifts through the water, surrounded by dark appendages, while Jitae falls, brandishing his large blade. He dodges an incoming attack with fluid motion, as dangerous dark appendages snake and tangle across the scene. Our protagonist slashes through the water with his sword, a bright flash erupting his lance, a hit. The white-haired woman screams as she's bound by dark appendages, but Jitae continues battling against multiple sharp tentacles. The pale woman glares with intensity, asking if he's really the Sam he Yu Jitae I can knew. She shouts accusations about his past inability to protect others, and they clash in close combat, their hands locking in a desperate struggle. Jitae stares calmly, even as the enemy leans in close to his face, taunting him about his past failures and traumatic memories, making his eye widen in recognition. She describes the horrifying scene where she even double L's out, forcing Jitae to recall the sight of a figure impaled on a cross, and a bloodied, injured woman, thinking, that morning I who then smiled through her tears of black ink, saying she was so cold. Suddenly, Jitae stands inside a glowing pink portal, as cracks propagate across the dark plane around him, and the white-haired woman is enveloped in a burst of blinding light. Jitae lunges forward the light, and the enemy screams as blinds her. He holds a newly materialized glowing sword, feeling the Grand Clock's power coursing through it, which makes his bound opponent wonder if it's from the malice Jitae extracted from the Guardian, and then we get a close-up view of the glowing blade. Surprisingly, Yu Bomb appears, smiling gently as she explains she borrowed it Learlier, knowing he would need it, and Jitae stares intensely at the bound opponent, who grimaces in pain. We see a close-up of the opponent's glowing red eye, as Jitae swings his glowing sword downward, declaring that she needs to stop messing around with this Progro Blast's body, and Komen on out. A heavy golden slashing impact hits the target, sending the opponent falling downward, who then screams in panic, realizing that at thirst rate, the demonization will be cancelled. Suddenly, the opponent is trapped by an octopus-like creature underwater, desperately needing summonsing, and she smiles menacing, strategizing that she just needs to prevent it from touching her. She dives toward the octopus creature and lands on it, screaming as its tendrils pierce her body. The tendrils strike intensely, and a swirling red demonic eye opens in the darkness. A giant tentacled sea monster looms menacingly, but Jitae looks on calmly, observing that she controls the monster mind in their toe. The opponent screams in fury with glowing eyes, while Jitae falls through the dark space, still holding his sword, stalls of opponent's back, still with glowing restraints, as she kneels in the dark, reflecting on the situation. Tentacles and dark liquid emerge in the water, as kraken tentacles drift eerily. The opponent watches Jitae fall, wondering what the hell he did to earn this kind of power that is neither mana nor a blessing. But murder is mother sing, but murder is in intent, created from hatred, with a sinister accretion, with patred, with a murder's eye in it. Nearby a man senses this ominous power, yelling that it's definitely that man's, and a powerful whirlpool forms in the water. We see a close-up of a shoe stepping on rock, as Jitae carries an unconscious woman. A close-up shows the woman's face, while Jitae's hands glow with magic, thinking that it's over for now. He continues carrying the woman, ignoring someone yelling for Mr. and asking where he is, because Yoram is drinking his alcohol. Finally, Jitae carries the woman indoors, bringing an alcohol. Back at the house, Yu Jitae looks back at his dragon family with a weary, neutral expression, as Yoram, Gyeoul, and Bomb glare at him, demanding he explain yourself. They all want to know, WJO is this woman, sitting on the couch wrapped in a black sheet? Yoram aggressively pokes Jitae's chest, teasing him about being too embarrassed to admit she's his girlfriend, and continues to mock him, saying she died know your rogthers. Guess you're a man, and continues to mock him, saying she died know your rogthers. Ha, problem is our plum. Problem is, Bomb already caught him, asking if he also left because of the woman last night. But Yoram, ever nonchalant, says she doesn't really care. Once Jitae explains that there's someone I have to find, and she knows where he's, and Six explains that there's someone stay here for a bit, and she knows where he is, so she's gonna stay here for a bit. Suddenly, Ko bursts into the room, shouting, objection, as the whole group gathers with Gyeoul, the living area. Gyeoul angrily points and lectures, standing her ground. Jitae then notices a strange armored individual sitting silently in the background, as someone remarks on how conservative he is. Yaram agrees with the sentiment, and Bomb is asked for her opinion, nodding in agreement. Bomb looks thoughtful as they continue their discussion, and Gyeoul happily announces the outcome of their majority vote, proudly asking if she wasn't like a real lawyer just now. Jitae and Yoram look serious, sensing an unexpected threat, while the mysterious woman looks down, deep in thought. Suddenly, back outside their modern building, something goes wrong, and Jitae, Yoram, and Gyeoul look outside in alarm. The mysterious woman looks around in a panic, yelling that what he brought is going crazy, so Jitae, holding Gyeoul, tells her she's up, as she screams, what have you done to me? Yoram reacts nervously to the chaotic scene, trying to calm the angry woman, who demands an explanation for why she's not in her clothes. The woman brandishes a weapon while shouting about anything weird, and Jitae, holding Gyeoul, watches as Yoram casually asks if she should just kill her. The woman looks anxious as the Grand Clock detects new information. The target consumed by malice will undergo mental corruption. Jitae looks on with a serious and worried gaze, realizing this mental corruption is a consequence of the malice. The young woman, enveloped in golden energy, struggles to move, and is then thrown across the room while Jitae and Yoram watch. Yoram looks focused and aggressive, wondering if she should just beat the shit out of her, as Yu Jitae calmly watches the confrontation. The woman yells at Yoram, daring her to let her guard down, and Jitae tells Yoram not to kill her, before hands grapple together, clutching a bottle. Yoram tackles the dark-haired woman to the ground, but then Jitae, holding Yoram, tackles the dark-haired woman to the ground, but then Jitae, holding Gyeoul, hears Yoram on the woman's clothes, and Yoram looks shocked, holding the clothes, as the woman lies on the floor. The dark-haired woman hides under a blanket, distressed. Then, yada yada yada, he yells at an armored figure holding a cleaning brush, looking confused as Yu Jitae holds a small Gyeoul. An armored hand clutches a weapon with purple energy, and the armored figure with green glowing eyes summons more purple energy. Yoram yells at the tin can, while Gyeoul finds the janitor. Scary. Jitae looks serious, realizing he's in the same state as Sabiol. A close-up of an armored helmet with glowing blue eyes confirming he's been exposed to malice too, and suffers from electricity and dark energy. Jitae kneels to comfort a small Gyeoul, guessing the armored figure was also affected by mental corruption. Yoram sits on a sofa, looking thoughtful, asking if the Tinkin is affected by the same thing because of that evil guy. As she and Gyeoul hang out near the fallen armor, she tells Jitae they can't take them to the hospital or anything. Yoram, now wearing the armored helmet, sits on the couch, as a hand touches a glowing purple portal rift on the wall. Jitae stands next to a large swirling purple portal, and Yoram runs down stone stairs into the labyrinth, finding it cool. She then looks into a cell area and asks Jitae if he's sure, because it looks more like a prison. A prisoner asks if Jitae's gonna look suifir to if we tunnel this into ifir, to which Jitae replies that he's not anymore. The prisoner grabs the cell bars tightly in frustration, and we see a menacing red eye looking out from behind red hair. Jitae and Jitae and Gyeoul react to the developments in the cell, as feet walk on the stone floor of the dungeon. The characters stand before a heavy metal door marked with BM, then look down from a high ledge at a hatch. Suddenly, Yoram senses something strong, smelling Serm1 spurn. She smirks, a sharp tooth visible, looking curious and amused, but then she screams in shock, her mouth wide open, looking surprised. Yoram reaches toward the BM door, yelling at someone behind her to wait out here, until it tell you to come in. Yu Jitae stands calmly in front of the door, as others beg him to let them look inside, but as he walks down a dim corridor, a large hand descends from above. A massive monster attacks him with a huge fist, causing a shockwave, yet Jitae effortlessly blocks the claw attack with one hand, commenting that it's quit the roofing for an West. He then looks toward a cowering scientist in the background, ready for whatever comes next. We open with a flashback to students sitting in a classroom, listening to their teacher, as a hand doodles sketches of dragons and a creepy eye in a notebook. The boy with messy gray hair and glasses rests his head on his hand, sketching, looking utterly bored while doodling at his desk, but a close-up reveals his glowing golden eyes behind the glasses. Suddenly, beams of light strike a city skyline against a purple sky, and empty school desks with white flowers resting on them hint at a tragedy. A man crackling with yellow lightning crouches on a school desk, the narrator revealing that just one man returned to Earth. A close-up of the man's face, crackling with energy, confirms he's the first returner from the other world. Back in the present, the man with glasses, now a scientist, looks exhausted while holding a bottle, sitting casually on a dead chimera creature in a lab, commenting on its clean cut. Yu Jitae holds a glowing blade, standing over a dead creature in a lab, commenting on its clean cut. Are you trying to say you were? The scientist lifts a monster head while Yu Jitae watches in the background, and he smiles, suspiciously. Suddenly, blue energy erupts as Yu Jitae attacks, striking a surface covered in mathematical equations. He leaps forward with a blue glowing weapon, causing the scientist to yell in shock. Yu, what are you doing? The scientist looks ahead with a strained, panicked expression, as a grotesque demonic red appendage emerges, and the scientist is trapped by dark red demonic energy tendrils caught by a Helia's curse. Yutei asks if the scientist intends to destroy the entire place with a Helia's right arm, but the scientist dismisses his concern. The scientist then tries to attack, declaring he's going to eliminate Jitae, but Jitae watches with a dark, stoic expression, a close-up of this face showing a sinister vibe. A giant clawed monster arm appears behind Jitae, and the scientist suddenly realizes he can't move. A close-up of the scientist shows his fearful expression. Jitae faces a massive creature with multiple red glowing eyes, looking upward with a serious expression. The terrified scientist names the creature as Bolzent, and then asks Jitae what he is making. He screams at Jitae not to touch the capsule, wondering when he even got there, but Jitae picks it up anyway, causing the scientist to panic. The scientist explains that it's a sample to make human-type chimeras. Jitae questions the scientist's motives, who tries to explain that it's not some grand scheme, and anyone would be afraid of death. Realizing that he can move again, he tries to lie again, explaining he thought he'd make a clone of himself to prepare for when he grows old. Begging Jitae can put the tube down. Jitae looks at the capsule, then activates his scales of balance eye, and flat out tells him, "You are lying." He tightens his grip on the clone tube, and the scientist completely panics, begging for mercy and promising to tell the truth. Jitae puts the capsule in a bag, dismissing the scientist and telling him he doesn't care what he does. Jitae puts the capsule in a bag, dismissing the scientist and telling him he doesn't care what he does. Jitae looks forward with an emotionless, intense expression, asking the scientist about the other people, specifically one magic armor and one female. The scientist looks at a glowing container with a suspicious look, as Jitae asks what it is, then simply calls it rent, saying it should be better than that shit the scientist is drinking. The scientist holds the glowing container, protesting that it's expensive. The close-up shows the scientist's face and cracked glasses. Then Jitae turns around sharply, yelling, "Hey!" The scientist looks startled, holding the container, as we cut to Yoram, who is standing with her arms crossed, looking angry, yelling at Gyeoul to move Gyeoul stands in front of a door, refusing to budge, and Yoram screams in frustration, telling her to move. Yoram faces off against Gyeoul in the hallway, getting visibly angry and shaking with frustration, because she just wants to take a peek, but Jitae said not to open the door. Gyeoul looks worried, as Yoram threatens her, reminding her how Gyeoul got got beaten up, and asking if Gyeoul wants that to happen too. Yoram yells, frustrated that they can't be wasting time like this, imagining all the cool things going on in there, like the strongest person in their house having a death match against the world's second guy. Silhouettes clash with magical energy, and a character grits their teeth with fury. Gyeoul, with a blank face, dismisses Yoram's delusions, saying she doesn't care. Yoram looks frustrated, but then she's lying face down, defeated, as Gyeoul calmly declares, I won. Yoram lies on the floor, getting a sudden idea, and Gyeoul looks curious as she's addressed. Yoram kneels in front of Gyeoul, bargaining that Gyeoul lets into her, and Gyeoul listens to the suggestion. Yoram suggests they can go to a snowy mountain and ride a sled, showing Gyeoul an image of them eating ramen in their imagination. Gyeoul excitedly agrees with a big smile and is then lifted up, looking curious. Yoram pins Aointan, gloating about her victory, but then she's hit by an unseen force, crying out in pain. Yu Jitae looks into the room with a neutral expression, finding Yoram on the ground. He asks the scientist if he wants to fight him, and the man with gray hair and glasses looks downward with a confident, slightly sinister smirk, saying he never goes easy on his opponents and asking if she's sure about this. Yoram sits on the floor, looking upward with a surprised and serious expression, then grins widely with an excited, aggressive expression as she accepts the challenge. Our boy Jitae starts off the chapter by chugging down some mysterious alcohol, letting out a satisfied sigh as his face flushes with pure bliss. Honestly, this is the most emotional we've ever seen him, and he happily confirms this stuff definitely came from Arandoth, an otherworldly city he somehow has connections to. He's so ecstatic, he tells some unknown dude he can use a room for 10 years if he wants, which naturally makes the guy super concerned. The problem is, that dude only wanted one tiny favor in return. Fast forward a bit, and we jump to Yu Jitae bringing Yoram and Yoram to the mysterious BM facility, where Yoram is absolutely thrilled to be. Jitae casually announces he's leaving them there for training, while poor Gyeoul clutches her teddy bear for dear life, hiding her face behind it, and our usually stoic Jitae can't help but find her incredibly cute. Apparently, he's learning how to express emotions again. When Yoram asks if he's the ranked second player everyone talks about, he calmly confirms it, and she totally freaks out, probably already imagining all the YouTube videos she's going to watch about him. Later, Jitae is talking to a muscular man, and Yoram actually looks a little guilty, admitting she had no idea about his rank. Jitae just smiles, pointing out those 5 to the trainer, who are clearly going to be their sparring partners. Yoram is absolutely hyped, screaming about how cool it is, and soon enough, training begins. She wastes no time, leaping in with a punch, but Jitae, with glowing yellow eyes, blocks her attack with ease, confessing he's been itching for a fight after dealing with some things. She comes at him again with a sword, but he's already back to business, and we jump to a brief flashback of him in a labyrinth, still carrying Gyeoul, where he comes across a woman and a knight trapped by shadowy tentacles. He calmly tells them to stay put until they're better, promising to come back for them. Nearby, he spots a glowing green crystal of paradise, a rarity he hasn't seen in a while. But this paradise looks less like heaven and more like a nightmare, with figures covered in glowing marks, one of them a red-haired woman begging to be killed. Jitae just watches, while Gyeoul, nestled safely in his arms, actually smiles. Our boy Jitae, still unfazed, tells Gyeoul to get it together as they move on. Back at home, we see Bomb holding Gyeoul while she reads, and Yoram is totally annoyed, asking Jitae if he's still dealing with that janitor guy, while Bomb admits she's grown quite attached to him. Apparently, Jitae has been busy cleaning up some messes. Suddenly, Kyle looks shocked, and everyone seems concerned about an injury, with Gyeoul cutely deducing that BM must have stomped on whoever it was. Turns out, it was Yoram. She's lying defeated on the floor, admitting she knew she'd lose but didn't expect it to be this bad, and Jitae coldly asks if she surrenders. Frustrated, she snaps at Gyeoul, telling her, I told you, in the middle of her misery. Gyeoul, though, seems to remember Jitae's promise of a snowy mountain trip from a flashback, and eats her noodles, looking more determined than ever. She talks with Yoram, who's still yelling in irritation, and next thing we know, Yoram is slammed back onto the floor, resting with her eyes closed in defeat, while Gyeoul looks on with teary eyes, making Yoram even more irritated. Jitae then asks them if they want to talk about something, and both dragons ask what, with Gyeoul cutely asking if they even have time for it. Chapter opens in a creepy lab where a beast man mops the floor, as a messy-haired scientist laments that he's almost out of his mysterious drink and needs to consume it slowly, all while staring intently at a glowing specimen capsule and obsessing over who the heck a certain individual really is, even grabbing a strand of black hair that can only belong to Yu Jitae, and grinning slyly as he pulls at his collar, utterly intrigued by this powerful mystery. Back home, Gyeoul looks up at Jitae with a worried expression, timidly asking if he's free tomorrow, because Yoram, who stands calmly nearby, apparently has something important to tell him. Jitae, in his usual flat tone, simply tells Yoram she should speak for herself, then gently pats Gyeoul on the head, reassuring our little blue dragon that she doesn't need to be a messenger for her sister. The scientist isn't working alone, as a beastly mutated creature looms in the shadows behind him, and he holds up a single unassuming strand of black hair like it's the key to the entire world. He gives a sick, satisfied grin, clearly thinking he's finally pulled off the heist of the century, while Gyeoul just looks up in total confusion, having no idea that her quiet life is about to turn upside down. Yoram just stretches in the room with a calm smile, hinting at her own plans for tomorrow. But after the girls leave, Jitae sits at his desk, left to ponder his options. Before he can dwell too much, Jitae turns to Gyeoul, asking her what she wants to do tomorrow, and our shy little dragon quietly wishes they could go sledding. Suddenly, Jitae and Gyeoul are flying down a snowy slope, Gyeoul held tight in Jitae's arms, laughing as they hurtle off a small cliff, completely unafraid, then continuing their descent down the icy hill, our little blue dragon absolutely delighted by the thrill of it all. Gyeoul happily exclaims that the ride is fun, but after it ends, she struggles to stand up in the deep snow, so Jitae simply scoops her up, carrying her on his shoulders shoulders to make it easier for her to navigate. Of course, Gyeoul, being the playful little rascal she is, instantly covers Jitae's eyes, causing him to mumble that he truly can't see in front of him. Then she suggests covering his nose, before deciding his mouth is the best target, leaving Jitae making muffled noises and Gyeoul giggling mischievously at her own antics. Later, Gyeoul looks up at Jitae with wide, innocent eyes, and with a gentle flick of his finger, Jitae produces a small spark, then holds his hand out toward her, before patting her on the head, making sure she is warm and safe, as she sleeps peacefully in bed, curled up with her teddy bear by a crackling fireplace. But as Jitae watches over her, he suddenly remembers something crucial. Today is the day the blue dragon receives her revelation. See, every dragon clan gets a unique revelation from their ancestors, an inescapable destiny that guides their entire lives. Like how the green clan pursues art or craftsmanship from their rooms, the gold clan goes out to other continents to live as guardian deities, and the red clan simply enjoys fighting and war. The problem is, the blue dragon clan doesn't have any particular direction set for them. Instead, they receive their assignment at exactly 80 days old from the previous generation's lord, which becomes their inescapable destiny, with no real escape. And right now, Gyeoul floats magically in the center of a large glowing summoning circle, her eyes reflecting destiny as a giant blue dragon looms over her, bestowing her with an inescapable fate, his hand moving with a rare, gentle rhythm as he tries to keep the coming storm at bay. The fireplace crackles behind the gate, casting warm shadows over the room, and eventually, she curls up in bed, burying her face into her teddy bear, finally finding a moment of genuine, peaceful sleep. The world outside is just as busy, with artists crafting reality itself through floating canvases, and robed figures chanting in rituals that shake the very foundation of the continent. In the thick of it, the Red Clan warriors are locked in a bloodbath, swinging massive blades, with their leader screaming in a battle frenzy, his eyes burning with an unnatural hungry light. But all that chaos is nothing compared to the absolute power radiating from Gyeoul, her blue eyes reflecting a fate that's already been written, as that massive, ancient dragon towers over her small frame, its gaze piercing through time itself to claim her as its own. Our little blue dragon Gyeoul finds herself submerged in deep blue water, and as her eyes open in surprise, a solemn revelation begins to unfold. A majestic, glowing, blue dragon towering over her tiny form. An ancient voice calling her its daughter. Gyeoul, instinctively recognizing the presence, questions if it's her grandfather. As the magnificent dragon looks down with glowing eyes, seeming to ask if she's happy. In her heart, she affirms that she is, truly content in this moment, and the ancient dragon's glowing eye tells her there's something she must do. It explains that a very long, dark, and scary night will soon be upon them, a time when some will fall and may never get up again. When that time comes, she must protect what's important to her with her own hands, even though Gyeoul admits she isn't strong enough, but the dragon reassures saying that isn't important, and what truly matters is her heart. This blue-haired entity with a gentle smile believes that if she's determined enough to overcome the darkness, both she and her loved ones will survive. And so her divine revelation is simple. She must protect them, her small daughter. As Gyeoul floats alone, the echoes of the dragon's trust fill her, and she clenches her small hand, a newfound resolve hardening in her heart. With a determined, flushed face, she accepts her destiny, promising to protect everyone. After that, we jump to a futuristic city, far from ancient dragons and solemn vows, where our main character, Yu Jitae, is enjoying a coffee. Here, Yu Bomb, ever the diligent one, is apologizing for not being more proactive in their recent affairs. But Jitae, ever focused, just asks if she's found anything more about the mysterious Invisibility Organization. Bomb quietly confirms she has, and the scene shifts to showcase the vast, diverse, and strangely beautiful chambers within a dungeon, from volcanic eruptions to icy caverns and lush forests. Bomb reveals that Lair, the big academic organization, is holding its end-of-year event in something called Malaysia's Ball, which Invisibility plans to crash by using their followers to birth 100 new demonic humans, all in an effort to place Wei-on on the throne. Our cold and calculating Jitae notes that this is a rather new method for them. Apparently, there's also a lot of talk within Invisibility because of a little thing called the Prototype X problem, and they're even calling Jitae the murderer of Prototype X. They've put a rather substantial bounty on his head for it too. 15 top-tier mana stones. Of course, Jitae is completely nonchalant about this, simply stating it doesn't matter since they don't even know who he is. After that, he gives Bomb her orders, telling her to take care of Russia and pay close attention to Wei-on, while finding out more about this upcoming festival. Bomb, with a concerned and doubtful expression, confirms she understands. Meanwhile, Jitae watches Gyeoul drinking her beverage, wondering about her own mysterious divine revelation, as Gyeoul herself is staring suspiciously at something, thinking about a certain suspicious woman, and how dangerous she is. The very next beat, the sisters, Bomb, Yoram, and Gyeoul, all gasp in unison when Jitae announces they'll be having chaperone counseling. He explains that each one of them will need to have a talk with him. Even little Gyeoul, ever the eager one, looks up and asks to participate too, which makes Yoram immediately tease her about her rather peculiar outfit. From there, we jump straight to Yoram's session, where she leans casually on Jitae, while her sisters relax on a couch, waiting their turn. Yoram gets right to it, telling Jitae she thinks she's too weak, which he already knows. He asks if this feeling comes from her losing to BM, and a quick flashback shows her utterly defeated on the ground. With an annoyed expression, she clearly affirms his assumption, but Jitae, ever serious, reminds her that while she may have lost, she has to remember the thrill of standing over a defeated opponent, breathing heavily with red energy after a hard-won fight. He gives her a moment to think, then approaches with a clipboard, offering to teach her how to grow stronger. Jitae casually says, "Shtat," as he writes, but Yoram, looking confused, fires back that she wasn't asking him to teach her, just stating her desire to grow stronger. He awkwardly clears his throat, asking if she wants him as a disciple. Yu Jitae then makes a note on his clipboard, "Yu Yoram, / no manners," as usual, before telling her to send in the next person. Next up is Gyeoul, who innocently asks what Jitae needs from her. She's startled when Jitae asks her about Lair and its processes and then raises her hand, eagerly explaining how Lair sends people to, perform. She even has a cheerful flashback to herself happily volunteering at an event, telling everyone to fight, and then smiles, touching her cheek. Jitae, with a stern expression, writes on his clipboard that she's doing well but needs to be kept an eye on, musing that her performances make sense since she is from the Golden Tribe, after all. Finally, he turns to Bomb, asking how she's been recently. Bomb calmly explains that she's been going to class, playing with Yurom and Gyeoul, and also taking care of Gyeoul. Jitae then asks if she needs anything for her novel, like drawing or writing materials. He looks pensive, pen in hand, making sure his eldest dragon has everything she needs. A rare moment of soft-heartedness from our stone-faced protagonist. Apparently, Jitae's special chaperone counseling for Bomb involves a lot of close contact, leaving our usually composed dragon flustered and blushing, as she mutters that's enough, while Jitae keeps his signature deadpan expression, even as she settles comfortably onto his lap. She looks happy to be there, writing things down, before getting adorably flustered again, as the two of them just sit close together, holding hands in the dim light. But as Bomb leans in closer and asks him point blank if she's too much for him, seeing as he always moves away, Jitae's stoic demeanor falters, and the two of them tumble to the floor, with Jitae looking genuinely surprised. She still looms over him, her face inches away, and Bomb blushes, struggling to find the right words. Suddenly Bomb's eyes widen in absolute terror, like she's seeing some sinister puppeteer pulling red energy strings, leaving her completely panicked. Then, the youngest dragon, Gyeoul, just walks into the open door, looking confused with big, blinking blue eyes, catching Bomb directly on top of Jitae, which makes Bomb laugh nervously, covering Jitae's mouth. Gyeoul, blushing, innocently asks if they were shocked, and offers to read a story, looking up with her big, eager eyes. Gyeoul, still confused, asks why she doesn't go to school yet, and Bomb, looking deeply troubled, then leaves the room, standing silently, before asking Jitae what he wants to talk about. Meanwhile, some shadowy figures are making big public announcements with various principals speaking from podiums, and a long-haired man looking quite serious before smiling for the cameras. He explains that the team will mostly consist of students, but will also include rankers from top guilds and families, saying they've invested a lot of time and work into this, and hoping everyone will be more excited than worried. Watching from afar, the furious Panwi clutches his bandaged arm, cursing and wondering when they'll get in touch, hating being treated like garbage. Hashimoto, ever so kindly, observes that Professor Wee Yuan is harsh, and it's unfair to do that to his arm, but Panwi clenches his fist, thinking it's all that ex-bastard's fault for being too harsh. Honestly, this guy is a mess, but he still reports that preparations for Malaysia's ball are going well. He tries to hold back details, muttering never mind, but Hashimoto just smiles playfully, insisting he share, making Panwi extremely flustered and embarrassed. He tries to keep secrets again, but then reveals they're planning to get 2 disaster class and 1 calamity class demonic human to join the ball. Panwi asks who will be joining, before walking away on the phone. Hashimoto is left alone, looking surprised and solemn, holding her binder. From there, we jump back to Jitae, who shocks Gyeoul and Gyeoul by appearing in a sharp black suit and coat, and when they excitedly ask if he's going to a wedding, he flatly tells them he's going to a funeral. Naturally, they're confused. He heads out into the sunset-drenched city, walking outdoors in his black coat, past ominous flashbacks of suffering and grimacing men and menacing, red-eyed figures, on his way to what promises to be a very dark event. Bystanders gossip about an award ceremony as Jitae walks through the park, where he finds Bomb, also elegantly dressed, looking surprised to see him, then yelling out with excitement and waving, running over to complain about waiting for him. Bomb immediately asks if he's looked into the providence, while Jitae listens with a stoic and serious face. She looks back at him with a teasing, playful expression, but Jitae maintains his cold, blank stare. Bomb looks excited and hopeful, leaning forward, before dramatically declaring what he would say. Poor little Bomb will be left all alone and cry all night waiting for you to come home, then looks up with a determined, sad expression, adding that she's going to kill someone. Jitae warns her he's not a good person, and doesn't want her to see that side of him. He tells her to go home, asking if she truly understands the providence, then recalls a cruel and tragic memory from yesterday, seeing an autistic man kill his mom, who had taken care of him for 20 years, and he couldn't do anything to stop it. But, he stresses, he can do something when it comes to her. He wants to help her, like when they saved that woman. Looking toward the horizon together, Jitae makes his terms clear, warning her that if she gets in his way even a little, he'll send her home. To this, Bomb readily agrees. Back in the city, a subordinate informs Mr. Hasegawa that preparations are done. The man in a suit blankly accepts a fedora, while Hasegawa himself smirks, adjusting his hat and displaying glowing red eyes, ready for whatever dark plans are in motion. We're heading to Kyoto, Japan, where a high-stakes game is about to begin at a ridiculously fancy hotel ballroom, full of guests enjoying themselves with elegant dances and hushed business deals. Everyone turns their attention as our man Yu Jitae and Bomb, looking absolutely stunning, step out of the elevator, ready to blend into the enemy's lair, and Bomb, confident for the mission, walks with him through the crowded room. Naturally, a blonde woman makes a move on Jitae, inviting him to dance, while another guy tries to hit on Bomb, asking if she's alone, but Jitae politely declines the dance, even when the woman insists she can lead, reaching for his hand just as she pulls him closer. In his head, this woman just sealed her fate, because Bomb, with a fierce smile, cuts her off, declaring that Jitae Jitae is already promised to her. The blonde woman fumes, muttering about how unbelievable it is, as she storms away, leaving Jitae and Bomb to finally dance. The two of them discuss the mission as they dance, agreeing that if this place is truly behind enemy lines, they need to blend in, which of course attracts the attention of other guests who are quite taken with both of them, some even thinking about asking Jitae for a dance. Bomb compliments Jitae on his improved dancing, playfully asking if he's been secretly practicing, but then tells him to stop saying strange things. Getting serious, Jitae asks if she found anything, clarifying he's not just playing around. Bomb reports that none of the guests seem to be the demonic humans they're looking for, prompting Jitae to ask about their specific characteristics. Just as they're discussing the mission, Hasegawa, the second son of the Konatsuke family, steps in to greet them. Bomb quickly charms him by introducing herself as Jitae's attendant secretary and complimenting his music, smiling slyly as she does so, which clearly pleases the villainous Hasegawa, who humbly responds to her praise. Bomb then suggests that true allure starts with fragrance, making physical contact with him to seal the deal. Honestly, Jitae is utterly unimpressed by Bomb's flattery, while Hasegawa and his attendant bask in it, giving the villain a blank, unimpressed stare. As Hasegawa continues his pleasantries, Jitae subtly reveals to Bomb that their target is actually immortal, and has been that way for 10 years. Problem is, Bomb, with fierce determination, believes 10 years is more than enough time for Hasegawa's entertainment to end, even as the other guests applaud him, and she's thinking she needs to find a way to kill him for certain tonight. Hasegawa takes to the piano, playing gracefully but with a sinister smile. He mutters, "Now, then," before his fingers hit the keys, asking, "Shall we begin?" Suddenly, Bomb clutches her stomach, apologizing as her stomach churns too much. Jitae, concerned, calls out to her, calmly telling her it's not too late to go back. As Hasegawa's ominous music plays, Jitae insists this place, especially if you've read Providence, doesn't suit her. He warns her that it's filthy and corrupt and isn't fitting for someone young like her. Despite Jitae's warnings, the crowd is utterly captivated by Hasegawa's beautiful melody, lost in a dreamlike state. But Jitae, holding a wineglass, steals Bomb, warning her that what she's about to witness will be far more horrifying than she can imagine, before crushing the glass in his hand, shattering it to the floor. As the scene darkens with ominous red light and glitch effects, shadowy figures with glowing green eyes emerge from the crowd. One, a woman with long green hair, looks back as more sinister figures loom. Bomb, startled by their appearance, asks, "Who is that?" What Hasegawa doesn't count on, however, is being utterly enraged that someone dared interrupt his performance, baring his teeth with glowing red eyes. Jitae warned her things would get horrifying, and as dozens of distorted figures with glowing green eyes emerge from the crowd, Bomb can finally see what he means, realizing the situation is far worse than she imagined. But while everyone else panics, Jitae is already calculating, knowing this exact moment was coming, which takes us back to when he first started explaining demonic humans to Bomb. See, Jitae reveals that Hasegawa has a truly disturbing hobby, essentially turning living people into his grotesque puppets by collecting their body parts and stitching them onto corpses, using some kind of demonic enchantment. If Jitae is right, those ears Hasegawa wants to cut off might just be for his doll collection. Jitae explains that in his past lives, he learned demonic humans make contracts for specific reasons, and if they fail to achieve their purpose, they undergo a terrifying transformation called molting, which is when something hidden comes to the surface, causing their bodies to twist and warp until they become truly monstrous. And this, Bomb realizes, is the key to Hasegawa's supposed immortality. Back in the present, Hasegawa is absolutely livid that his twisted piano performance, which is actually his molting ritual, has been so rudely interrupted by Yu Jitae, sending his monstrous audience to attack, swarming Jitae and Bomb from all sides. Jitae simply confirms he already knows what they're up against, and with a surge of green energy, Bomb prepares to unleash her dragon powers against the horde, knowing these grotesque figures are just puppets for Hasegawa. Chaos erupts as they charge, channeling her inner green dragon. Bomb unleashes a powerful draconic tongue spell, declaring that those who are rotten shall remain and follow the rules of nature, sending a wave of green magic crashing into the demonic puppets, throwing them back with immense force, clearing a path in the chaotic hall. Bomb bravely declares she'll take on the puppets, but the thing is, Hasegawa's influence is too strong, and despite her best efforts, she clutches her head in pain, clearly struggling to withstand his overwhelming demonic energy, as he channels more power into his corrupted servants, overwhelming our young dragon. Yu Jitae looks down at Bomb, knowing that even if she's a green dragon, she's still just a kid who isn't powerful enough to take on Hasegawa's full might, so he steps in, his blue energy blade flashing, cutting down the monstrous puppets with ease. Hasegawa, the deranged pianist, looks down, genuinely perplexed that anyone would dare interrupt his performance, demanding to know if they simply don't understand his music, before chillingly threatening to cut off your ears and put them on my dolls, so they can listen to my performances in silence forever. What he doesn't count on is that this whole time, Hasegawa has been connecting himself to the dolls, transforming them into grotesque, molting figures, and dramatically increasing his demonic energy. As Bon realizes this performance is literally his molting ritual, and she tells Jitae he's pushed the bastard far enough, warning him that Hasegawa is now fully committed. Gripping his glowing blue sword, Jitae tells Bomb, "Leave it to me." Hasegawa, completely oblivious, shrieks about them muttering amongst yourselves when I'm right here, right before Jitae unleashes a devastating attack, causing a massive explosion that throws the pompous pianist through the room and hall, making Bomb cry out in panic. But even then, he's still obsessed with his sacred performance, ranting that no one should interrupt him. Jitae grabs the dazed Hasegawa by the hair, looking down with a cold, unimpressed expression, asking him if his inspiration for all this came from knowing that his music actually sucks. Hasegawa, absolutely livid at the insult, screams at Jitae, but our protagonist is done playing, delivering a final massive magical strike that devastates the hall, making onlookers cry out in shock and even surprising Bomb with its sheer power as he seemingly decapitates the antagonist, and Jitae coldly tells the now disembodied head, Hasegawa, that's enough of your games. Just when our boy Yu Jitae thinks he's finally decapitated the creepy pianist, Hasegawa, the severed head just floats there in the air, taunting him by speaking from beyond the grave, while its body kneels headless on the floor. Seriously, this guy just won't die. Jitae even steps on the head, trying to be extra clear that the performance is over. Problem is, Hasegawa casually admits his immortality comes from a contract with the Lord of Abyss. As long as he has an audience, he can just keep coming back. But our boy Jitae already knew that, which is why he cleared the hall of all the demonic puppets, taking away Hasegawa's twisted audience. In Hasegawa's head, this should be impossible, but he quickly pivots, claiming he can still perform even without an audience, and those creepy red tentacles start bursting from his neck stump. He makes a new one from thin air, and before Jitae can even react, he snags Yu Bomb, binding her upside down with those same red threads. Hasegawa smugly taunts Jitae, saying his threads won't work on him, as Bomb struggles in the air, completely trapped. He then explains how Jitae's powers can only affect demonic humans who haven't completely shed their humanity. What a sick bastard. Then, he manipulates a knife into Bomb's hand, forcing her to aim it straight at Jitae, daring him to let his lover kill him. But Jitae isn't even flustered. He just dismisses Hasegawa's horrible hobby, saying he's glad the pianist hasn't changed. Suddenly, the red eye of Bomb's threads flares and Hasegawa finds himself in a cosmic realm, immediately wondering if it's an illusion. Oh, the tables have turned. Bomb, completely in control, confirms he's in her world, having hijacked his threads, and Hasegawa screams, realizing she's not human. He is utterly terrified, as a magnificent green dragon head materializes behind Bomb, revealing her true powerful form. She then, with a confident smirk, corrects Hasegawa on one crucial detail, saying they aren't lovers yet, at least. Hasegawa screams in agony as her threads strangle him, and back in reality, his severed head is now bound to the piano, completely helpless. This guy is officially out of tricks. Desperate, Hasegawa tries to argue his immortality again, explaining he sold his soul to the devil to write music, and he can't die as long as his audience remembers him. Jitae admits that Hasegawa's right, he can't kill him in the traditional sense, but he has a different method entirely. With a powerful blue magical slash, Jitae destroys Hasegawa's ability to perform, demanding he plays something right now. Hasegawa screams in horror as he realizes he can't regenerate or perform, his power completely nullified by Bomb's mana, which makes him curse her out, blaming her interference. He then screams for Barca, begging to perform one last piece, as Jitae watches with a calm, unmoving face. With the ordeal finally over, Bomb, looking a little confused, asks Jitae watches with a calm, unmoving face. With the ordeal finally over, Bomb, looking a little confused, our boy playfully pinches her cheek, then gently comforts her, dismissing her guilt, and telling her it's time to go home, which she happily agrees to with a blush and a smile. Back at their luxurious home, everything seems peaceful as Gyeoul is happily drawing in her notebook, capturing her sweet, innocent thoughts about Mr. Jitae. In her head, Jitae is the strongest person on earth who's been alone for a very long time, carrying a lot of emotional baggage, as she hilariously depicts with a literal heavy sack, and of course she includes herself, recalling a sweet moment when she danced with him, blushing at the memory. But then, Jitae suddenly appears behind her, making her jump in surprise. He asks what she's doing, which is an odd change for him, as he glances at her notebook, which she nervously tries to explain by saying she fills in stars whenever she feels closer to him. Jitae just smirks, then tells her to go on, leaving her relieved. In her head, he never used to care about what she did, so she decides to draw in her room from now on. But then she gasps, realizing he's actually changing because of them, starting to care more about others. Meanwhile, the outside world is reeling from the aftermath of Hasegawa's molting ritual, with a damaged skyscraper looming as a stark reminder. Investigators examine the disaster site, and Jefferson Antonio, a high-ranking official, sighs in frustration over the incident. The problem is, an urgent report lands on his desk regarding a dangerous event, something connected to the upcoming Lairs end-of-year event, and he demands Minoko explain it. It turns out, the report was delivered by highly skilled individuals who managed to infiltrate their ranks, but the report itself is a secret mission from the higher-ups, tasking Minamoto to eliminate a specific squad quickly. Apparently, while Minamoto does that, they're going to find the rats hidden in the Alliance's special forces, all to be resolved quietly so it doesn't go public. Someone in the car notes that this old man really looks down on the Japanese royal family, and the report about the demonic humans must have something to do with Hasegawa. Suddenly, back at home, Jitae is ambushed with a surprise birthday party. Gyeoul, Yu Bomb, and Yu Arm jump out, wishing him a happy birthday. Jitae, completely stunned, can only mutter, "Birthday?" Bomb explains she saw his work ID, revealing his birthday is December 12th. He then realizes it really is his birthday today, while Call excitedly asks if he was surprised, because it's her first time congratulating someone for their birthday. And of course, she shows off her dress, but Bomb and Gyeoul hilariously comment that it's a bit small. Yoram just murmurs that she can't do this, because it's too cringe. Yoram is intensely training, doing a one-handed handstand, struggling to maintain her balance. She drops in frustration, reflecting on her lack of progress, and clenches her fist with fierce determination. Clearly, this girl needs a win. So, she comes up with a mischievous plan, plan to ambush Jita with the birthday cake. Seeing her chance since he's holding Gyeoul and surrounded by everyone, she dives aggressively intending to smash the cake right into Jitae's face. But Gyeoul, startled by the incoming pastry, accidentally activates her magic, engulfing the group in a glowing magical circle. Yarm and Bon react in terror, while Gyeoul stares in confusion as the cake floats directly in front of her face. And then, of course, it smashes directly into her face. And then, of course, it smashes directly into her, leaving her completely covered in frosting. She just stands there, looking absolutely shocked. Yoram, looking guilty, tries to apologize, while Cal hilariously just wipes her face and eats the cake. She then excitedly declares it's time to open gifts, teasing Jitae that 27 is still a kid for dragons. Jitae opens Bomb's gift, which is a framed picture of them all at the lake, and he sincerely thanks her, which she accepts with a kind smile. Next up is Cal's gift, a wish ticket, since she and Bomb couldn't figure out what Jitae would want. Then comes Yoram's gift, a pair of white socks. The girls are all excited, but Jitae is confused, asking if socks have some kind of meaning for her. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a lonely metallic structure stands in a desolate, snow-covered landscape, as Minamoto Ai looks on with a serious, concerned expression. The problem is, an old acquaintance named Myung Yongha is crying hysterically, shouting Minamoto's name. Minamoto asks what's wrong with him, and he joyfully explains his wife has been making progress. He thanks BM, who lazily smirks and holds up a medicinal herb, but then Yongha explains he got it from a really strong, unusual guy who he'd never seen anything like in Arendoth. Suddenly BM interrupts, needing to talk to Minamoto. Minamoto asks if he's confessing to her, to which BM reassures she's not his type. Minamoto is stunned, wondering what's going on, as a close-up of a menacing man with yellow eyes and glasses is revealed. A Calamity-class demonic human. Yu Jitae is in a serious conversation, learning about the upcoming end-of-the-year event at the Superhuman Association, which will proceed despite some strange reports, and it seems there are demonic humans involved. Of course, these demonic humans are already here, and they look like some serious trouble. He's been tasked with handling any demonic humans that appear near the event, while others will hunt infiltrators within the association itself, which our boy Gray finds mildly amusing, since it sounds like they will be the ones working their asses off, and he considers keeping it a secret from Bomb. Meanwhile, someone on the phone expresses reluctance to ask an individual who just escaped 10 years of hell to go back, while Minamoto playfully teases another character about being sweet, before casually descending the stairs. Back home, Yu Jitae and the Dragon Girls have finished a big meal, leaving plenty of empty plates, and he ushers them upstairs, saying he's not surprised they're full after all that food. He reminds Gyeoul that it's already this late, and she should sleep in her own room. Bomb is still up, reading in bed, and we see a cute sketch of Yu Jitae looking awkward in a party hat, since he's probably never celebrated his birthday, which Bomb secretly finds adorable as she smiles while writing. Suddenly Yu Jitae walks into Bomb's room carrying Gyeoul, catching Bomb completely off guard, who demands to know why he didn't knock, and calls him a pervert. But it turns out Gyeoul just doesn't want to let him go, pulling on his sleeve and insisting she wants to sleep with him. Gyeoul tightens her grip on his clothes, leaving Yu Jitae surprised. Bomb quickly jumps in, teasing Gyeoul about really wanting to sleep with Yu Jitae after Gyeoul declares she's sleeping in her own room, so her guardian ends up squeezed between Bomb and Gyeoul in the small bed. An awkward but sweet scene. He starts patting Gyeoul's head, but Bomb tells him to be much softer, like he's petting her. Yu Jitae follows her instructions, gently stroking Gyeoul's head until the little dragon peacefully falls asleep, sucking her thumb. Bomb then praises him and suggests he should sleep too before Gyeoul wakes up. Bomb then playfully asks Yu Jitae if she gets a head pat too, claiming she hasn't been sleeping well due to scary prophecies. This completely shocks Yu Jitae as he realizes just how comfortable this ordinary family life has become for him. He even covers his mouth in surprise, reflecting on how much he's gotten used to it. But that piece is brutally shattered, as his glowing data window shifts to something much darker. Mr. Kim is violently slammed into a wall, and a construction worker screams, demanding to know why people from the Superhuman Association are attacking them. A braided figure stands ominously, as another angry person with glowing red eyes yells at the old man and tells him to fuck off, because they don't know why they're doing this either. The muscular fighter warns he's actually going to kill him. Yu Jitae steps onto a destroyed burning construction site, observing the aggressive barbarian-like combat squad, looking calm despite the chaos and destruction around him. He appears in a blue-toned space, then approaches an armed man on the ground, calling the situation goodness. He confronts a man holding a hostage, sarcastically asking if they're the maintenance guys, while a frightened old man screams in terror. Yu Jitae scolds the old geezer for not running away when he had the chance. A muscular woman with red eyes threatens Yu Jitae, but he dismisses her, causing an older man to cry out in relief at his intervention. Suddenly, a golden hourglass floats in the air, a strange sight amidst the chaos, followed by a muscular woman with paperwork and a female soldier showing glowing red scars, all hinting at a deeper corruption that makes another man read a document in horror. His eye corrupted and glowing red scars, all hinting at a deeper corruption that makes another man read a document in horror. An elderly man is terrified, as Yu Jitae tells them all to run and keep silent about what they've seen, dismissing them to flee. The muscular woman confronts Yu Jitae, lunging to punch him, furious about his interference. An old man tries to warn Yu Jitae, but our protagonist effortlessly catches the woman's powerful punch, completely unimpressed. Another muscular man mocks him for being skinny, even offering protein supplements, but Yu Jitae coolly dismisses him, calling his muscles decoration. Yu Jitae then throws the muscular woman backward, declaring that talking is pointless and he'll have to use force. Onlookers are shocked, as another old man is grabbed, and more fighters excitedly clamor to attack Yu Jitae. One even yells, eager for a fight, as a group of fighters scream and prepare to charge. Another fighter screams a threat of destruction, unleashing a massive attack on Yu Jitae. But Yu Jitae simply sighs in relief, then strikes back with intense force. He delivers a powerful powerful downward strike, knocking opponents back and quickly dispatching enemies, while others charge ready to fight. Yu Jitae's eye glows with intense purple energy, unleashing surges and beams that make opponents recoil and evade, forcing them to narrowly escape his attacks. He comments on being rusty with this skill and wonders if the current Yu Yorium could learn it before executing a powerful spinning attack. A muscular fighter jumps to swing a heavy weapon, which Yu Jitae intercepts, preparing a glowing punch, shocking the opponent who realizes it's a level 3 artifact as Yu Jitae easily defeats him and coldly tells him to surrender. The fighter with braided hair grins defiantly, and another grapples Yu Jitae from behind with red energy, but our boy remains unfazed. Yu Jitae questions their lack of fear of death as more fighters rise up, and with a grim expression, his eyes glow purple as a winged entity wrapped in dark magic emerges, enveloping figures in purple flames while black feathers fall around a fearful woman, all part of the Belbarian attack. A dark red magical spear appears as a blindfolded winged warrior, and a hooded figure with a dark sword float amidst purple energy, all part of Yu Jitae's Grand Duke's punishment authority. He stares forward with glowing purple eyes, using his authority to confirm and collect traces of malice from the special forces, admitting to his winged companion that it's a power he truly didn't want to use because it's too much. The captured men are chained and kneeling, overseen by shadowy winged figures. Yu Jitae confirms they're all there before planning to bring them some good liquor. Then we shift to an industrial plant where a werewolf and a man in a lab coat are studying a glowing blue crystal. The werewolf shows the scientists something small, complaining that their devices can't handle it. The scientist, annoyed by persistent tapping, thinks it's a game and tells the unseen tap master to play later, until Yu Jitae appears directly behind him, holding a strand of Gala's lost hair. This completely shocks the panicked scientist who claims he just found it while cleaning, but Yu Jitae calmly states he's taking it anyway. The scientist, now revealed as a nurse, listens intently as Yu Jitae explains the Alliance's plan to use the special forces to find demonic humans. Then a disoriented green-haired man wakes up and the muscular woman from before realizes the scientist is a nurse, as a glowing green crystal sits in a containment unit. The nurse warns the muscular woman that leaving will hurt many people and advises her to receive treatment there. The soldiers agree to this but ask for a favor, to retain their strength, causing Yu Jitae to joke with the shocked nurse if she thinks this is a gym. Later, an armored figure complains that the real problem is a woman with a lifeless expression, and when Yu Jitae counters her, she apologizes for losing her mind before. The woman recounts her tragic past. She guarded children during a monster rupture, but the Superhuman Association made a critical mistake, leaving only her as a survivor, collapsing in the rain after the children were gone. Yu Jitae, listening intently, Lungli tells her she can die if she wants to, explaining his philosophy on not stopping those who truly wish for death. This prompts the woman to ask if he's done talking, before declaring that she is in fact trying to live, just as the muscular woman from earlier offers her a cure for her lack of will to live. Intense physical training, yelling that she's weak and has no will to live. The woman struggles through the exercises, as instructors yell at her, telling her not to use mana. She yells an apology, utterly exhausted. After discussing the intel he gave the Alliance, Yu Jitae departs, asking a companion for help. We see a close-up of Gyeoul clutching her chest where a dark shape sits, leaving a bird-like character looking utterly shocked. Our girl Gyeoul is just trying to live her normal school life, but hanging out with friends is always a hassle, because Yu Jitae, our favorite overprotective guardian, keeps her from going to crowded places. Our friends invite her to a new cafe downtown, promising really cute pictures, but poor Gyeoul has to wave them off, knowing her chaperone won't allow it. In her head, she thinks it's because she attracts unwanted attention, but honestly, it's probably just Jitae being his usual, cautious self. She gets so fed up that she rages out loud about not even being able to practice her guitar at home, wondering why on earth Jitae doesn't like her playing it. With a defiant huff, she decides to take her guitar outside instead, finding a quiet spot in the woods, hoping this time, it'll be just fine. So, she starts strumming away, totally lost in her music. Her beautiful music attracts all sorts of cute forest critters, like birds and squirrels, who gather around listening intently as Gyeoul plays with her eyes closed, completely absorbed in her song. But then, out of nowhere, a pair of glowing eyes pierces the darkness, making our little musician suddenly jump, reacting to an unexpected presence in the forest. Suddenly, she finds herself face to face with some strange adults, asking herself who they are, and even hearing little Gyeoul's whisper, "Scary," from behind one of them. One of them, a man in a hat, tries to offer her a business card, but poor Gyeoul freaks out, sprinting away and yelling that she doesn't need his business card. She's utterly shocked by the whole weird encounter, but before she can get too far, she spots a genuinely cute round yellow creature, instantly cooing, "A cutie pie." At the sight of it, she starts observing it with an eerie smile, noting how soft it looks, but the creature, startled by her intensity, lets out a tiny cry as it ripples through the forest. Gyeoul looks up in shock as the creature suddenly looks angry, peeping suspiciously at her, making her wonder if it simply doesn't like her. Later that night, the family gathers for dinner at their modern house, but something is clearly off with Cal. Even his mom places her chopsticks down, and Yaorum points out that she ate more than everyone else. Cal is completely distracted, still thinking about that angry little creature from the forest. She's looking visibly surprised by something, trying to deny that she's thinking about it, but clearly doing exactly that, wondering if the creature will ever come down and asking Jitae about it. She looks genuinely worried as she leans towards Yu Jitae, ready to tell him something. Our sweet Gyeoul is feeling amazing after discussing things with her guardian, and she hums happily as she skips through the lush green forest, thinking it was a great idea to talk things over with Mr. Yu. In fact, she's back here for a special reason, spotting the little cutie behind a tree and immediately asking if she'd scared it yesterday. The small yellow cuter just looks down from its branch, confused about her presence, while Gyeoul herself is surprised to actually find it again. But as Gyeoul searches for her little friend, things are getting ugly somewhere else, with students whispering about facility creatures and strange claw marks filled with mana. Sadly, our sweet Gyeoul soon finds a feather and immediately realizes the little cutie might have escaped, looking horrified as she wonders if her new friend is in danger. From there, we jump straight to the downtown Hatchling entertainment district, where the small yellow creature is caught in a dark alley, getting struck by a brutal claw, and cornered by several black cats with glowing red eyes. The little guy pleads with them, asking why they're doing this when they all came from the same facility, but one of the black cats just laughs and snarls, telling him flat out, "Because we don't like you." The black cats remind him of their past in the facility, where he always got special treatment just for being cute, taking all the pets and treats while they watched on. Now, out here in the alley, they remind him there are no walls or humans to protect him, and with that, one of the black cats pounces for the kill, leaving the little cutie terrified. But just before the final blow lands, a foot stomps down with a flash of red aura, as our sweet Gyeoul appears out of nowhere, blocking the attack. Naturally, the little yellow creature is completely relieved to see her. She gently scoops up the creature, holding it affectionately, and then stands protectively over it, asking the black cats if these really are its friends. The black cats are completely annoyed by human interference, glaring at Gyeoul as they realize it would be too much trouble to fight her, so they grudgingly retreat, telling the little rager to consider itself lucky. Gyeoul smiles happily, wondering how she managed to find the creature, but then her concern kicks in as she notices its wound and immediately decides to treat it, confessing that she found it because it has a really nice scent, kind of like corn chips. So, apparently there's this secret organization called Invisibility, and they refer to someone as a god who is also, oddly enough, a child, and they almost got caught recently. Now, an elder from Invisibility is getting scolded for the mishap because they were nearly exposed, and the consequences of that would have been devastating. Problem is, a massive information leak just happened, and the group is beyond furious, cursing out whoever's behind it. Meanwhile, at the association, things are even worse, because Professor Guok Ponwi's secretary is panicking, claiming someone named X is threatening to kill everyone if they don't find them, and they can't figure out how X knew about a super secret elders meeting, since that's information only known to Invisibility's elders and the association leadership. Honestly, the whole situation leaves them in sheer shock and disbelief, and suspicions are immediately thrown at Hashimoto. Now, before we get too deep into that, we jump to our adorable dragon sisters, who are busy naming the little chick creature Gyeoul rescued. This poor chick looks utterly stressed out, and Yoram is holding it with a puzzled expression, wondering what its deal is, before suddenly deciding to lick it. Yes, really, she just licked the chick, which makes the poor creature scream bloody murder in pure shock. The other dragons are disgusted by Yoram's spit, and even Yoram herself makes a face, commenting on the taste, while Gyeoul, the chick's rescuer, looks completely annoyed by the whole thing. Yoram, being Yoram, decides it's the perfect time to playfully tackle Gyeoul, looking completely irritated by her sister's reaction, and sporting a menacing grin as Gyeoul watches in shock. Our sweet Gyeoul can only let out a confused peep before Yoram stomps on her, declaring she's been too nice lately, and Gyeoul screams in pain as Gyeoul watches, utterly unfazed. Even Gyeoul is looking on with pure curiosity, as Gyeoul lies defeated on the floor. Meanwhile, our youngest Gyeoul is tapping away at a holographic screen, suddenly reacting with a shocked gasp, while Yu-Bomb stands calmly behind her as Yoram triumphantly sits on Gyeoul's back, who dramatically declares that God is dead. Yu-Bomb, ever the caring older sister, holds Gyeoul lovingly, but then her eyes glow with mystical magic, and her reptilian pupil dilates in utter shock, causing her to scream as she opens a door, clearly having seen something terrifying. Elsewhere, Jitae is putting on his coat, being asked if he's going to see the future again, and Yu-Bomb rushes after him, demanding to come along, which just makes Jitae look surprised. He turns back to her, asking if she just asked him for help, and Bomb immediately denies it, then winks with a happy smile. Honestly, our poor Jitae looks absolutely exhausted, dealing with Bomb's antics. Our stoic hero Yu Jitae drops a bomb on Yu-Bomb, revealing that their enemies want to use Malaysia as a sacrificial altar, planning to sacrifice 700 people to create 100 new demonic humans, and Yu-Bomb is understandably shocked by this absolutely insane plot. Naturally, this explains a lot of the chaotic events we've seen lately, and honestly, it's a truly chilling scheme. The thing is, Yu-Bomb asks a man named BM if he already knew about this, and he admits he only found out recently, but confesses he never liked the mastermind's vibe anyway. Yu Jitae continues, explaining that Malaysia's ball is completely isolated from the outside world because it's dungeon, making it the perfect horrifying place for them to carry out this twisted ritual. The situation is grim, and the task of stopping it seems almost impossible. After that heavy reveal, Yu Jitae stands before his team and announces that he has explained the situation, and now it's time to move on to the actual plan. Meanwhile, far above in the sky, a massive futuristic aircraft is flying through Japanese airspace, and a reporter broadcasts live, explaining that this huge ship is called the Guardian, a joint project by Lair and the Alliance. Inside, a large group of soldiers and hunters prepares for action, alongside members of the association and the Japanese hunter management. The reporter then points out that Principal Ha Sokmu has just begun giving a speech. Back at home, Yu Yaoram, the red-haired dragon sister, watches the broadcast with her siblings, complaining that she doesn't like it because they aren't taking new students this year. Yu Gyeoul, the blonde dragon, asks why, wondering if something bad is happening. Yu Gyeoul is horrified, asking if someone's going to run away, then worries about the real problem, who's going to cook for them. Honestly, Actually, that's a perfectly valid concern. Gyeoul, the youngest dragon, looks out the window, holding her chick plushie, and says nothing, probably just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Back at the assembly hall, someone interrupts the speeches, calling Yu Jitae a demonic human hunter, and handing him a silver badge representing the Japanese royal family. They explain that he and his companion will be joining the dungeon raid as affiliates of the royal family, admitting they don't completely trust the pair, and warning them to be prepared for the consequences if things go wrong. Apparently his companion, Yu-Bom, has changed a lot. Then Yu-Bom cheerfully calls out to Jitae, asking him to wait for her, but Jitae just mutters, "So annoying." A cheerful man leans in, asking Jitae if he knew Bom before, and Yu Jitae just mutters, "So annoying." A cheerful man leans in, asking Jitae if he knew Bom before, and Yu Jitae, ever so subtly, wonders if it's obvious. The man blushes, realizing he might have put his foot in it. Now identified as Jong Bongman, he sighs dramatically, saying it's been a while since he was on a mission this dangerous, but he guesses it's his fate as a member of the Purity Association. Yu Jitae then cuts him off, confirming his full name, Jong Bongman, and warns him that his role in this mission is both the most important and the most dangerous. That's one way to motivate your team. Our team is dropping into the 141st room, known as the Mid-Air Garden, and Yu-Bom makes quite the entrance, letting out a little gasp as she arrives through a shimmering green portal alongside her elderly companion. As they start to walk, Bom can't help but notice that the atmosphere here feels completely different from the other dungeon rooms they've been through. The problem is, she then turns to her companion and asks if this doesn't seem like a scary dungeon at all, which her companion just chuckles at, leaving Bom to stand there looking deep in thought. 15 hours and 20 minutes into the Malicious Ball dungeon, our boy Jitae descends into what looks like an abandoned land, and he lands right in the middle of a truly horrific sight, a cluster of mutated beings begging for help, their bodies twisted into red cube-like entities, and Jitae immediately realizes these are the missing trainees. He reaches out a hand wondering if he can somehow revert them, but as his eye flashes he tries to strike the ground with a surge of red energy, hoping to stabilize the regenerating red mass, but it just keeps twisting and regenerating, leaving him unable to save these poor souls. He just stands there in silence watching them. Suddenly, a new face approaches Jitae from behind, and he quickly speaks into his earpiece announcing Noah's arrival. Noah, glowing with purple eyes, flashes a knowing smile. Jitae touches his ear again, and admits to the approaching long-haired figure, our main antagonist, that he's embarrassed to be caught in this messy situation. The antagonist, with striking red eyes, just grins and greets him as chaperone Yu Jitae. Jitae just glances at the antagonist, responding with a dry, pretty hard, clearly not impressed. He surveys the grim scene around them, a real crime scene with casualties, while our antagonist is too busy petting a shocked purple-haired woman, before almost comically offering Jitae tea, but it's clear his true intention is to kill him. The antagonist then aims a gun, shouting about what makes Jitae so superior. Jitae, standing coolly outside at night, just asks why he's so full of complaints, before dropping the brutal truth, he's going to die soon. The antagonist screams in fury, attacking Jitae and demanding if he thought revealing his true self live would resolve everything. Completely convinced Jitae still doesn't get it, he laughs maniacally, proclaiming this is the perfect setting to kill Jitae without a trace, and that he'll be treated as a hero for rescuing the remaining students. A truly delusional scheme that our boy Jitae can clearly see through, as he just stands there, surrounded by energy preparing his own magical counterattack. Suddenly the antagonist looks absolutely shocked as his attack is stopped cold. A panicked subordinate radios in, screaming about a major problem. A demonic human has killed everyone. The antagonist can't believe it, realizing his own clone has turned on him. In his head, all the demonic humans on standby at the entrance should have been dead by now, but not like this. Our antagonist, now utterly terrified, grows enraged, staring at Jitae, who simply punches him squarely in the face, sending him flying back into a wall with brutal force. The antagonist hits the stone wall, groaning in pain, while Jitae just stands there calmly after the impact. Lying on the ground, the furious antagonist curses Jitae out. Suddenly, with glowing red eyes and a distorted, angry face, one of his subordinates screams, "What are you all doing?" Red's subordinate screams, "What are you all canoeing?" Another one continuing the frantic shout, just as a winged, hooded figure descends from above, surrounded by a magical purple aura. Then, with powerful dark energy, Jitae himself descends right into the fray, looking absolutely ready to fight. The hooded character in midair reacts with utter confusion to the assault, letting out a surprised "Hun." This panel is an artifact of renumbering. Skip. Jitae just stands there, calm amidst the chaos, as another hooded figure with wings appears nearby, and someone observes that after all that, Jitae doesn't look tired at all. Jitae confronts a silver-haired person in a dim hallway, flatly stating, "You're X." X responds, confirming their goal to stop the demonic humans, and claims to be fighting for humanity's peace. But Jitae, tightly gripping the handle of his dark magical scythe, isn't buying it for a second. He quickly stands over the now kneeling, defeated silver-haired character, who, even covered in soot, manages a truly menacing smile, as Jitae, holding his glowing scythe, simply observes that he's sure X has his own grand scheme too. Play right hand, asked where to numbering, skip. Even defeated on the ground, the silver-haired X gives Jitae one last sneer, hoping he fails too. But then we cut to a hand holding a delicate blue butterfly, as a voice declares that the heavens rule over Oscar Bolzencock. Turns out our new white-haired mastermind, Oscar, sits on a box at sunset, still holding that butterfly, a cunning, purple-eyed smile spreading across his face. Meanwhile, the defeated X is still kneeling in a tattered state, a stark contrast to Oscar's calm power. So, this chapter kicks off with a new mysterious figure, umbrella in hand, already talking about how thoughts project into dreams while you sleep, and he's genuinely wondering what Jitae's dreams might taste like. Creepy, right? Meanwhile, some poor woman is being forced to do squats by a bespectacled man, begging to stop and wondering if this is what God feels like. Turns out the bespectacled man and his dark-haired associate are discussing Noah, who apparently can become a god inside his own domain. The bespectacled man is completely surprised by this, but the dark-haired guy, who seems to be in charge, tells him not to even think about winning, just to buy time until he finishes what he needs to do. Honestly, the bespectacled guy is already regretting his life choices, wishing he found an excuse to bail. Back to Jitae, who's realizing that this new villain's power, the one that sliced his arm and messed up those cadets, must come from that strange black light emanating from his umbrella. Our boy quickly deduces that he's completely outmatched in close quarters against these dark roots, so he decides to take a different approach and manifests his massive dark dragon wings, soaring into the air while the umbrella guy watches from below. Jitae then unleashes a massive wave of glowing green energy from his wings, all while looking incredibly determined, as a bright burst of golden energy explodes in the air, creating a shockwave. The umbrella-wielding villain, however, is simply annoyed by Jitae's movements, and as energy beams rain down and Jitae dodges, the villain taunts him, asking if he thinks he can manage by just keeping his distance. Then, with a truly threatening expression, he asks Jitae if merely guarding his body will be enough. Surprisingly, the white-haired psycho looks genuinely shocked a moment later, as dark energy trails and surges across the battlefield, crackling with intense magical power. Our villain is caught in the center of a swirling chaotic energy field, with dark shadowy tendrils sweeping across the dry ground with great force. Golden magical energy sparks intensify and erupt into the surrounding air, shattering the rocky ground violently under the immense pressure of the magical discharge, and sending large stone blocks and rubble flying into the air from the impact. A bright flash of explosive energy then erupts from the impact. A bright flash of explosive energy then erupts from the center of the battlefield. As Jitae dodges incoming golden energy attacks, the villain admits, sounding almost touched, that Jitae split his power to protect the cadets. But that doesn't stop Jitae from being slammed down from above with great force, creating a crater. The white-haired villain, purple eyes glowing, stares down, clearly shocked and angry, and lets out a frustrated yell. The injured man, now sporting a demonic arm, crouches, explaining that sacrifices are inevitable for the greater good. Jitae just looks back over his shoulder, wondering if he agrees. The impact slams Jitae into a rocky cliff face with massive explosive force, shattering the terrain with a powerful shockwave and sending rocks flying. A massive circular shockwave ripples through the air at the site of impact, as a sharp, blade-like appendage sweeps across the rocky terrain. Then, a winged figure hovers above the crater, sarcastically asking if even a god can't block an attack coming out of the ground, implying Jitae somehow pulled a fast one. And honestly, Jitae agrees, now standing there with chimeric grafts and wings spread, wondering aloud if he looks hideous. A dark chimeric appendage with glowing red eyes is clearly visible, and the injured man is visibly annoyed by Jitae's current form. He starts walking across the rocky terrain, sword in hand, but Jitae, seeing the look on the man's face and his own eyes glowing purple, realizes the villain is pissed, finding the whole thing a real hassle. Jitae, now crouching and struggling with the demonic transformation, is promised death, but Jitae, seemingly struggling, tells the boys to work with him. Suddenly, Jitae stands alone, sensing an incredible energy from a nearby room. A winged figure also looks towards the massive energy source, acknowledging its boss's power, but another figure dismisses Oscar entirely, saying he doesn't even compare. Apparently, they've got a real psycho called the demonic human hunter, who not even Jitae will be able to handle. More importantly, a new bespectacled figure taunts the others about their precarious situation, grinning malevolently and announcing that if the main player, Yuan, dies, the ritual won't be able to proceed. The white-haired character, purple eyes intense, listens, then suggests they'll have to pull off a Yuan ritual without Yuan. He remains silently enraged by the taunt. Then, the grinning bespectacled character winces in pain from a powerful attack. The white-haired villain's eyes glow with purple electricity, and he descends towards the canyon floor, lunging forward with an intense expression, his dark closed foot landing firmly on the ground. As a winged creature flies away and the ground is destroyed in the background, our white-haired villain shouts that he gets there in a rush now. Meanwhile, a monster with a glowing red eye attacks Jitae, who struggles as dark tendrils consume his body. He's told that if he wishes to see it that badly, he'll be shown a nightmare. His back is marked by dark demonic growths, and a voice offers him a true nightmare. A dark clawed hand grips something in intense agitation, but Jitae defies the entity, flatly stating that he's already got plenty of nightmares stuffed in his body. The mysterious voice demands he give it over, but Jitae opens his glowing eyes, warning of imminent danger. Then a powerful flash of light erupts from a skill activation. Suddenly, a stone doll crashes into the grassy terrain. A red-haired woman expresses disappointment over the destroyed doll, saying she quite liked this one. She then recognizes someone familiar, remembering them as the girl with disgusting scars who uses an elderly character with a scarred face, using telekinesis to control objects, cuts her off, disappointed that's all she remembers. The older woman finishes her sentence, indicating it's her the red-haired woman is referring to. The red-haired woman activates a device with intense energy using a robotic hand, but says she doesn't have the leisure to remember each and every one of them. Additional puppet figures float in the air, one suspended in midair, as the red-haired woman controls them with her hands. Another puppet figure floats horizontally through the air, and yet another floats near the bottom. The older white-haired character, using magic to control floating rocks, declares that none of that matters anymore, promising the red-haired woman a dog's death. Yu Jitae finds himself in the middle of a field, surrounded by giant robotic dolls relentlessly attacking him with bladed arms, forcing him to focus his energy, making his eyes glow blue, as he creates a swirling magical barrier to deflect the incoming barrage from every direction. But these mechanical monsters are no joke, firing guns with massive muzzle flashes, sending bullets streaking through the air, each trailed by glowing blue magical sigils. The problem is, even with his defenses, Jitae reacts in shock as his own hand starts to disintegrate into black dust, making him stumble backward as the ground shakes violently around him, with giant mechanical dolls slamming their fists into the earth, creating powerful shockwaves. Another doll delivers a heavy punch, all while the red-haired puppet master mocks him from a distance, claiming that all he can do is stop her creations with mere rocks and dirt. In her head, his telekinesis is useless against her glowing circuited dolls, and she sneers that he was so full of spirit after just destroying destroying one guard doll, pointing out that he cannot directly damage her puppets with telekinesis. Honestly, the puppet master, now bored with the entertainment, declares that's enough fun, and with a sharp gesture of her metallic C orders her dolls to charge Jitae in the distance, telling them to get revenge. Our boy, however, stays cool and focused, simply closing his eyes and bracing himself for the coming onslaught. See, while telekinetic powers are rare, with clear limits to their use, as a distressed Lihua with a glowing blue eye might observe, and as we briefly see with young people testing them in a facility, Jitae's version is a whole different beast. His hand glows with dark energy, ready to unleash a telekinesis 103 third form. Intense energy beams crisscross the sky, slicing through the robotic armor parts, his mountain destruction form tearing through every single doll. Yu Jitae lands dynamically, having completely decimated the enemy forces. The red-haired woman is absolutely shocked, standing in the grassy field as she observes her destroyed army. Robotic armor pieces float in a dark starry void, testament to Jitae's power, and he casually admits he was wondering what to do, because destroying them one by one was eating up too much mana. His eyes glow with blue energy, a clear sign he's not messing around. The puppet master, her own eye glowing red, screaming out a curse at him, tries to attack with a mechanical skeletal hand, but Jitae is already preparing a glowing blade, slicing her puppet body in half in midair. Yu Jitae approaches the terrified red-haired woman, who screams at him to stay away, cursing at him and repeatedly telling him not to come near her again, her wide eyes fixed on him in supposed terror. But then, a metallic hand grabs Jitae's ankle from the ground, and his scarred face is illuminated by a golden light, revealing a shocking twist. The red-haired woman isn't terrified at all. She's smiling with a wicked grin, her eyes glowing red, as a massive explosion erupts on the ground. She laughs maniacally, even with her arm amputated, letting out a chilling "K ha ha ha," and complaining about wasting so much energy because of that old hag, saying she would have already made it to the dungeon boss room otherwise, and that Noah's going to be disappointed in her. Honestly, she's lying there next to a mannequin with a severed arm, dark energy crawling over her chest as she mutters about how annoying it is to get used to a new body. Apparently she possesses the ability to move bodies, a power that, much like Hasegawa's immortality, has let her escape death many times, making it a power that completely goes against the rules of nature. But before she can get away, U-Bomb, the eldest dragon, suddenly jumps from the sky to attack her. U-Bomb, absolutely furious, yells about this puppet master who goes against nature, unleashing a magic circle spell that traps the red-haired woman, even as the scarred man warns Bomb that the woman will try to use her separation technique. But despite her worries, Bomb is determined, and with an intense and furious expression, she lunges from the air toward the red-haired woman. The puppet master screams as magical runes appear on her face and body as Bomb lunges, cursing Bomb out and realizing that this is the same bitch who was behind the old hag earlier, her mana interrupting the soul separation. She screams in pain, demanding Bomb stop right now, as the runes glow on her distressed skin, warning about induction, but it's too late. Meanwhile, the gray-haired man charges dark magic in his hand, calling out combination and compression, making rocks and debris float in the air with the sheer magical pressure as he yells induction. He continues to manipulate dark purple magic, repeating induction and compression, charging a massive purple orb in his hand, before unleashing an explosion of dark purple energy, his destruction form. The hooded man jumps into the air, surrounded by dark magic, striking the red-haired woman with a vortex of energy, who tries to charge energy in her damaged hand, but she's shocked as parts of her mannequin body fall away, letting out a cry of "Ah!" and whispering "Noah." A black sphere floats among the debris as U-Bomb silently looks at a broken mannequin part in the grass. After the chaotic battle, a bruised and dirty-faced dark-haired man lies defeated, but he's reporting over comms that he lost to Noah, who's apparently strong as hell and already headed their way, but he proudly states he stalled for time and did his part and that they're well done. He then looks toward a white-haired man in the distance, telling him to leave the rest to him. The white-haired man, with a bloody face and an evil smile, simply lets out a chilling laugh, indicating a larger, sinister plan is still unfolding as the dark-haired man clutches a large blue crystal. Our boy Yu Jitae finds himself in a beautiful ballroom, perhaps dreaming of a past where everything went horribly wrong for his enemies, as a defeated white-haired figure laments just how it all went astray. Honestly, watching the fancy ballroom dances, it is easy to forget the carnage happening right under their feet, but that white-haired brat learns the hard way that arrogance has a price. Standing there with his little partner in crime like they actually had a prayer, a sinister old man in a fedora confirms that everything they planned, from the prototype to Hasegawa, and even Weiyuan, has completely collapsed. And that smug blood red eye tells you exactly how much he underestimates our man. Wings battered and bloodied, the monster refuses to stay down. Then, a cunning character adds that their ultimate boss, the one BM mentioned, is a real psycho called the demonic human hunter, so strong that nobody, not even them, could handle him, concluding this must be X, dashing across the floor as if he can outrun a lifetime of bad decisions, and looking down with that stern expression, he clearly thinks he is the one in control. Suddenly, a tear falls onto a glowing blue gem, perhaps malicious tears, as our boy Yu Jitae approaches a massive golden door, which then slowly opens to reveal a grand hall filled with dark energy, where the villain taunts him, saying they should have focused all their personnel on him instead of just BM if they wanted to hold him back. Thanks to their sloppy plan, the white-haired antagonist smugly declares that malicious tears are now his. Surrounded by his own dark tendrils, he wears that smile like it is a winning hand, just before a powerful slash effect rips through the room, signaling the start of a serious battle. Moments later, Yu Jitae stands victorious over a massive defeated figure, having left a bloody mass behind him, while the defeated antagonist, breathing heavily, lets out a guttural sound of defeat. Our boy Yu Jitae, looking thoughtful, holds the blue gem, having secured malicious tears in a vast hall now filled with mirrors and a giant dragon corpse. However, the bloodied white-haired figure, touching their head, suddenly realizes something crucial, that Yu Jitae hasn't stepped on the floor this whole time, because he knows their senses flow through the ground. A secret they've never told anyone. But as he clutches his head, the reality of his failure finally starts to set in, and that glowing purple eye flickers with the panicked light of someone realizing they are outmatched. Reaching into the portal for his final trump card, he grabs that blue crystal like a drowning man clutching a stone. The villain then menacingly smiles, observing that Yu Jitae seems quite anxious and, like Wei-Yan, has become talkative when it's time to die, concluding he must have precognition since he isn't denying. As they clash again with dark energy, it becomes clear the antagonist is certain Yu Jitae can see the future, only for a kinetic slash to tear the air apart and shatter his hope in one motion, making their own confident assumption just before the fight reignites. The antagonist points out that Yu Jitae didn't run away despite his future sight, realizing that, as expected, Yu Jitae also has a body their dreams don't work on. However, Yu Jitae coldly replies that it seems his precognition is incomplete before an ability activates, unleashing dark tendrils that assault the antagonist. Suddenly, dark energy surges and spreads chaotically, shattering furniture and consuming the environment. Amidst this destruction, Yu Jitae declares the result will be nothing but death for his enemy, as the white-haired figure lies defeated and bleeding on the ground. The dark magic sweeps through the room like a wildfire, and honestly, watching the entire domain dissolve into pure pandemonium is nothing short of cathartic. With every piece of furniture and debris being shredded by the encroaching void, Yu Jitae stands poised, having just unleashed his dream-eating sword in a full release, watching a pale hand reach out in desperation. He looks down at his own hand with a solemn, indifferent expression. Already moving on from the battle, the shadow sweeps across like a brushstroke of absolute erasure, and reaching out with a pale hand, he tries to grasp at the very power that is currently killing him, leaving behind a defeated foe. Surprisingly, a silver-haired character looks down from a distance, asking Yu Jitae if he knew something important. He then reveals that this dream-eating sword is actually imbued with the authority of his monarch, Nyarla. The silver-haired figure smugly smiles with glowing purple eyes, mentioning that BM only lasted about 3 minutes here, and declares that as this sword reveals its true form, he becomes Nyarla itself. Yu Jitae, undeterred, attacks the silver-haired figure, coldly wondering how long his enemy will last. Nyarla, challenging back, replies that he wonders how long Yu Jitae will last. As they clash in the air, Nyarla dismisses the essence of this dream world as lacking depth, even as Yu Jitae summons a shadowy blade from his hand. After a massive impact sends a shockwave through the ruined ground, Yu Jitae finds himself kneeling as the silver-haired antagonist appears behind him. The shockwave hits with the force of a falling star. Nyarla observes that Yu Jitae looks curious as to when a floor appeared here, and there he is, standing right behind Jitae with a blade that has absolutely no chance of landing. And with a glowing purple eye, cunningly asks, what if, instead of a floor, Yu Jitae imagined it was a ceiling? One last look at that glowing eye shows the precise moment his confidence turns into pure, cold terror. This psychological trick meant to disorient his senses reminds him that no matter how strong he is ultimately human. As Yu Jitae falls downwards through a void, clutching his sword, Nyarla explains that Yu Jitae falls downwards through a void, clutching his sword. Nyarla explains that Yu Jitae's sensory receptors and sixth sense for understanding the world should be no different from other humans, and that it will take quite some time to overcome. Descending towards him, the antagonist admits these tricks won't scratch Yu Jitae's body, but smugly adds that he has a special gift prepared just for him. Suddenly, a giant spectral hand looms over a small Yu Jitae, clenches into a glowing fist, cracking the dark space from intense pressure before exploding in a powerful impact, and as an explosion of red energy rocks the void, Jitae just floats above the mess like he is watching a child's tantrum. Yu Jitae looks up as Nyarla asks if he thought it was insincere for a prepared gift, reassuring him not to worry, because as a glowing purple eye manifests amidst swirling red energy, this is the villain's real gift. The world cracks under the weight of his power, proving once and for all that nobody stands a chance. Then, a massive divine spear of Piran, the totem protecting the Spirit King, descends towards Yu Jitae. Nyarla asks if Yu Jitae can survive being hit by this, no matter how incredible his body is, since it's said to possess enough power to destroy stars. But our boy Yu Jitae, unimpressed and clearly annoyed, wonders if the villain was just stalling for time to prepare this over-the-top attack, then declares the antagonist is truly starting to annoy him. With a cold activation, Yu Jitae unleashes aggressive purple magical chains, which instantly destroy the divine spear of Piran, leaving Nyarla's massive purple eye wide in shock. The villain stammers, barely believing Yu Jitae just destroyed their ultimate weapon, but Yu Jitae just smirks. Nyarla's massive purple eye looks down, as Yu Jitae clenches his hands, radiating an intense murderous aura. He then states with chilling intensity, "What I sealed was simply my intent to kill. This is pure bloodlust." As he clenches his hands, radiating an intense murderous aura, he makes his point, as Yu Jitae falls through the collapsing world. On Abanik, the Abaning Watsheternium would comprehend what's happening. He just mutters that none of this makes any sense, as Yu Jitae's power utterly collapses their domain. The chaos picks up in what they call the Room of Knowledge and Refinement, a library chamber where multiple figures are caught in a brutal battle, as a horde of enemies with glowing red eyes surges forward, screaming about finding an artifact to escape this dungeon and to kill everyone in their way. But one man is holding his own against the heavy strike, while green energy slashes through the air, and our eldest dragon Yu-Bomb swings her sword, releasing a wave of that green energy right into an enemy. Even though she's barely holding on, she yells at a male fighter to get it together, knowing that if they don't, they'll be the ones ending up dead here. She tries to warn Yu Jitae about the danger these seemingly ordinary demonic humans pose, but then she just smiles, confidently telling everyone that they'll finish their fight quickly and join him in the boss room, so they better not die until then, scoffing at the idea that these are elites when they fought demonic humans plenty of times before. Unfortunately, the strain is getting to everyone, as one fighter curses, unable unable to believe how tough this is, and Yubon draws her sword again, as debris falls all around her. Another character looks back in panic, clutching his sword, while a man manages to pin a demonic enemy to the floor during the intense battle. Yubon looks on as a defeated enemy lies on the ground, while a green-haired woman supports an injured elderly companion, a clear indication that not everyone is making it through this. Apparently, one opponent is proving incredibly resilient, with someone observing that he's quite determined to live. The green-haired girl, holding a glowing blue crystal, says that Mr. told her to take it, confirming she got it through some means and is holding a note that simply says, "Escape first." But Yubon tells someone named Minamoto to stop, explaining that this isn't their fight. Another character looks up with concern, wanting to stay and help, leaving Yubon with a frustrated expression, wondering if they'll ever listen. Someone asks the green-haired girl if she's alright, showing concern for her well-being, and the blue crystal in her hand glows, symbolizing her mission. She stands with the older man, stating that she's going to trust him too, whatever that means. With a renewed resolve, the characters prepare for action inside the library chamber, telling each other they'll take care of this mess and then go home. From there, we jump straight to a completely different scene, where three characters are resting in a living room, with one of them sleeping soundly. Meanwhile, a white-haired man is kneeling on a blood-stained floor, breathing heavily after a brutal fight, looking up in disbelief, repeating that this cannot be happening. And of course, our boy Yu Jitae is standing over a massive creature, casually looking down at the defeated white-haired man. Noah, with a glowing purple eye, can't believe he was just defeated by a mere human, and screams in anger, dark energy surrounding him as he refuses to be looked down on. But that only gets him sent crashing into a ruined wall, making his desperate attack look pathetic. Yu Jitae stands before the fleshy red appendages of a creature, unfazed, even as huge red fists slam down towards him. Noah, manifesting dark energy as a blade, continues to fight, but Yu Jitae easily clashes with him using his own dark magic, making it clear who has the upper hand. A glowing magical orb floats in the air, fueling their chaotic struggle, as Noah lunges again with dark magic manifesting around him. But in a swift movement, a hand forcefully grabs his arm, stopping his attack dead, and the chaotic fight between them and their dark magic continues to rage. Then a massive magical explosion engulfs the room, signaling the end of their battle. Noah lies defeated on the floor, bleeding and struggling to breathe, asking how a mere human could possess such power. The camera closes in on his bruised and wounded face, highlighting his utter defeat, and there stands Yu Jitae, towering over the fallen man, dark energy swirling calmly around his arm, completely unfazed. Our regressor walks down a set of red stairs, shrouded in dark, swirling magical energy, completely in control. He then coldly tells the defeated Noah that this is his 6th time, leaving Noah, who is still recovering from his injuries in the wrecked room, utterly confused and asking what he's talking about. Yu Jitae looks on with a cold, emotionless, and slightly weary expression, just done with all of this, and calmly declares to the battered Noah that this is his end. Noah, with wide dark eyes, can only question if this truly is where he dies. But suddenly dark tentacles sprout from Noah's body, and a mysterious voice asks if this is the future Yu Jitae saw, or rather, the one he chose. Yu Jitae simply dismisses it with an as if, totally unimpressed by this new development. Noah is still kneeling, but behind him, a massive dark entity with multiple eyes begins to emerge, wrapping around his body, culminating in a vast explosion of dark, multi-eyed energy erupting from his position, revealing something truly monstrous. Our regressor stands over the reddish floor, still looking down, dark energy swirling around his arm, ready for whatever comes next. Then, a massive scaled black dragon claw stomps onto the floor, surrounded by pulsing purple magical energy, and a monstrous dragon head emerges from the dark purple shadows, explaining that someone as strong as Yu Jitae should have heard of them, the most cruel and destructive tribe of dragons, the Black Dragons. Yu Jitae just looks to the side, noting that dragons are now after Nyarla, clearly connecting this new foe to his previous adversary. The massive black dragon swings its claws fiercely towards him and crashes onto the floor, causing structural collapse all around them, showing off its immense destructive power. Its jaws open wide, charging a glowing purple energy devastating attack. A massive beam of purple energy devastates the hall, with the dragon at the bottom unleashing hell. The monstrous dragon head growls, explaining that it can't manifest the full power of the black dragons for long with its current vessel. Yu Jitae crouches amidst the broken rubble, seemingly unfazed and preparing for a strike of his own, as the dragon charges yet another dark energy blast within its open maw, promising to end him before its vessel breaks. Finally, the black dragon fires a huge purple laser beam downward, screaming at the arrogant mortal to disappear. But our boy Yu Jitae is already moving, lunging forward with a powerful energy-charged punch, ready to meet the attack head-on. So, after that wild fight, we're immediately hit with a mysterious, dark cosmic entity declaring itself the creator of the deepest abyss. And our boy Yu Jitae is face-to-face with none other than the third Lord Nyarla, who looks all too pleased with herself. Of course, Yu Jitae, ever the pragmatist, immediately realizes it's just a clone, not her true form. Nyarla, meanwhile, is just casually chilling holding a pale-haired man and gets ridiculously close to Yu Jitae, all while asking what he truly desires from the deepest abyss. She even has the nerve to caress his face, saying his eyes are even more beautiful in real life, and then, creepily, observes that they're not completely devoid of hope, which honestly is probably the last thing our stoic hero wants to hear. Luckily, Yu Jitae quickly decides he's had enough of this, grabbing her by the throat, and his face even shows visible cracks from the stress, almost like his patience is wearing thin, as he warns her her to remember his previous warning before he kills her too, pointing out that Noah's body is already dead. He then cuts through her manipulative nonsense, demanding she quit the bullshit and insisting that he knows Noah's consciousness is still there. Nyarla just smiles, holding a dark glowing sphere, and calls him an interesting human right before the entire space erupts in a bright, blinding explosion, sending shockwaves of light across everything. Suddenly, Yu Jitae finds himself in a dark void, recognizing it instantly, and groans that it's the dream realm again. He stares at a glowing hourglass artifact, as a massive authority known as Grand Clock EX names this new space, and a bright star shines in the dark cosmos. Then, a massive flash of light in the cosmos reveals the space's actual name. A knight in armor kneels before Yu Jitae, explaining that his lord once spoke of a horizon of providence, and it seems this place actually exists. Yu Jitae looks contemplative, realizing this place is real, unlike the ashen world he knows. A cosmic black hole glows as Nyarla appears, with Yu Jitae approaching her with a drawn sword, demanding to know what she's trying to say. Nyarla, still holding the elderly man's head, offers him this place, but the catch is, if Noah dies, she won't be able to watch him from the abyss. She then asks how he likes her offer, but Yu Jitae's answer is apparently quite rough, making Nyarla offer a sinister smile. Suddenly her eyes widen in shock as she reveals the crucial part. If I do not completely kill Noah, the future you want to see will never come. Yu Jitae reaches out with a glowing blue blade, demanding she give Noah to him, grappling with ethereal blue tendrils. He leans close to Nyarla, realizing they are in a complete stalemate. Nyarla then touches Yu Jitae's face, requesting to taste his memories, and as something dark approaches his eye, we're plunged into a montage of his brutal past regressions. We see him holding a rifle, facing a massive dragon in a fiery environment, a figure hung on a large cross in a dark bloody chamber, and fighting against multiple muscular monsters. Then, a white-haired entity with glowing eyes emerges, the true villain of his past, standing with Yu Jitae on a rooftop overlooking a ruined city. The entity, covered in dark stains, looks down and states that humans have long dreamt of killing their demonic kind. As Yu Jitae points a gun at him across a metal barrier, the white-haired entity smiles with purple glowing eyes and asks if Yu Jitae knows what humans desperately dream of the most. Before dying, they dream of living. He explains that their will to live became his power and lifeline, as Yu Jitae maintains his calm, stoic expression. The entity, sitting injured on the ground, goes on to claim that as long as humanity's will to live doesn't die, he is reborn even if his body dies, revealing this is the special skill Nyarla has given him. Yu Jitae stands pointing his gun at the entity, who shouts in rage that he is immortal, eternal, omniscient, and omnipotent, daring anyone to kill him. Because Yu Jitae's will to kill cannot even scratch his will to live, the entity then demands an answer from the mortal, but Yu Jitae simply pulls the trigger, unleashing a bright blue energy blast. However, it's clear his efforts are futile, as his gun is discarded on the ground, and Yu Jitae stands in despair, clutching his head, realizing all his struggling to become stronger was useless. His strength and mind had reached their limit, and this enemy simply couldn't be killed with just the intent to kill. Yu Jitae kneels in defeat, slumped over with his head in his hands, as the terrifying truth sinks in. Suddenly, a bright golden light and a time regression effect confirm that he has failed to save Earth, and the authority of the Grand Clock, EX, has rewound the time of the world once again, as the fifth regression ends. From there we jump straight to Yu Jitae on a rainy street, looking concerned, and a man notices him standing completely soaked. A woman then approaches him under an umbrella, telling him he reminds her of her son, who just passed and got into the Global Superhuman Association this year, and she laughs, suggesting he might know him.